Our protagonist this time is very different. Usually in these kinds of stories while everyone else is out there leveling up like crazy, they have no downing the potion. The system miniaturizes him due to the blessing of the unknown, a verdict of great. Hoping to find some information. Our boy thanks her. She asks if he managed to use the map, and he says, unfortunately, it only covered from the beginning of the kingdom to the part by the river. Besides, it was described by some knight of the commander. So, it's not very accurate. She's confused. What do you mean, it's not perfect? Do you see everything to know? Our protagonist is thinking. The one who saw everything was the terror, drone told me, but she can't know that. However, he adds, just adding the southern area of the Tails Sea will complete the Estranged Kingdom map. At least they will know everything around the region. Young is curious. Why are you so keen on restoring the map? It seems too focused to be just a hobby. He says he feels that it will help someone. Success has been applied. You have acquired alchemy, level 1, special potion. He's sure the guy Mina is looking for Han. Yuk is alive somewhere on the continent of Urena. He's got unshakable faith. He found the guy's armor and sword completely destroyed, which means he's alive, but our boy is confident with the World Tree's ability. He's sure he'll find him soon. You've asked curiously. Are you trying to help a good friend? Who is she? Tell me. Our boy says, it's not like that. She says, Mom, I see. Well, I'm going to sleep because I have to wake up early tomorrow. Our boy says, alright then, goodbye my warrior, but before she leaves, he reminds her to pick up the potion in the morning since they're doing Dungeon Run 3. She agrees, thanks him and leaves. Our boy is happy with her visit. As she helped him gather more information, he creates a new. The duration of unlimited skill usage has increased from 10 seconds to 14 seconds addition. Scroll in the book. A scroll of pursuit. It allows finding a living person through a trace of their location. Our boy is thinking of Hyjin Altieri and sad. He wants to help the warrior, so he uses the scroll, spatial power beam of light. Seeing her walking back and forth, why didn't you use it on the guy you want to find, you fool? It's fine, since he can make infinite specials. Anyway, Beam comes along, gives him a look, asked if he was scared, gives him a pet, and they're back to the dream world. Strangely, the water there became much clearer. He wonders if it's all thanks to the World Eater. Even the solar apples have leveled up. He visits the Terra drone gang and the boss is getting huge. Oh no, what, he was just the angle. Our boy apologizes for the delay. He was very busy reading. It restores 14% of health over 15 seconds, far better than all the others. The rascal then brings a bunch of seeds from some fruit for him. Our protagonist is impressed. The quantity has increased a lot compared to before. He thanks them. The leader points upward and our boy wonders, what is it? He starts climbing. Do you want me to climb? Alright, here we go. When he reaches the top, he can see everything around. He recognizes a mountain in the distance as Mount Apato, and this really proves that the entire continent of Uhina is within this garden at that moment. Biom looks down angrily, wanting to get down to eat, but now he's stuck. It's easy to climb up but hard to get down. As he starts to descend, something grabs. It squeezes, and he sees a little plant staring at him. He gets scared, and the plant gets scared too. He calls out for help. BM, save me. Is the plant evil? No, it just made a path for him. He's already stunned. Wait, an alchemist? Not even the guys who call themselves alchemists. They are all affectionate. Our boy says, sorry, thank you for helping me down. He realizes, wow, it's just a cute little plant that likes to cling to people. Should I add this to the hunter's wiki too? Looking at the long path, he knows he'll have to cross this whole plain to reach Mount Apato. He remembers that this is the direction the people who fled from the Estranged Kingdom went. According to the Terra Dawn's information, this might also be the direction Han Yuk, who disappeared, went. The map shows that following the Tails River also gets you close to Mount Apato. Heading south of the mountain might be a good idea to find traces of Yuk. But when he gets there, he hits a barrier. This is as far as he can go. So, he asks the Pterodon for help while they investigate. He goes to have alchemist skills. He's never even heard of a 14-second healing potion. Feed BM. The problem is, where's BM? He's shouting for him to come over. Strange, Beyond usually stays around but never goes this far. He hears something and looks over. It's the crazy carnivorous plant coming to talk to him. Our boy is now worried. Where is Bomb? He bangs his head on a table in the shop. Bomb, where did you go without me? We get so much together. At that moment, Hae-jun and Kyung-suk enter the shop. She asks what's wrong. Jiha. Gio replies, hi, who's this guy next to you? He introduced himself but keeps talking. He grabs a potion and tells our protagonist that what he has is extraordinary. Our protagonist thanks him, saying he will make tea for them. It seems our boy called her because she says, I was surprised you called me first. Shaking it, he realizes it's an excellent potion. However, he's not very capitalistic. Our boy says he has something to tell her. She, curious, responds to me. He says, I was studying an ancient book and found something you might like. She looks at it. Scroll of change. Trace. The protagonist says this will help you find Yuk. Hyung-suk asks, did you make the scroll? How did you translate an ancient book? Hyjin interrupts, we keep that a secret. Right. Jiha confirmed. Hyung-suk then asks Mr. Jiha, did you make a contract with a divine creature? Our protagonist wonders to himself, does he already know about the demigods? The guy says, yes, a demigod. The guy explains, you don't have to tell me your abilities, and how you use them or not is up to you. I just want you to know that you have become a very important person in South Korea now. He doesn't even know how much to charge. The product is so good that it's hard to sell. Our protagonist says me. The guy explains, thanks to your potion, the survival rate of hunters has increased by 20%. The Hunters Association owes you a debt, so I came here to give you this if you need anything. We will support you. Our protagonist feels awkward. Do I deserve this? The guy says, yes, you are the future of the hunters. Higgin interrupts. Wait, you said you wanted to talk to him personally. The guy replies, I am talking to him personally, here. Hyjin apologizes to our protagonist, saying she didn't know Hyunsuk would come here for this business. He's a maniac. Our boy says it's alright, he appreciates everything. And next time, he will make a good meal for everyone. The guy thanks him, takes a bunch of potions and leaves. Hyjin comments, he's like that, only likes to work. Our protagonist says it's kind of cute in a way. Not to mention, who's going to believe that ether consumption drops to 0 for 14 seconds? Who, you ask? They go inside to talk. She sits next to him and asks, what are you writing? He says, wait, I'm finishing up. He draws a castle in a lake. She asks, wait, is this the Estranged Kingdom's castle? That's right. He explains, if you see a place with terrain similar to this drawing, use the scroll when you're thinking of Sunyak, if he's nearby or has any trace of him. The scroll will tell you where he is. He wants to show her how it worked now, but he's running out of ink. She thanks him, teary-eyed, thank you so much. He says it's okay. I believe he's alive somewhere, and I will help you as much as I can. She says he's such a kind person. He responds, it's nothing. Friends should always help each other. She gets closer, asking, do you need help with anything? She's already entering the shop. Hi Jin. Our boy immediately asks, how can I help you? Tell me. He thinks, oh, she getting too close. She asks, where is Beam? Where did he go? He says, he ran off in the forest. Beam is jumping around, transforming, becoming gigantic even with his weakened body. Being destroyed hundreds or thousands of times, the Guardians hold their position until the last moment. And the prey of a god Arcus has come to find you. It seems Beam is hunting someone. He finds a little wolf trapped by goblins in chains, the one who conveys the will of the god Growler. It's bad for the poor wolf, surrounded by 200 goblins. Let's see how he handles this. He's growling with everyone watching, when suddenly they hear something. Looking back, they see a gigantic beam. He walks through them without saying anything. He sends a message. Shuman, all those enslaved by evil, the goblins run away. He then talks to the little wolf. Idea that Jaiha is quietly saving the world, sometimes without even trying. She gets straight to the point. Potion, how many do you have? I want them now. Who looks at him and says, what are you doing here, you cowardly Arctus? It seems the creature has two names, Arctus and Bayon. BM breaks his chain and says, your torment ends here, Growler. Growler responds, you arrogant cat. But Beam explains the restoration of the world tree has begun. Growler sits, only the will of God can guide me. Get out of here, you stinky cat. Beam bites him on the neck. Take that. Growler asks, what are you doing? You bastard. Beam says, boy, you forgot I'm the procurator of God. If I say you go, and it's done. Then, see our boy with his party friends, all standing in front of a castle. It looks like the castle he drew while searching in the other world. He thanks them for coming with him soon. Young says, no problem, compared to the potions you gave us. Before he can respond, she gets closer. This is a health potion, isn't it? He says yes. It's worth it, but why did you want to come here? This is just an empty dungeon, right? The protagonist explains the Black Lion commander helped some survivors escape during the war. There might be some kind of secret tunnel. Sun Young responds, oh, I didn't consider that. Maybe there really is something here. The Mohawk Knight says, I don't care about mentioning the Fallen Kingdom. I just hope for some insane artifact inside. The sword he's using, a long knight sword, not only gives good stats, but also increases the group's damage by 7% for 5 minutes. Our boy says, that sword you have is pretty good, isn't it? The guy looks at it. This is just a normal artifact, at least it has a group buff. Our protagonist thinks, I know it's a rare artifact. The guy asks. But before he can say anything else, she asks what its effect is. How do you know that? Our boy thinks, oh crap, I forgot, only I can see this stuff. He lies, I received an item analysis skill. That's all. Everyone is impressed. Wow, now they understand why he can describe the potions so well. The armored guy asks, hey, take a look at this for me. What do you think of my armor? Our boy checks. Light chest armor increases defense by 10% and critical defense by 5%. That's it. The mage congratulates him for finally getting a skill, and he thanks everyone. All happy, the knights are ecstatic. The skill is amazing, we're all going to get rich. Let's go. He hits them on the head. How dare you think of using the boy? They apologize. Sunyang tells him it's good you've gained a skill, but you have to be careful. With something like this, you'll find bloodsuckers, like those two everywhere. He laughs. He tries to explain that it's not for sale, but she cuts him off again. Sorry, but I don't have time. Got it. But our boy thinks it makes sense. They continue walking along the wall. He thinks it might be good to ask Hyung Sik later how to use his skills better. Then Mike points to a part of the wall destroyed by monsters. On the other side is the Tails River, much larger than anyone imagined, and the water is extremely clear. Our boy stands near it, thinking, this place looks very deep. How did they make a tunnel here? He needs to check the back of Mount Apato. You want to see in the book. When everyone comes, oh, are you drawing the place? What are you doing? At that moment, the scroll of hope in Sunyan's backpack activates. The one that increases the chance of receiving a special item by 70%. Our boy suddenly stands up, scaring everyone. She looks confused, but he stood up because she grabs it and leaves. Wow, what just happened? He saw she was falling into the water like an idiot. There she goes again, drowning. Our boy heroically died. Drives and swimming like Michael Phelps to save her, but something is on his back. Oh, look who it is. It's the World Eater, but very small. He is. Save them both. Outside, he tells her to wake up. You crazy. You're all drowned. A while later, they're back on solid ground. Our boy thanks the World Eater for saving them both. Then, Su-Yan calls him from afar, telling him to take a look. There's a strange magic circle with a small cauldron. Our protagonist is delighted. They thank the World Eater and say goodbye. So, Yun wonders, am I cursed without knowing? I keep falling all the time. The little knight tells her, at least you got that brooch. It seems good. In her hand is the artisan's last brooch. She left some money on his table, saying, if that's not enough, call my guy at Crest. She asks our boy, does this have any special function? He examines it. Production artifact. Increases the quality of hand techniques by 10%. She's amazed really. She tears out some pages from the book and makes an origami dragon. Our boy says this artifact is perfect for her. It would be perfect for me, too, for making potions. But it's her power too. The knight says, let's head back. The dungeon is about to close. Our boy thanks them and says we'll see them tomorrow. It turns out that the writing on the ground taught how to make a dimensional portal using the power granted by the gods. You can open a portal to a different dimension. You can return by drawing the same circle. Our protagonist is hopeful. I found a magic circle and got lucky. If I can figure out the secret behind this, maybe I can learn how the pterodons can travel so easily from the garden to the real world. I'll pay more. By the warrior has already arrived at the dungeon. He returns to the shop saying, well, I'm back, but then he remembers the rascal isn't there. However, he's as confident as ever. A psychopath who believes in everything. I'm sure he'll come back soon. I'll be to work. Back in the garden, he calls the kids, but where are they? Looking around, there's no one. When he looks to the side, he sees Beam Gigantic with a little wolf in his mouth. Our boy asks, you rascal, when did you grow so much? And who is this stray dog in your hand? He takes a closer look. Growler, the messenger of God, asks for your help. You want to take care of the boy, yes or no? Our boy, of course, accepts. The creature begins to glow golden. The power of the world tree flows into Brawler, and he starts to regain his strength. Drawn her swords, killed 3 beasts, and is already running. That's productivity. He glares at our protagonist, growling furiously, but being so small, there's nothing he can do. Our boy grabs him because he's cute. Jihan names him Doggo, like a little dog, truly a prodigy of creativity. Dogo doesn't like it, but BM says just accept it, pal. This is your new home. A while later, the number of pterodons has increased significantly since Dogo arrived. It's probably because of his characteristics, demigod, and the master's will. It increases affinity and leadership with animals by 1.1, and also increases everyone's speed by 1.2. Chica says this is very good. It means that just by Growler getting stronger, everyone gets stronger. Not to mention he still has the persistent hunter ability, detecting any movement within 2 kilometers. The guys who collect the items for her are a bit embarrassed. With Doggo leading, they will quickly reach Mount Apollo. The harvest is yielding a mountain of ether thanks to the kids. He picks a special fruit to give as a present, his eater to eat happily. But greedy Beam comes and steals it. A fight breaks out. Our boy has to separate them, saying, hey, you two rascals, stop fighting. At that moment, the little plant sends a warning. He knows someone is at the shop. He returns, placing the 2 on the ground, telling them they're fat from eating too much. At that moment, the guys from the association are entering the shop. Doggo is feisty, already glaring at them. One of them says, man, you got another one, you rascal. Hyungsoo greets our protagonist, saying, I didn't expect you to invite me so soon. This is the power of a rank 12, they can't even see what's happening. He feels a bit embarrassed. It was a big surprise. Hyungsuk cuts to the chase. Is it true? What you told me before? You can see the characteristics of artifacts. Our protagonist confirms, yes. The guild leader, whom our boy had previously refused, also speaks. Hi, it's been a while. Mr. Jiha, our protagonist responds, yes it has been. But what brings you here, Hunter Troy, if I may ask? The guy says, I know you refused guild offers last time, and I remember how angry they got, but I'm here for a different reason. The potions and scrolls you've been making are incredible, and as an alchemist, I'm getting jealous. Our protagonist, a bit embarrassed, thanks him. Hyungsuk says, let's sit and talk. We have many questions. A while later, he asks, up to what level of artifact can you see? Our protagonist explains, I can perfectly see the name. But here's the question. How can a boy who only wanted a? However, the one in white says, but this way we won't evolve at all. A description, unique ability, and even the percentages. I discovered this while making some potions and artifacts. They're both impressed with such a skill. It's almost like you belong to a class specialized in item analysis. Our protagonist, a bit shy, says he has the ability, but doesn't know exactly how to use it. Kang Sok says they will teach him. Besides, Hunter Choi is there for the same reason. Our protagonist is happy, saying he will help the hunters as much as he can with his skills. Kang Sok continues, first, you need to know there are only a few appraisers in the entire world. If your ability is exposed, Hunters from all over the world will come to your shop, disrupting your daily life. But we have already made preparation. The other guy says, friend, it's the sword, which, even if you wanted to, you wouldn't evolve. For this, our protagonist asks, what you already did. In the Hunters wiki is a new post information. Artifact appraisal. Poor Wayne is exasperated again. When she opens to see the information, it says, appraisals from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for an easy process. The first to appraise are the first to arrive. Maximum of 60 reservations per day. Location, Eternal Flame Guild basement. Huang is puzzled. What, that's my guild? How come? What's going on? I don't know anything about this. Next scene, there's already a line formed. Our protagonist is wearing a mask, so no one knows it's him. Just sending out artifact analysis to everyone. If you use this blade, like the other blade, called Witch of the East, every 30 seconds, there's a chance to speed up your movement. The girl thanks him. Just collect the resources and stay quiet. But then comes the drama. The guy says, thank you so much, Master Cat. He also thanks her, saying that analyzing artifacts is quite fun. The only downside is that it's a bit annoying to wear the mask. But it was worth asking. Hyun Sok for help now. He feels a bit embarrassed. He refused Huang's offer to join her guild, but here he is using her guild. For Wyan is banging the table in frustration. Choi says, calm down, my warrior. The worst part is he's thinking, if she finds out it's Jaiha, it will be even worse. She doesn't know a thing. She's upset, saying, I can't believe the reservation are full for 3 months already. Choi says, miss, it's your fault for not being quick enough. She grabs him, you bastard. How could you do this to me? You should have told me earlier. Troy explains, I'm not the one in control, it's Kumsuk. I understand her too. If it were the old Hyjin, she would have definitely told us to hunt together. There's nothing I can do. The location was decided just yesterday. Besides, you told me I could use the basement for anything. She looks at a bunch of staffs and says it'll take, I don't know, 2 years to analyze all this. Do something about it. No, we have some privilege, since they're using our place. He says, I don't know, I'm leaving. I have a lot to do. Your time will come eventually. Just wait, and don't cause more trouble. She sits down, angrily, thinking, where did this Master Cat come from? Who is this guy? If I find out, I'll make him my appraisal slave. Our boy's ears are burning. They won't stop talking about him. Our protagonist is explaining to Choi how to make high-quality potions. You have to shake it like this, my friend, that way the potion goes from special to very special. But since that incident, she's changed completely and hunts alone. Quadlix, wow, we did it the same way. But yours has a 16-second duration and mine 11. What's happening? Our protagonist says it could be a variation in the quality of ingredients. But in reality, it's because he's already a level 3 alchemist, though no one knows however. At least, they made enough to sell tomorrow. Our protagonist thanks him for his present, saying that with him here, the shop will produce faster. Koi says that he and the president of the Hunters Association want to recruit more alchemists. Good potions like these can't just be sold here. We need to open more and more shops. Please teach me more, sensei. Our boy says that he needs to capture him, having only started as an alchemist recently. A while later, when they leave, he's exhausted and thinks, let's go to the garden. I'll just fall asleep upon arriving. The pterodon are busy with their harvest. The other guy asks, what incident? And he responds, well, you probably don't know because you're a beginner. Creating mountains of ether. Our boy says, come here, kids, and they come, happily jumping into his lap. Of course, they also argue with each other, but the little knight Teridian comes and points in a direction. Our protagonist wonders what's the problem. Brawler jumps and gestures with his head to call them too. He follows with the mosquito gang and wild dogs approaching. A system message appears. Creatures have appeared in the Great Plains. Growler demonstrates his command abilities. Wow, but Zork is tiny compared to him with one paw. Everyone flies away. The system says the Terror Drone army successfully destroyed all creatures. The Terror Drone evolved after receiving a demigod's blessing. A new species appears. Right at that moment, Hyjin appears telling them to run. They seem confused, but soon see it a manstalker. Volume, shining in the skies, comes into our boy's hand. Terra Drone, Explorer, due to your contribution. The plane begins to be cleared. A new area, Mount Apado, has been unlocked. So that's how it works. Kill creatures to expand the area. Our boy praises everyone for their good work, especially Doggo, who's all smug. Did you see my skills, kitty? BM says that he's too precious to get his paws dirty. The fight starts again and our boy has to grab them. Let's go to Mount Apito, you rascals. He hopes to find some clue. After walking a lot, he finally finds the base used by the Black Lion Knights group. Considering the base is here in the south, it seems there's some kind of passage. Halfway, a tunnel in the mountain. An aversion level creature extremely armored and with powerful poison. When our boy tries to pass, a message appears. The intervention allowed by the world trees. Restoration has been completed. Direct physical interference with Hikina is now prohibited. Regarding your fate, the effects of being a representative of the divinities have now been applied. Communication with Geheim entities is now possible. Jia understands that now he can't do what he did before when he created a space in the ground. With a slap from now on, he will have to act more like a commander. The problem is, how will he command the creatures if he can't go beyond this point? The system provides a solution. Divine vision, ability obtained. You can see the area from a god's perspective. Our protagonist activates it and starts floating, hovering in the sky. He sees everything from above and is impressed. The two are already shocked. Why is an aversion level creature here? But he instantly notices something. It seems his vision can be everywhere at once. As an army of humans surrounded by orcs, our protagonist wonders, could these be the surviving kingdom, people who disappeared? The battle is intense, with creatures falling all around. Our protagonist sees a blonde guy fighting fiercely. Wow, could that be the captain? Someone calls out Eddie, the captain's name, and our boy recognizes him instantly. It's the Sun Yuk that Jin has been searching for. Eddie says to him, it's tough, these orcs keep coming. They seem to be emerging from the plains. Chuck, confused, says, I don't know how this is happening. A cruel guy kicks an orc down the mountain, saying they could at least bring some food at this rate. We'll have to eat monsters. Eddie assures him, relax, we won't let you starve. Sun Yuk replies, I told you many times that pig. They only appear in level 4 dungeons. Jin continues, I told you to run, get out of here. Poro Jack is working with the Baron, they're stealing our supplies. If you authorize it, I'll find where they're hiding everything. My dear prince. Eddie declines. No thank you. Our protagonist recognizes that the blonde guy is the prince of the estranged kingdom. With that song, Yuk leaves with his men. A mission appears for our protagonist. Rebuild the survivors' village. You found the survivors of the estranged kingdom, who were defeated by the undead forces and escaped. The survivors currently hiding in Mount Apigo are struggling with numerous monsters and food shortages. Mission 1. Restore the possession of the estranged kingdom to the prince, reinstating him as the rightful owner. Mission 2. Find the villain. Tranquil life, keep his chill when so much power has been forced upon him. She charges at the beast, drawing her greatsword, but the beast defend. Get rid of those exploiting and abusing the village's Baron Grom and poor Rajak. Jihad is impressed. He has never received a mission with so many details before. Is this some kind of story mode? But doesn't matter, just finding Sung Yuk is already great. Jin will be thrilled with this news. He has to find her, but then shakes his head. First, I need to bring him back. I can't physically interfere with their world. How will I do this? Then he remembers, actually, I just can't do it myself. He calls the pterodons. I'll need a favor from you guys first. Do you know what this magic circle does? The captain points in a direction. When they get there, they find 2 circles. Our protagonist realizes that they're using ether to activate them. He throws it in the middle and strikes, leaving her trembling. Damn, I've already used all my ether. And it starts glowing. Our protagonist understands that the green circle is the entrance, and the yellow is the exit. The Terrorons jump into the green circle and come out of the yellow one. Our protagonist says, wow, it's really a teleportation circle. The survivors probably use this instead of a tunnel. The exit must be somewhere near Mount Apado. If he can find where it is, he can bring everyone back. He asked the Teridian, do you also use the magic circle to go back and forth between the garden and the real world? They make an X with their hands. Gia asks, then, how do you go so easily from the garden to Gehenna? The captain points to the world tree. What the world tree is the bridge between the 2 worlds. Still confused, he thanks everyone for their hard work and asks the captain, at least I bought time for them to escape. The 2 guys are also running at a snail's pace to look around Mount Apado for any kind of magic circle, and to notify him if they find one. The scene shifts to the survivors' camp. The soldiers have gone to collect supplies, but when they reach the cart, it looks like there's only enough for a week. Eddie speaks to Poro Jack. The amount of food here doesn't match the amount of minerals you collected. Poro Jack, knowing he's guilty, says we're having difficulties too. The farms were invaded by monsters. Eddie retorts, sure, I know. Poro Jack defensively says, what did you say? Eddie tells Poro Jack to calm down. Enough of this. Eddie then asks Poro Jack, what can we do to get more supplies? Poro Jack says, I'm not a greedy elf. But at that moment, Baron Grom appears, interrupting, maybe Mithril. Eddie is confused. Mithril. She thinks if only Sun Yuk were here, but she's motivated. Are you serious? The Baron replies, yes. Eddie tries to explain, hold on. Just leaving this village is very difficult because of the monsters. How are we supposed to get Mithril? The Baron explains, that's why I mentioned the wild elf. I got some information from one of them. There's a place in this valley where you can easily find Mithril deep within Mount Apado. Poor Jack adds, clearly with more Mithril, we could get a lot more food. The soldiers get angry, but Eddie says it's okay. What's the way in this valley? The Baron and says it's to the south at the top of the mountain, but he isn't sure the only way to find it. Eddie cuts him off. I understand, I'll do it. The Baron asks, are you really going to do it? Eddie replies, the kingdom of Estrana has fallen, but I still have my followers. No, he's no longer here. Now, I can only rely on myself in this potion. I won't let the people who follow me starve. Grom says, okay, then we'll be waiting for your return to go out and sell the Mithril as soon as you get back. Good idea, Poro Jack says, but Eddie adds, I will go with you when I bring the Mithril back. Gran responds, unfortunately, the elves don't like that they don't let strangers into their villages. Eddie says, the obvious, I believe you were once a stranger too. The Baron reluctantly agrees. Alright, then we'll do it that way, Prince Eddie. Sun Yue tells him, buddy, I know you like to play the hero, but I don't want to die. My lover is waiting for me outside. Confirmed, he and Hyjin have a relationship for those who were shipping her with the protagonist. Sorry, that dream is shattered. Annie reassures, don't worry, I'll make sure we come back alive. She drinks it all and is confused. It's the first time she's had such a delicious potion. We then see a girl with white hair and clothes in front of an altar, praying to a deity named Ark to hear her prayers. Baron Bram is right behind her saying it's almost time. Just a little longer. We then see the history of the Kingdom of the Strand. A long time ago, the Kingdom of Estrane existed on the continent of Gehenna. People lived peaceful and happy lives until a war against monsters began. The survivors of this war followed Prince Idinsko, or Eddie as he's known, to escape the undead. They hid in Mount Apato. However, even there, they still suffer from creature attacks and food shortages. Baron Grom and merchant Poro Jack had a trade license with the wild elves, allowing them to get food. In the end, Edson and Yuki raised their swords for the people. Not to mention, she feels her ether is increasing significantly. Our protagonist, overseeing the scene from above, thinks, so this is the story of this place. But he's also angry. These guys are trying to hunt ogres on their own. Ogres are fear-level creatures. They have tough skin, heal quickly, have little intelligence but can destroy anything in their path. Helping these people just with this vision ability is tough. Sin and Yuki are strong enough that no one can defeat them, and Ed has already defeated all the members of the Black Lion Legion. They have a chance, but it won't be easy. He then hears a voice on Mission Arc. Please hear this prayer. Our protagonist is hearing the voice of the girl with white hair praying. He's confused. What's going on? Who is this? She's a wonderful girl, asking. Now she can win this. She goes back into the fight. For bravery, for the people. Then a mission appears. Saint Selena requests your help. She pleads for your salvation. Mission 3. The pious prophet of God. Spread your beliefs by helping people through Saint Selena. And then an extra mission. When Selena prays, you have 3 minutes to speak and exchange items. Our protagonist is impressed. Wow, can I use this? She seems confused. Wait, is someone here? Apparently, his voice went straight into her head. Whoa, she heard me. Before doing anything, I need to organize everything in the garden. He returns to the garden, where the pterodactyl patrollers are all wearing sunglasses. Why are you wearing those, my children? He gathers all the warriors and explorers, explaining that he has an urgent mission. They need to find the magic circle in Mount Apollo. Using the tumult of the sword slashing and cutting relentlessly, the explorers need to keep an eye on the survivors there. If anything happens, they should alert him. The bravest of them stays with him for an important task. He needs to deliver this sword to Prince Iskall. Their current weapons are far from sufficient. Look at this good party of brave ones, he says. Dogo asked BM, are you going to let him go like this? BM replies, it's not time yet. He still needs more power to deal with their presence. Until then, we can only wait. Doggo, frustrated, says, I'm tired of waiting. He'll die from waiting too long. Another argument breaks out. We then see Grom and Poro Jack talking. Poro Jack says, as expected of you, Baron, the prince is gone now. This is perfect for us. The Baron replies he may be royalty, but he's still just a child. The beast is divided and falls hard to the ground. However, she immediately notices, wait, something's wrong. This world isn't easy enough to depend on a sword alone. Grom. Tom laughs, saying he hopes that the guy next to him dies too. The Baron asks, how's it going? Do we have enough? Oro Jack says that the wild elves say they're using it to hunt monsters. He tested it on one of the captured orcs, and the effect is incredible. Just a sniff and the orcs go crazy. The guys are giving drugs to the orcs. They're confident, saying, no matter how skilled the others are, they'll die in half a second. The Baron tells him to lower his voice. Celebrate when it's all done. Now, go do your job. Poor old Jack leaves, but slams the door. Obviously, the villain thinks that bastard, he thinks he's better than me. Most people would give in to temptation, and will this happen to Jiha? My health is recovering, and I felt my ether wasn't decreasing. You're just the same as me. You idiot. Looking out the window, the Baron says, Prince Iskall, when you disappear, I will no longer be a Baron. I will be the new king of a strand. Even saying, Selena will have to bow to me, and you will see everything from hell. Our protagonist sees it all, thinking, you damn scoundrel. He focuses on Selena's house. Hey girl, say a prayer. I don't have time. The system comments, at least things on the other side seem to be going well. The people are fighting all buffed up, slicing here and there. They're winning. Our protagonist is impressed, seeing that they might actually defeat the ogres, who are falling and trembling. One tries to flee, but gets taken down. This leader is ruthless. The ogre takes a hit to the leg. I managed to use the sword tumult for 10 seconds straight, falling awkwardly to the ground. A sword strike to the spine. These guys are ruthless. Painting the forest red. Sunyuk says, hey Ed, is there another sword? No man, mine's already trashed. Ed replies, no worries, I just wish the sword wouldn't break. Sunyuk says, suddenly someone threw him far away. Now it's just the drugged up orcs. They charged at the unfortunate guy standing there. His stoic expression is unshakable. Sunyuk warns him to be careful, but something strange happens. Something passes through the orc. It is confused. We switch back to Selena, beautiful and praying, please protect this land, the prince and his people. The system alerts first prayer completed. Selena, a disciple of Arc, has successfully offered a prayer. You can send God's apostles to assist the disciple. Normally, I use it for a maximum of 3. Could it be because of that potion? Our protagonist is confused. What's this? He clicks. Yes. The mission reads, God's apostle terror drone knights. He confirms, and his little companion shine. Getting hyped up back in the fight, the Uber takes a hit to the chin. Look who's beating it easily. Another orc comes to strike but gets blocked and knocked down. Stands still, having done nothing so far. Sanyuk tells Ed to snap out of it. Ed glances, and they both run towards the ogre's leg. One jumps on its back, the other on its calf. Slash here, slash there. Sanyuk says it wasn't deep enough, and warns him to be careful. He is thrown far away again. Whoa, still standing, I thought he was dead. The others help him up, telling him to be careful. Who is that guy from the shop, man? She doesn't waste time. Meanwhile, the terror drone is in a one-on-one fight, but another ogre approaches the terror drone, impresses with his horns and sends it flying into the other. Perfect headbutt, almost romantic. The terror drone, standing tall, winks at Ed. Ed is confused. Why is this monster helping us? Our protagonist in the sky is impressed. The terror drones seem much stronger since becoming God's apostles. The only downside is the high essence cost to maintain them. But it's the only way to help the system. Asks, do you want to extend God's apostle? Duration. Requires 5 essences for every 10 minutes. Our protagonist decides to continue supporting them. Ed recognizes the golden light as a symbol of Ark. The ogres get up growling. We're going to die here. You, green bastards, poor Sung, yuck. In the next second, she's opened the door and entered you, she asks. Struggles to stand after the intense hit, and asks, are you okay? Can you still fight? Suddenly, Sung, yuck, stands up, saying, yes, he was just acting. These ogres have high resistance. A long battle is a disadvantage for us. Need to finish them in 3 minutes, it challenges him. Show me then. The overcharges at the terror drone, who grabs his arm. Sung rushes in, since you like healing, let's end you before you can. He activates a speed boost, his blade glowing, leaps stylishly into the sky and slashes the ogre's neck, decapitating it. Our protagonist is impressed. Wow, he killed a berserker ogre in one hit. The no one hunter is truly different, but then Sungi's blade breaks in half. He laughs, saying, he used too much ether on the blade. A blinding flash occurs. That potion. What was that? Our boy is completely confused. During the terror drone and over fight, Sunyuk sees the beast charging at him and gets scared. But the ogre falls dead, struggling to get up. He says, today is not my day. Ed comments, you're drawing a lot of attention today. It would be easier if I had a good sword. Simic replies. They thank the terror drone, now looking fluffy and gigantic. It turns and flies away. They wave goodbye back in the protagonist's hand. He says, good job. In the church, a worker brings food to the saint, saying she'll get sick if she doesn't eat. The kind and wonderful saint insists on giving the food to a hungry child instead. She returns to her prayer. Ark, please bring some hope to our poor souls. That's when she heard a voice asking if Selena could hear him. She started crying, saying she could hear the voice of God. Ark, he simply. The guys in the back are talking, and it looks like everyone knows she killed the man. Said he was an apostle and told her to send the prince east. She was confused, but he explained that there was something he needed to find there. Selena, excited, said she would pass on this information immediately. One of the guys nearby wondered if the saint had gone mad. Seeing that there were only 8 seconds left in the conversation, he told her to wait a moment and warned her to stay away from Baron Grom because he was up to something. Then he was disconnected, leaving Selena confused. Our protagonist hoped she understood the message. The Baron muttered to himself that it was better to leave. At that moment, she looked back and saw him retreating. She spoke to the heaven, saying she would take his words to heart. With that resolved, she had to do his part. Stalker alone, she apologizes for being rude. In the forest, Eddie asked his friend if he was okay. He said he was fine because he had been through similar situations many times. Everyone wondered what those monsters were doing. Geo's creatures were busy collecting crystals until someone called out to the prince. When he looked back, it was a maid. Confused, he asked why she came running, and if something had happened in the village. The woman said she brought a message from the saint. Selena told him to go east, because there he would find what he was looking for. Sunyuk was confused, because the mithril was supposed to be to the north. Eddie asked if Selena said he would find it, and the woman said she didn't know but that she had received an oracle. He asked Eddie what he thought, and Eddie said he had no idea, leaving the decision to him since he was the captain. Our boy says it's okay, but was there a problem with the potion he gave? She says yes. Eddie suggested that maybe those giant beetles were related to Ark, and if that was the case, they should go there to find out if it was true. He turned to the knights and said they would move separately, and they agreed. Sunyuk ran and grabbed the guy's sword. Annie told him to relax because he would give him a much better sword later. The scene shifts to Jiha meeting Hyjin. She looks confused, asking what he's doing there. Our boy just smiled, saying it had been a while since they last saw each other. She approached, asking why he was there, and he said he had a favor to ask. She invited him in, and he thanked her. Inside, she asked if he really wanted Sungho's sword, and he said yes. Confused, she asked why he needed his sword. Jiha said he had heard that Sunyuk was in Bihana. She's never seen a potion that heals 14% of health and reduces either cost. At that moment, she seemed emotional, asking if that was really true. He said yes, and that he hadn't told her earlier, because he didn't want to give false hopes. Excited, she stood up saying she would do anything to help, and ran upstairs asking him to wait a minute. Moments later, she returned with Sungyue's sword. It's a symbol of the contract of Growler, which only the contractor could use. Jiha said the sword of the warrior's cry was incredible. She was confused, asking how he already knew the name. He revealed that he was the so-called Master Cat. When he went to grab the sword, it was heavy, and he almost fell. She explained that Sunyue's sword had much more ether than other hunters' weapon. He started putting it in his bag, thanking her for lending it to him. That's what we are here to discover. Let's get it in a day, not unlike any other. Our boy, being Maeve, says, "Ah, I heard you killed an aversion level creature alone." Outside, she thanked him for everything, and he said it was all right. He would find a way to bring Sunyue back. Hyjin smiled, saying, She believed he would, because he was an incredible person. Our boy blushed but said he had to go. Back at the shop, he wondered where the troublemakers were. They were right at the door, hesitating, but seemingly wanting to say something. One looked at the other, urging the other to speak. Dago nudged Jiva's foot. And Giva realized, maybe he wanted to go with him. He petted him, saying it was okay, since he must have his reasons with that. They were in the forest. Meanwhile, Sung-yuk and Eddie were arriving in front of a castle. Eddie remembered that this was the place they used to escape. Incredible. She bangs on the table. That's not the point. Knowing there must be something there, they decided to go in. However, someone was watching them from behind. Inside, they discussed how Mount Apato had many tunnels. Sung-yuk asked if the place where Eddie was found was nearby. Eddie said yes, and asked when he was going to repay the favor. The friend jokes that he was an anxious guy, and the creatures he had already killed paid that price with that. He laughs, saying he was just kidding. And Eddie tells him to stop because he found something. They both look down and say it looks very suspicious. It would be strange for a trap to be marked with an X on the ground. Sonia taps the ground, asking if anyone is there. Even with a simple touch, the ground starts to break. Within a second, the entire floor collapses. That potion you gave me, where did you get it, or did you make it yourself? He tells his friend that now the favor is fully repaid, and he tells him to activate the ether in his sword to use it as a torch. She doesn't like, however, as they walk a bit further. Something catches their attention. They see a strange golden sword stuck in a stone. Some-give asks if Ed knows that one. He says that sword is the seal of the kingdom of Astrana and goes to take it, wondering how it got there. The moment Ed raises the sword, the protagonist starts receiving multiple achievements for Prince Ed and Sko breaking the seal. Now, the prince was recognized by Arc, and communication was possible. He even received the observation ability, allowing him to see the potential of allies. Geo was smiling, thanking Ed, observing the Valley of Griffins. He wondered why people were gathering there. A system message said, "The terror drones." He shows her the apple and says, "I use this." She asks this were there and asked if he would support them. As always, he said yes. He saw the entire army and wanted to test the new ability he received. Seeing that the Terror Drone's experience bar was at 95%, he knew there was at least one more evolution. The only problem was that the creature was already very strong. What would happen if he made it even more powerful? However, seeing that many of the Terror Drones also had experience bars, he knew the ability would be very useful. But first, they needed to defeat these griffins, so he poured a bunch of experience points into the kid. Just then, Dodo appeared calling for him. Jiu turned and asked what the problem was. At the same moment, the dog jumped into his bag, and he asked if he was hungry. But Dogo stole the sword, and Ji had told him to stop because it was dangerous. Yes, a solar apple I found by chance in a level 0 dungeon. Strangely, Dogo ran to a portal and stood there with the sword in front of him. Suddenly, the puppy started to glow, and the system said that Growler was recovering the power he had lost. However, it would cost 2,000 essences, and the system warned that if it failed, he would revert to his primordial form. Gia only had 2,300 essences but didn't want to disappoint his friend, so he withdrew everything, saying to use it. A blinding light enveloped the area, and all the essence energy passed to the dog. A while later he found himself in a space. When he opened his eyes, the dog was gigantic in front of him. He accidentally petted it, asking if it was his friend, but the creature wasn't happy and made a face. She asks a solar apple in a level 0 dungeon. As far as I know, this item isn't that common. A voice said it had been waiting for this moment with the apostle of God and advised him to stop being called by that ridiculous name. Jaiha started sweating, saying he didn't realize he disliked it so much. However, the dog turned, saying it wasn't about disliking it, just that he didn't like that type of name. Then it thanked him, saying because of him, the world had another chance. Poor Jiha. Feeling embarrassed that he was a bit confused, the dog warned that his mission from now on was crucial. Whether the entire world would be destroyed or restored depended on Jiha. A light appeared, and the dog said it was out of time, telling Jaiha to become stronger. Jaiha, confused, said he was already too old to be called a child once again. He was blinded by the our boy obviously doesn't want to tell anyone he has the forest of abundant light, and woke up in the forest, lying in the grass, confused about what happened. He got up exhausted, saying he needed to learn to stay more focused. However, determined, knowing that Growler said his mission was crucial, he would do his best. A terror drone flew to him, and he said he was fine. He took a book and said it was time to return to hunting griffins. He started writing another spell. The scene shifted to waterfalls, filled with flying griffins while walking through the mountain, and couldn't believe they found the seal that had been lost. Sudyak, angry, said he wanted a weapon for himself. He turned to Ed and warned him that he needed to learn to draw his sword before hearing excuses. "Well, I'm glad my potion helped you," he says, trying to change the subject. Especially since if he didn't, the Baron would turn against him confidently. Song Yue said he would slit the Baron's throat if necessary, but Ed replied that those were his people, even if they did bad things. Sun Yue sighs, saying that if Ed wants to keep being fooled, he can go ahead. But then Ed looks up, and something seems to catch his attention. The entire mountain is glowing, and they have no idea what's happening. Back to Jiva. Writing in the book, he's observing the fight and noticing that the terror drones are winning in numbers. The problem is, while the terror drones can only fly forward, the griffins have full control in the air and can change direction. The only one who has a chance is the terror drone knight. Then he sees a group coming out of a cave. She points to the side and asks what's that. He replies, it's an ice resistance potion. Carrying a net and looking determined, Gia smiles. Thinking it's a great idea, the nets are thrown towards griffins, managing to trap some of them. However, the fight is still tough, and the terror drones are struggling, and something shines next to Gia. The potential of the terror drone Knight has reached 100%. The little one raises his arm, and now he has received the shockwave ability. Gia watches as he raises his glowing purple claw and strikes down. The energy sweeps over all the griffins. Gia gives a thumbs up, saying that was amazing. From a distance, Eddie and Sun Yue are blinded by the light. They recognize that it's the same beetle from before and realize they might be coming to help them. If that's the case, they decide to join the fight. She wants to know the effect. Awkwardly, he says, I think it gives. Suddenly, a giant beetle appears in front of them before they can say anything. The beetle draws a house on the ground. They are confused, not knowing what it means, but seeing the beetle point towards the city, they understand it wants them to return to the village. Sonia thinks something might have happened there. Eddie thanks the beetle and says they'll leave that place to the Terra drums watching them go. Gia thinks that's the most he can do for now. The two run as fast as they can, hoping everything is okay in the village. Then Sung Yuk is shocked seeing corpse is on the ground, saying that someone finally acted. Eddie recognizes the soldiers as Baron Grom's men. Suddenly, Sonia puts the sword to his face, making a vow of revenge. Eddie tells them to hurry, as the saint has probably been kidnapped. Sung Yuk swears the peace everyone thought would last forever. The 32% ice resistance for 40 minutes, she's stunned again. To kill the bastard who took Eddie's woman and asks where they might have taken them. Eddie suggests they might be hiding them in the nearest village. The scene shifts to a castle with people at the entrance, watching as others pass by. The sink is held hostage among the nobles. A fat man says that unfortunately Eden's school wasn't with the group. Another man says it's fine because Eden's school will come on his own. Looking at the knight, he asks where the amazing prince is. The knight says he should have cut his neck before. The baron agrees, saying to hang this man at the castle and send the rest to prison. The sink shouts at the baron, asking if he really thinks he'll get away with this, warning him that Ark will punish him. The best potions on the market offer 10% resistance for a maximum of 15 minutes. The baron grabs her face, saying if Ark were alive, the world would be like this. He tells her to stop praying to a false god and maybe start serving him. At that moment, someone puts a sword to his neck. Turning around, he sees it's one of his men. But it's actually a Dinskull, saying he won't sacrifice people for the Baron's greed anymore. The Baron realizes his plan is ruined. The fat man orders everyone to kill a Dinskull, but Samyuk appears asking why he thinks Ed is alone. He warns everyone that those who resist will be killed. Seeing Giant kneeling, he says there's no need to pretend anymore to end this. A few seconds later, both barons are immobilized, saying the prince will regret this. Eddie approaches, saying he gave them a chance to serve the people. Drawing his sword, he declares that from now on the barons recognize the seal on the sword. This one is like 10 times better, so she wants to know where he found this. He raises it in the sky, saying he will rebuild the kingdom. Jaha, in his gigantic god form, observes everything from above. The second mission, to banish all evil, is completed. Now the third mission is to start the kingdom's foundation. He helped Prince Edensko and Messenger Celine regain their position. Now, he needs to expand the survivor base to build a new kingdom. Gia hesitates, receiving many missions at once. He also receives mission 3-1, make a contract with the saint. This will help gain the people's trust without needing prayers. Mission 3-2 is to prove the qualities of a king. Eden's school has received the seal of a king, but needs to prove his qualities. Additionally, our boy remembers that, when he was in the garden world, he needs to clear the other monsters in Mount Apito and find a specific location. As a reward for all these missions, he will receive the sanctuary. Jiha is confused, wondering how a sanctuary will help expand the place, and the location is probably covered by the mist, but now that he has contact, he can pass the mission. Through the oracle, he receives a notification that the Griffin raid is also complete. Seeing the happy terror drones, he says he needs to deal with that first. Smiling, he tells them to discard the Griffin corpses and start moving all the essences to the garden. However, one of the items they found was Griffin eggs. Jiha is exhausted, having received many missions, events, and now some eggs on top of it. All the system notification appears. Some winter strawberries and use them to make the potion again, and he wonders what's happening now. It's a notification that the Terra drone found a rare material called Dimitrial, and now the worker class Terra drones have been added to the army. Seeing the cute creatures, he says it's great. He picks up a Terra drum with a little hat. The worker class specializes in gathering, mining, and crafting items. They can even collect a metal cube. The little worker shows in one, saying he mined it for mining the first. He receives a reward and can choose one of the abilities, a medium class artifact, or doubling the number of worker Terra drones. Gia thought all the options looked good, but he was more curious about the artifact. As soon as he clicked a purple energy form in front of him, suddenly a dagger appeared in his hand. His alchemy is already at level 2. He says again, yeah, I found it in the level 0 dungeon. It was a high quality Dimitri knife. The 30 elemental resistance would be good to help him survive. However, he remembered Sun Yue, who had low resistance. At that moment, the knight appeared, and Jia asked how he was. The knight was feeling proud because his wings were now covered in Dimitri. Jia told him he couldn't monopolize everything and get strong alone. Then, he looked toward the village, wondering what was happening there. The people were gathered around a campfire, celebrating and praising Eddie for his good work, while Sung Yup complained that he hadn't known about the kidnapping plan. Nearby, the two barons were still in prison, and Eddie announced that they would be exiled from the village tomorrow. Sun Yue. She realizes right away that he's lying and says I won't ask for any more. Said that was too generous because they might return, but Eddie replied that generosity was a necessary trait for a leader. Sun Yue, frustrated, said Eddie was too kind to be a king. However, his friend put a hand on his shoulder, saying he would always remember his advice. Giant then mentioned that the biggest problem now would be food, since they relied on hunting, and he suggested that the best plan would be to open a trade route with the north and negotiate with the elves. At that moment, Selena appeared calling for the prince. He asked if something was wrong, and she said he needed to see something. Selena began to pray, surrounded by a blue aura. She raised her hands and a golden message appeared. John explained that it was written for the royal family and directed by the apostle. Since it makes you uncomfortable, but sell everything to me, everything he asked. Selena approached and said that this was what the oracle had said. Eddie thought about the apostle of God while Giant was pleased that Selena was completing all the mission. Mission 3.1 was completed, and now he could communicate freely with her. Some here commented that it might have something to do with the beetle, since both had a golden light. Selena asked about the beetle. Eddie explained that the creature saved him in the middle of the battle. Sun Yue told Selena to inform her god that there was a lost guy here. Smiling, she said she would try to find a way to help him return to where he came from. Seeing this conversation, Jia said it was enough for today and that he would provide more information tomorrow. She throws money on the table, saying, I'll pay in cash. I don't even want a receipt. He told the terror drone that the day was long and he still had a lot to do. He called BM and Growler to go back home, but then he remembered he was still in Gina. BM called him, making him confused, and he noticed something that caught his attention. The Griffin hunt had yielded much more essence than he had imagined. At that moment in the Griffin dungeon, Su Yan's group was following the tips they had received. She opened the book and conjured a web of leaves. The paper started sticking to the eyes of the flying griffins, and everyone charged in to finish them off. Hyjin activated a sword surge, slicing through them in the sky. The group found it too easy until the knight noticed something on his back. He conjured a giant fireball in the pour. Our boy says it's too much money. She walks away, saying it doesn't matter. Preachers ran desperately, fearing for their lives. She was excited, saying it was very easy. The guys with burnt hair complained they would go bald in her group. Then, everything started to shake, and some stones above them began to fall. When they hit the ground, a cloud of dust rose, and everyone covered their faces. Hyjin asked what it was in front of them. A cave had opened. They entered. Wondering it was a secret dungeon, Hyjin said it was best to take a quick look and return as soon as possible, but Weiyan wanted to rush in and finish everything. Because she was confident, Hyjin convinced her, saying an unknown dungeon was extremely dangerous. The white-haired guy tried to calm her down, saying there was no need to hurry. Strangely, he stepped on something and stumbled, falling like an idiot in front of everyone. Was shattered with the appearance of the dungeons. Everyone was terrified when the goblin, however, she asks his name. Our boy says it's Jiha. She thinks and says it's a beautiful name. A girl came to heal his head. Suddenly, Suyang stepped in front and told everyone to get out. She recognized the pattern on the ground. It was the same circle they had encountered last time back at the castle. The two barons were being expelled. The knight asked if they were sure, and Giant said to just continue. Groom warned that the prince would regret this, but at a glance, he just watched. He approached and called for the baron, drawing his sword, saying he would give him another chance. He placed the sword on the baron's neck, warning him to stop risking his life. He told him that his neck would be cut if he messed with those people. Again with that he turned to the knights and said they could go. The two barons ran away in a panic. Looking all sweet, she replies, see you next time, Jiha. The scene then shifts to our boy back in the forest. However, Graham looked back and muttered that Dan and Insko would pay for this. Sun Yue expressed his dislike for this attitude, and he seemed confused, and Sun Yue said that Jian mentioned the boy was too soft, but Ji Hao was just watching everything. Thinking that the king was a good person, being able to help someone like that made him happy. He decided that he would have to use the guide of the god Apostle. There were many creatures on that mountain after the ogre's death, and it wasn't wise to take risks. He clicked yes, saying it would help them navigate. He looked at the terror drone and said he was counting on him once again. At that moment, a portal appeared in front of the gate, and the terror drone began to emerge in front of everyone. Each time he's returning with more stuff. However, he starts to question. However, the creature was even larger than before. The two realized it was the work of the apostle that Selena mentioned. With that, the terror drum pointed north. They immediately turned to the other knights and said they would follow him. On the way, they were sure it was related to the Griffin Valley incident. However, Sun Yue just wanted to know when he would get a decent sword. Suddenly, the terror drone stopped and stared at a mountain. He extended his arm, and they wondered what he was doing. Then, he struck the mountain, creating a shockwave impact that made them cover themselves. They soon realized the terror drone's attack had broken a camouflage barrier. Song Yue scolded the creature, telling it to warn them before doing something like that. This place is very strange. There are so many rare resources and no monsters at all. But Eddie told him not to be harsh, because the creature meant well. With that, the terror drone flew away. The knights approached, asking if they were okay. Sun Yue told the prince to stay back while he and Giant checked it out. The old man was reluctant, but Samyuk insisted that they couldn't let the prince take such a risk. They started walking into the cave until Giant saw something and Samyuk smiled. They found a cache of resources that the two nobles had hidden from the village, informed Eddie, who said it would solve the food problem for a while. The cart was loaded and Eddie told them to be careful of monsters. Some have exited the cave complaining he hadn't found any weapons again. He said that now, everything seemed resolved. Where am I? He hears some movement nearby. Slowly, he walks to see what it is. He should start looking for a way to get back home. At that moment, someone screamed up ahead. One of the men was on the ground, begging to be saved while everyone else ran. What they saw was a gigantic growler. The prince and Sung Yuk stood in front of the man to protect him. However, they were unsure if they could defeat the creature. Growler bared his teeth, and Eddie said he would go to the right. But Sun Yuk told him to stay put, saying a prince must care for his people. Facing growlers, Sun Yuk told Eddie to flee and ordered the citizens to leave the area. As Eddie looked back, he prayed for Sun Yuk to survive. Swipe from Growler exploded the ground. But Sonia was confident, saying it would be just an exercise. However, a strange window appeared before him. The test of the howl had begun. He says he's sure something was around here when he sees it, and he had to prove his strength. Suddenly Growler leaped toward him, while Song Yue was staring at the system window like an idiot. He noticed a shadow above him just in time. He barely managed to block the attack with his sword. Realizing the fight wouldn't be easy, he had to drop the paw and roll to the side. To avoid being crushed, he muttered that it was too difficult. If this was the test, it looked like he would have to get serious. He activated the ether in his sword and Growler with a red aura stared him down. Without fear, Sung Yuk rushed forward instead of attacking. Head-on, he slid under the creature's belly and quickly reached its hind leg with a swift move. He aimed to cut the leg, but the agile dog managed to dodge. There's a beetle called a terror drone, a mythical monster, a creature. Sung Yuk was surprised by its intelligence and took a heavy blow and thrown to the ground like trash. Realizing it wouldn't be easy to deal with such strength, he noted that the creature was at least disaster level. Meanwhile, the cart group had encountered a horde of goblins. Giant and Eddie were at the front, telling everyone to hold on. Until they reached the village, they knew they urgently needed a way to help Sung Yuk. Chika, having exhausted the apostle's ability, was unsure what to do next. A window indicated that he couldn't intervene in this quest because something crucial was happening. All Jiho could see was a mist. He had no idea that inside Growler was attacking. Sung Yuk, the poor guy, dodged the size of a small car that resembles a beetle with giant claws again, but was getting increasingly worn out. He wanted to know where that window came from and what this hell test was. However, he was excited, saying it looked like he had to take it seriously. Activating an agility ability on his feet, he advanced toward Growler, but this dog was too clever, easily dodging him. Sung Yuk tried to move to the side, but the monster anticipated his strike. However, Sung Yuk had a trick up his sleeve and used a quick movement ability. Just as he was about to strike down, the cunning dog easily dodged to the side. Now he was off balance with no way to recover. He took another swipe, this time smashing him into a tree. The poor babe fell to the ground like a fool. Growler said he was too weak compared to the previous generation and wasn't prepared. Our protagonist recognizes the creature instantly. However, strangely, for the power he could receive, Samyu slowly tried to get up, saying it wasn't over yet and asking the dog to wait a moment. But Growler just raised his paw, saying he was too weak for this. I thought Samyu would do something, but the poor guy was just crushed. Helpless on the ground, he couldn't react as Growler approached, swinging his sword and saying he couldn't die yet, but the dog simply bit the sword. At that moment, he realized his chances had dropped significantly. However, the timer hit 0 seconds and he had passed the test. Growler smiled, saying he was getting too soft. This left Sun Yuk completely confused. With a golden aura, Growler said that Sun Yuk was just a peasant born with a certain destiny. They are very small. Here, they're supposed to be car-sized. He wants to pass. And this was the opportunity given to him. The energy condensed, forming the sword, and as it approached Sun Yuk, Growler said he would now carry the creature's name. Sun Yuk found it strange that the sword, which was once his, was there. He knew he had found it in a dungeon long ago, so how did this happen? However, he recognized the sword well and raised it to the sky, shining. He wondered if this god really existed. As the saint said, then, he heard a scream and realized it was time to go back and get out of this haze. He started running, saying he would save Eddie. With that, Joe was notified that the quest was over, and that Growler was returning like before. He returned as a cute little dog. Jia, happy to see him, held him in his arms. Now without the energy, he was smaller, and Jia testosterone appeared in the middle of the city. Hundreds of creatures emerged, bringing fear. But there's some barrier protecting them. Then some evil ants appear. Said he was even cuter. He petted him, saying he had missed him. Meanwhile, in the forest, the goblins were being slaughtered. Eddie's group was almost at the village when Giant told him to look back because someone was coming. I thought it was Sung Yuk, but it was actually an army of goblins buffed with red energy. Eddie turned to fight, knowing things would get more dangerous if the creatures entered the village. He easily killed several goblins, while the goblin lord was pounding on the village gate. Inside, everyone was holding the gate, trying to prevent the creature from entering. But slowly, the gate was breaking, and the goblins outside were eager to charge in. The creature raised its mace, concentrating a purple energy at, and the little creatures start fighting. Our boy watches and says. That moment, it felt something strange. It looked to the side, sensing danger approaching. But it was too late. Sunyuk had already passed it and he was surprised to see his friend had arrived and half of the goblin lord's body fell to the ground. Sunguk smiled, asking if Eddie had been waiting for him. Now excited with his new sword, he was on top of a wolf. The remaining goblins fled in fear, and Eddie asked where he got a wolf and a sword. Sonia explained that he was recognized by that wolf. He dismounted, saying he would show what he meant. He touched the sword to the creature and said to cancel the summoning. It dissolved into the air and returned to the mark on the sword. He explained that the giant wolf they had seen before was actually his guardian. He almost died, but in the end, the wolf said it was his destiny and gave him the sword. Why are they killing each other? The problem is that these demons. He explained that the only strange thing was that this was the same sword he used in another world. This meant there was also a way for him to return to where he came from. Eddie said it made sense for him to have a guardian since the Deidai gods would never support an evil person like him. Suddenly, the gate opened and they turned around. It was Saint Selena running and asking if Eddie was okay. He said he was doing very well and they had managed to drive the goblins away. Most importantly, they also found a lot of food. The princess thanked the prince for his hard work, while some you complained that he deserved thanks too, since he worked much harder. The saint replied that it was nothing more than payment for the blasphemies he committed. Eddie told them to stop joking and come inside, because everyone was hungry. Ants are extremely dangerous, but again, they are supposed to be the size of a truck. With that, they headed back to the village. Jiha, observing, noted that everyone seemed to have made it home safely. Looking at Growler, he said they should also head back, since he must be tired. They crossed the portal and Jiha called for Biome, who came happily. He showed Growler, now much smaller, to Biome, who promptly bit Growler's neck and carried him away, saying he finally did a good job. BM placed Growler in a cave and told him to focus on recovering, even giving him a gentle pat, to which Growler grumbled, telling him to stop being so friendly. Then BM called Jiha over. This time, he wanted to lie down on Jiha's lap, and Jiha said it had been a long day for everyone. They would talk to Hyjin about everything tomorrow. At that moment, the plant began shaking, indicating a customer. Jer returned to the shop, asking who it was. But they're small here. However, he sees the terror drones. It was Sumyeon's group of adventurers, telling him to open the door. He found it strange that they were there so late at night. When he opened the door, he saw Hwayan and Hyjin with them. Hwayan immediately confronted him, asking why it took so long to open the door. He said he wasn't doing anything important. However, he invited everyone in, saying it was cold outside. At the table, he asked about their sudden visit. Sunyoung showed a drawing of a marking they found previously. He recognized the magic circle and asked what the problem was. Hyjin said they also found that marking in the Griffin dungeon has caught Jiho's attention since the terror drones also fought the Griffins. Hwayan mentioned using an incredible ability, being crushed. All crying, our protagonist wonders why are they fighting. That helped them find a secret passage. The group said it was mostly by chance, and everyone nearly died because of it. Shika suddenly stood up and said he needed to ask a favor from everyone. He started to leave, and the group was eager to know why he was so excited. Jia began counting from 1 to 7, and the group heard a cry for help. He reappeared at the door, asking for help because it was very heavy. He brought a bunch of essences and told each of them to take one. Hwayan was shocked, saying she had never seen such large essences. Jahan explained that if they placed these essences on the circle, they could create a portal to Gehenna. He asked Hyjin if she could lead the mission, and she feeling, at this rate they will lose. Can I help? Emotional said, yes, she would definitely do it. Sometime later, they were back in front of the cave. The group once again advanced along the same path around the tree. The grass was growing down that there were no more monsters. Gita told BM that maybe the village people could live there. The only big problem now was Mount Apido. I hadn't expected so many creatures to flee from there for an attack. Something caught his attention. Strangely, only Eddie and Sung Yuk left the village to confront the monsters. Of course, Song Yue immediately raised his sword, and the conversation was not going to be long. Eddie told him not to lag behind, and with that, Song Yue's wolf started to appear. He named his creature Little Wolf. Geo remarked that the boy didn't know how to name pets, which made Beyond look dumbfounded. The system then gives a notification, the war between your Terra drones and the demon. With that, he gave the order to advance. Their destination was now to reach the Elven Wild Village. Along the way, they killed all the orcs. Geo was impressed, having forgotten that Sunyuk was the one hunter. Eddie Insko was also quite formidable, easily cutting through the works. He turned and called for Eddie. Just then, an overlord was about to strike, but Eddie concentrated and swiftly sliced off all the orc's fingers. Eddie told Sunyuk to move ahead, assuring him he would follow right behind. He had to deal with the group in front of him. Suddenly, a shadow covered him. The orcs looked terrified. Terror John had arrived, quickly grabbing Eddie by the cape and running off, leaving the orcs in the dust. Sun Yue, Ants has begun. Do you want to help your legion? Yes or no? Said that the god was too kind, helping even when things were easy. However, Jia was smiling, saying there was no reason to waste time. With that, the two advanced through the waterfalls from above. Eddie thought to himself, That Mount Apata was larger than he had imagined. He wondered if that was really where the village of the wild elves was located. Looking down, he could see some yet was close by. He turned to the pterodrone, saying it was very kind when the creature accelerated. He asked it to go a bit slower. After a while, they arrived. But the poor guy was exhausted. Sungho and Little Wolf laughed at his expense before they could thank the pterodrone, it flew away. Sanya thanked it and recalled Little Wolf. He wanted to know why they were brought to the elves' village if he knew nothing about negotiation. Our protagonist. What I can intervene in this even stranger, it says my pterodrones. Eddie said he would handle that part but wanted to see if the elves knew a way to send Sanya back. This was because the wild elves were the oldest and wisest. Sunyuk laughed, saying it seemed his friend really wanted him to leave. Suddenly, an arrow struck the ground in front of them, and Eddie said they seemed pleased to see them from atop one of the trees. An elf told them to stay put. Eddie explained that they were survivors from the village on Mount Apato and just wanted to talk. However, the elves weren't keen on conversing, stating they no longer talked to humans. Eddie went to draw his sword, startling Sung Yuk, who questioned if he was crazy. Eddie drew the blade, remaining silent. The entire group of elves aimed at them, making it clear. However, just as despair arrived, hope appeared. People awakened as entities called hunters. Well, if that's the case, then yes, your legion is losing. You can use an essence. They wouldn't get out of this easily. Sun gave asked Eddie if he was sure they could win. Eddie introduced himself again as a dink school prince of the kingdom of the Strand. An elf descended from the tree and Ed showed him the sword, saying he could check the seal to confirm his identity. The elf angered, said this proved Eddie was with Porojak and Grom. Immediately the two clashed swords, each blade at the other's neck. The elf warned Eddie to let go or he would die. Eddie replied that he knew what the two barons had done and was there to fix it. The elf retorted that he didn't believe him since the barons had stolen their food and killed their people. Eddie dropped his sword and told Sunny to do the same, leaving him confused. Eddie ordered him to obey the elf, then buff to improve the chances of victory, increase HP by 30% for 1 hour. Ordered them to be blindfolded and taken to the village. The two were carried away by the legion of elves, not knowing where they were being taken. The tribe members pointed and whispered about the newcomer's son Yue, muttered that it would have been better to show their strength before negotiating. But Eddie told him not to worry. He believed the elves were rational and would give them a chance to talk before things got out of hand. However, the elf shoved Sunyuk, telling him to stop talking. They arrive at his cell, and the gray-haired elf ordered them to be imprisoned, giving them a kick. Sunyuk grumbled that it would have been better to stay in the village than be humiliated like this. Eddie insisted that he should calm down and assured him everything. Increase poison resistance, increase physical resistance would be resolved. Sanyuk decided to sleep, seeing no immediate solution. The gray-haired elf observed them, while Eddie wondered what the barons had done to the elves. After some time, some elven children came to look at the two. Amazed since they had never seen humans, guards arrived and cleared them out. The gray-haired elf brought the elder to talk to them. The elder ordered their release. Confusing the gray-haired elf, the elder explained that if they wanted to escape, they could break the bars at any moment. He asked Ed and Skull if he was right. Eddie was puzzled by the elder. Knowing his name, the elder recalled him from before they lost contact. With the kingdom of the Strand approaching, he asked why they were there. Eddie said that before discussing that he wanted to know what the barons had done, or the workers' blessing, which costs 2 essences. Our boy thinks he understands and says. The elf placed a dagger to his throat, telling him to stop lying. The elder calmed Cordell down and Eddie said he didn't know what they had done, but was there to take responsibility. The elder, confused, asked if he really had no idea about what had happened. The prince explained that they also faced hardships in the village because those guys hid food there. It was only recently that they found a lot of things hidden. In Mount Apigio, the elder, confused, said he believed that place was full of monsters. Sunget mentioned that they had dealt with most of the monsters with the help of a giant beetle. Obviously, there were still some creatures, but their numbers were much lower than before. I can't help directly, but I can provide assistance walking. Both found it strange since the barons had gone north when they delivered the food. It explained that when he exiled the barons, they seemed to have some kind of backup plan. Corridel said they couldn't trust him as he might be deceiving them. It explained it was a misunderstanding and all he wanted was to reopen the trade line and also deal with the monsters. Corridel questioned what trade he was talking about. It mentioned the minerals they had been sending in exchange for food. Sung Yup then remarked that it seemed those bastards had deceived both sides. The elder commented that if this was true, it meant there was some other third party involved. Further north, however, he warned that they couldn't trust them, as both could be lying to take more food from that place. Around, he had found these essences used for buffs and he has just 2, and asked what they had to do to prove their innocence. The elder said they should bring the minerals they were supposed to have received. Then he said the guy from the other world would go and fetch them while Ed would stay there. Confused, Songyak asked how he knew he was from another world. The elder explained that all elves were connected to the mother tree, and that people like him from other dimensions had appeared several times in history. Sunyuk smiled at Ed, saying they really did know something, and told the elder he would handle it right away. The only thing he asked for was his sword back, since he might encounter some danger. Kreuter was hesitant, but the elder nodded. Sunyuk was soon in the forest. Since the last option is more expensive, it's probably the best. And the elf brought his sword, warning him not to do anything foolish. If he wanted to see the prince alive, Sung Hyok laughed, saying they shouldn't underestimate the prince or they would end up on the ground. The elf replied that he would never lose to a human. Just then, the strange breeze passed over them, and Sung Jaeok smiled, saying that Mr. Beetle had arrived not alone, but with an entire group bringing a lot of essence. The elder was shocked to see that the workers of the world tree still existed. Meanwhile, Geo wondered why a new area had opened up just now. The wild elven village had been discovered. He received mission No. 4, which was to uncover the secret of the wild elves. Once again, he had to clear the monsters from another region, so he applies the workers' blessing. The little creatures feel the energy to gain access. Most of the elders were insecure and confused by the scene. Sun Yue was greeting a bunch of Terra drones that were bringing the mithril. Obviously, it was Jiva who had given this mission, telling the Terra drones to assist the prince and Sun Yue with whatever they needed. The Terra drone tossed a giant mithril ore into the elder's hand, making him question why the Terra drones were helping these two people. Sun Yue said it was obvious they were helping because there was no other reason for them to bring the mithril. Suddenly, the Terra drone pointed to the side, where they saw some green herbs. The elder asked if it wanted those, and the Terra drone nodded. He smiled, saying he had done a good job. Flowing into them, empowered, they start smashing all the ants. They quickly win, and now it was time to bring Han back. A while later, Ed was also released, but the elf said he was just following the elder's orders. Ed said he didn't care about gaining their trust, since humans and elves would be just trade partners. Sung Yuk hugged both of them, telling them to calm down a bit, but the elf pushed him away, telling him to keep his dirty hands off. At that moment, the elder came with Ed's sword and handed it to him. Ed said he wanted to ask the elder a few things. He asked about some Yuk arriving 3 years ago, and how they could make him return. The elder questioned if he couldn't return the same way he came, as the world tree should still be connected to that other place. It explained, and our boy is delighted. Wow, this is crazy. He approaches the Terra drones. They found him by a lake for the first time and believe the place he appeared should be near the royal palace. The elder suggested that might not be the case, as the connection of the world tree begins at its root. A confused Ed asked what he meant by that. The elder explained that the tree in Song Yue's world and the one in their world were connected by the same root. In other words, if he could follow the energy within the tree, he would likely find the passage. The root ends at Mount Apagido, which is why most people appear there from time to time. The elder mentioned that if he had a good relationship with the Terra drones, it might be worth asking them, saying that he must acknowledge these beetles appear out of nowhere. It's because they are world tree workers. Got a guy doing his best to grind, and the new materials that fell from the monsters made humanity prosper, and thanks them for defending the forest. However, the cute little creatures following the roots, Ed said it made sense, since they once appeared right in front of the village. Ed then thanked the elder, saying they would ask the bees for help. The elder commented that the trade routes must be full of monsters. Ed said they didn't have many soldiers, but would resolve it over time. The elder then asked the growler to assist them, saying that to ensure everything went smoothly, he needed to send someone trustworthy. Seong Yuk laughed, saying the elder was very clever with that. No choice, and was sent with them. Ed thanked him, and Sun Yuk said he would help the weird one to socialize. The elder approached, saying his role was extremely important for the village's recovery. Start giving him lots of essence. He gives a little smile, and they set off. They were riding on Little Wolf, but the poor creature had a hurry. I'd asked where they were going, since that route was different from the one they came by. The elf explained that the area was full of griffins, so it was better to use the underground tunnels. However, some Yuk said the beetles had already dealt with those griffins. The elf smiled, saying they would see if it was true. They arrived at a cave that was once used by the world tree workers. When everything was safe, Sun Yue said it was great to have someone like Willy around. The elf told him to stop annoying him, saying he was only doing it because of the elder. He warned that even though the place was safe, they shouldn't let their guard down because you never know what might be lurking. Creature looks a bit confused. He only takes 5, saying they can keep the rest. It asked if the tree really existed, since he always thought it was a myth. Growler said he didn't expect humans, who are nothing but the tree's dust, to understand its existence. Suddenly, the sword on Sun Yuk's back began to glow. Growler asked to take a look at it as soon as he unsheathed it. A blinding light enveloped them. Looking at the blade, Growler said it wasn't his imagination, he had felt it. He explained that the sword was considered a divine instrument, containing the power of the god art. Sun Yue said he knew it was an incredible sword, but he wanted to understand why it was glowing. It was a sign that something in the cave required the sword. The scene shifted to Hoyan, casting a fire explosion. They were facing a horde of skeletons. This is more than enough for me, he says. After all, they were the ones who fought for their lives, and she was clearing them out. One skeleton found a gap in the flames and lunged at her, but Hyjin intercepted and smashed all 3. The group was puzzled by the endless number of monsters they had been fighting for a long time, and it seemed endless. Weian maniacally told everyone to step aside, so she could finish them all at once. Concentrating all the energy in her staff, she told everyone to clear out. She unleashed a wave of lava, sweeping through the cave. The exhausted group celebrated the victory she boasted, saying now they had to wait for the skill cool down. Suddenly, Hyjin screamed that something was behind her. She turned to find herself covered by a shadow, a skeleton enveloped in a purple aura. prepared to strike her down, she broke out in a cold sweat at the sight. Without the wall, and the fog in the place disappeared, he thinks. Fortunately, Hyjin stepped in and defended her just in time, but was thrown aside, crashing into a wall. Now, the redhead was about to be torn apart. One of the group members rushed over. Barely saving her from being sliced, the skeleton turned around. The group's tank called everyone to be cautious. Soon Young activated her paper glue spell. Sheets of paper began to surround the skeleton, blinding it. The knight asked if everyone was okay. Wyan fainted. Apparently, from shock, rather than injury, the teammate tried to wake her up, but she was sweating profusely. The skeleton managed to break free from the papers. Soon Young said her magic wasn't strong enough. The healer rushed to Hyjin asking if she was alright. I was planning to stay here for just a bit today, but it looks like I won't be leaving anytime soon. Hey, Jin couldn't understand why such a high-ranking monster was there suddenly. She received a blessing from the world, tree workers, and obtained the scroll of change. Hyjin was confused about what it was. She was then surrounded by a green breeze. Her movement speed increased by 100% and her attack speed by 50%. Additionally, with the victory win passive, she can recover part of her health. Hyjin says she doesn't know what's happening, but now they have a chance. This happened because Jiva spent essence to guarantee the effect. For her, the group is surrounded by a barrier. While she faces the boss, Jiva knows that even with the buff he gave. The next chapter begins by talking about the hunter's website and the various. It won't be easy, fortunately, with the herbs he got from the elves. He can make more scrolls. The skeleton strikes the tanker's shield. The gray-haired guy asks Wei-on if she's okay. She says yes, but she was caught off guard. He then turns and says they need to help because the two of them alone won't hold up. Angrily, she says she'll turn him to ashes. With that, the two join the fight. The big skeleton almost hits Hyjin, who manages to dodge by jumping. Unfortunately, her sword can't penetrate the armor. The only chance is to hit the joint. Wyan tells Suyang that they need to create an opening for Hyjin. Once again, she activates the glue pages effect, while the skeleton raises the axe to hit Hyjin. Wei-on had already prepared her magic with that. The paper and fireball hit the magic together. Communities that were created when all this started. Currently, the sword which Hyjin is ranked 12. The group wondered if they had managed to win and Hyjin realized that. Even though the damage wasn't enough, it helped a lot. She activated her magic, which created several swords. She prepared to attack with the buff Jiha had given, and jumped, hitting him on the arm. The problem was that the attack didn't work. Now, she was hanging in the air without any way to react. The skeleton hit her in the belly once again. She was thrown far away. The group was all confused. Not knowing how they would win that, Jia began spending essence again. To try and help everyone, buff windows started appearing for everyone. However, Jihan knew that even this wouldn't help for long enough. From afar he was just watching, Wyan saying she was the last hope, and we see some users discussing the possibility of her. Then a flash of light passed through the cave. The skeleton looked back knowing something was coming. Sun Yue's little wolf bit its shoulder. Jiho was delighted because he knew who was arriving. While the skeleton tried to break free, someone jumped down from the top of the cave. It was Sun Yue with an angry face. The attack hit the same spot where the wolf had been, and the creature's arm fell to the ground. The group asked what that was and Hoya knew very well. Sunyuk had reappeared after 3 years. However, the boy was also downcast. Realizing it wasn't enough, the skeleton came to strike him with an axe. The attack exploded on the ground, creating a purple aura. While Sun Yu's sword had the same glow, he noticed that Hyjin was lying down, being healed, and wondered why she was there. Huyan ran over asking if it was really him, killing that creature alone being a lie until someone turns on the light and asks. Confused, he wanted to know how everyone was there, but Huyan said they had to solve that problem first. Despite the many questions, this time, the skeleton raised the axe. Releasing a purple aura from the ground, several other skeletons emerged. The healer said she was doing her best, but Hyjin wasn't waking up, so the two decided to protect her while the others dealt with the boss. Wei-on used her magic to kill the revived skeletons, while the knight tried to fight the skeleton. The skeleton retaliated, trying to strike Sung Yuk, who dodged and hit it on the arm again. The problem was that even a full attack left only a scratch. Sun Yuk said that if he couldn't cut it, he'd pulverize it, and used an ability to destroy weapons and equipment. However, the skeleton counterattacked with the axe. And that's how the world of hunters began. But our protagonist is different from everyone else. Are you a zombie girl? That's Chu Hyan, the top alchemist of the Flame Guild, surrounded by purple energy. Once again, Sunyuk was thrown to the ground, and the boys kept getting tossed around. This time, he didn't get up in good shape. The skeleton came to finish him, but now there was a crack in its shoulder. Sun Yue realized that the creature was at least at the disaster level, and was running towards him. Waylon took advantage to create an explosion. She get it full on, but the monster didn't seem to back off. Once again, it faced Sung Yuk. The same cursed, purple energy was traversing the entire cave. After the explosion, the place was full of smoke, and Sonia almost got hit in the head by the axe head, who appeared out of nowhere. Had stopped the skeleton. Sunyuk said he was very late and heard someone say. The redhead says she can concentrate better when it's dark, that the creature's weak point was the center of the body. Ed realized it was the apostle's voice, and right after that, he passed this information to Sunyuk. Jiho was observing everything from above. In his own world, unfortunately, he could only use the blessing ability one more time. He prepared the ink, hoping for something good this time. Again, he wrote an enchantment in the book and got excited, saying this one was perfect for him. Suddenly, Sunyuk felt something. He received the blessing of the workers, a buff that made his attacks hit the target unconditionally for 5 seconds. Ed was having difficulty staying on the monster. Once more he activated the aura and had to step back, but asks if he managed to solve what she asked him to. He says he went in person. Sun Yue was enveloped in a double aura and said that it was enough. Together with the wolf, he ran towards the skeleton. The first strike hit the belly, reaching the core in one touch. The skeleton began to crumble, and half of his body disintegrated. Watching the monster disintegrate, you wondered if it was over. Suddenly all the other monsters also disintegrated into nothingness. She has celebrated the victory. While Songyuk fell exhausted to the ground at that moment, Ed came over, saying he owed him another one. He helped him up, commenting that he seemed to know who those people were. Soon Young thanked him, saying they indeed knew. Sun, Yuk. The group gathered around the unconscious Heijin. The guy is a hunter with the lowest rank of all, no special characteristics, Uchiha, and as expected, suddenly, she opened her eyes and started crying. Seeing Sun, Yuk, she hugged him with longing. He apologized for taking so long, but said he was back. Jihad in the beyond was emotional when the terror drone was confused. Then a window appeared for Jihad. The secret tunnel had been cleared, which would accelerate the restoration of the world tree from afar. Arthur's cry could be heard. Gil wondered if Arthur was another demigod. From the sky, a golden unicorn appeared. The even Growler wondered how to capture such a fast creature. They began to think of plans, but knew none would work. The creature already seemed to be on another mountain, and they knew they had to stop it. Somehow, suddenly, Jia heard barking outside. I didn't see anything strange about him, the redhead responds. As he approached, he asked what the two were doing there. Then a strange golden light passed by him. He saw it looked like a horse and must be a demigod, by the way the two reacted. He remembered this creature was the mount of the god Ark. Watching from the mountains, he wondered if he should try to talk to it. But Ark was too fast, and soon disappeared from sight. Jia could barely see the creature's movement. Suddenly, Ark stopped and stood face to face with Jaiha. The next second, it ran towards him. Jia was startled, as theoretically, he had never been seen this way before. Suddenly, it seemed he woke up back in the forest. It was as if the god Ark was calming the monster, which relaxed in the middle of the field. Jaiha approached and gently petted it, saying it was very cute from afar. The two beasts wondered that maybe he has nothing to do with Hyjin getting stronger. What name Jiha would give the creature? Jiha took the pony to the garden and said its name would be Penny. The creature ran off, probably annoyed by the horrible name, knowing he could make something good with them. He thanked Penny and gave it a bunch of carrots from behind the tree. Beam and Growler were just watching. Art got a bit annoyed, telling them not to come near the carrots. They argued for a bit, and then all sat together under the tree. Cheetah took the herbs, thinking of making red ink. He imagined that color symbolized strength and aggression. Maybe he could create some kind of weapon with it. After some time, the ink was ready. Lying down, he wondered what he would tell everyone when they saw the pony. Shufian says, I don't know, he was selling something special. The next day, back at the shop, he realized he couldn't keep so many creatures there. Suddenly, a gate appeared. Curious, he looked and saw it. LED to a grassy field. Strangely, the gate had an infinity symbol above it. He guessed it was something from the tree. Then, Sungyuk and Heijin entered the shop. Joe was very happy and welcomed them. Sunyak had no idea who he was, but he knew the name Jaiha. Heijin thanked him for all the help. He said it was nothing, but Heijin insisted she didn't know how to thank him. GGA said it was good they were there, and invited them for tea. That's when she asked about the pony. She questioned where he got it, and as always, he said he couldn't tell. They chatted, and he found out. Talked a lot about the other dimension for Jiha. Do you know what a solar apple is? She says, no. He then explained, letting him know his soldier is taking the monsters to the sanctuary. Because of that, the blessing of the world tree and the fauna skill level up. He gets more stats, plus the ability to interpret ancient languages. On top of that, there's a new observation skill that lets him figure out how to unlock new abilities, which leaves him a bit confused. The system explains that it's an active ability, and will completely drain him when he uses it. Chica gets that it's kind of complicated, but assumes it must be some sort of ultimate skill. Like always, it probably awakens in the creatures, and he wonders if it might work with the Terra drones too. That's when he realizes that the skill the creatures in Terra drone awaken is absorption. After they kill another creature, there's a small chance that the solar apple is something no one knows about, but the boy does. It's an item that drastically they can steal one of its abilities. But Jiha, being the nicest guy out of all the hunters, is already thinking about how he could help other hunters gain new abilities with this power of his. That boy is honestly an angel. And of course, his first plan is to share a tip with his closest friend. Right? Then the system asks if he wants to transform 500 essences and unlock the sanctuary, and he accepts immediately. The mist starts fading away, and he heads straight for the mountain, realizing he can now interact with it directly. But the moment he tries to touch it, warning pops up saying that the earthquake damaged the sanctuary, and it now needs 100 essences. Man, just a little tap from him shook the whole mountain. Reduces ether consumption, and I had never even seen one in person. He realizes he'll have to spend the essence since he's the one who caused the mess. He was planning to plant some things in the sanctuary, but the system tells him he has to toss in some worms first because the soil is terrible. But suddenly, Terry Drone taps him on the shoulder. He sees that everyone's already out there hunting worms. These little guys work hard, I swear. Jeff thanks his little buddy soon after he unlocks another area. Back-to-back gains here. Sure, in the last few chapters, he worked like crazy and hadn't earned anything for a while. The mist keeps clearing, but then a weird red thing shows up. It's some kind of mantis mixed with a shrimp. He remembers the news, saying these creatures were classified as terror level. We see him at the Hunters Association and the girl at the reception. Until I went there, and the strangest thing is he made a potion. Now, he's not sure if the terror drones can even handle something this strong, but the little guys charge right in to hold it back. Jihad is stunned. They're already pulling up their shields, going in full confidence, but one of the shrimp grabs them and slams them into the ground, sending the poor things flying. He's shocked. They're getting beaten so badly, but the brave little guys chug their potions and head back into the fight. Then Gina suddenly has an idea. He remembers the world tree fruit elixir sitting in the cabin. He throws the whole batch into a big pot for them. The creatures drink it down and immediately get buff. Leave a charge. The knight goes in first this time though, using it and was selling it for a cheap price. The redhead then comments. The mantis shrimp bastard launches a barrage, but the knight raises his massive shield. There's an explosion, smoke everywhere, and then he bursts out of it. The shrimp is shocked and the knight tears through, smashing about 5 heads in a row. Chica can't believe how effective the elixir is, and with this boost, the terror drone's victory is certain after the battle. GM notices the creature glowing strangely. He congratulates everyone and wonders if the leader learned something new. The little guy nods and suddenly stomps the ground so hard the whole forest shakes. Jiha instantly realizes it. The creature copied the shrimp's ability. He quickly grabs his notebook and writes down everything that happened. What if the apple is real? It's impossible for it to be cheap. This time, the notes reveal that the shrimp's weak spot is on its back. Sometime later, back at the shop, someone asks Jiha if he wants to go to the beach. He asked his friend when, and the guy's already at the door, saying, "Right now, let's go, we're on fire." The creatures are all sitting on his lap looking adorable, while Gilda looks back smiling, amazed at how good his life has been lately. Then Sonia asks where he got that pony from, and he casually says it was just from some random dungeon. She starts asking a bunch of questions where they came from, but they're already arriving at the beach. Gia takes in the blazing sun, feeling completely at peace, and later, they have a nice little dinner. He tries to explain that with this there are only 2 options. Later, that night, he's out on the balcony when the feisty one comes over, saying she heard he'd gone out for a walk and came to check on him. She's standing there in a bikini, letting her shoulder straps slide down. I'm pretty sure that's a seduction technique. Okay, Giga says he's surprised she came with them, and she replies that she hopes she wasn't a bother. He tells her no more women the better. Yeah, right, like he'd actually say something like that. Curious, now he wants to know if her guide is coming too. She says they got jealous, so they should be on their way soon. Giga says they're good people, and she agrees, even if sometimes they're a pain. But suddenly, an alarm blares behind them and they both turn around, confused about what's happening. First, he doesn't know the real value of a solar apple, or she completes. An emergency alert appears, saying a terror-level monster has appeared. The message repeats, warning that it's the infamous mantis shrimp. Chu has already prepared for these. The redhead tells him to stay sharp, just as a barrage of fire comes flying at him, but the feisty one reacts immediately, using her power to erase something that shields him. Just another good day for him, being saved by a woman. And right then, the rest of the squad shows up, with shields in hand. The guys are shouting about how bad the situation is, but Jiho's more worried about Wyan. One of them says the attack came from the sea. And that's when a giant claw bursts out. The whole mantis shrimp pack appears. Everyone raises their shields, telling each other to get ready. He's a person without any greed. She gets up and says, "You know what?" The redhead orders Jiha to run while she calls Prochulian for reinforcements. Jiha knows there's not much he can do right now. He needs to go back to the hotel and grab a special item to help with the fight back at the beach. Another blast from the monsters comes his way, but one of the guys shouts that he's about to use a buff for everyone with her power boosted. He uses his skill to raise his defense and draw aggro while everyone rushes in and starts slashing at the creatures' backs, but the white-haired kid gets startled when the big shrimp raises its claw and slams him right in the chest. The poor guy goes flying backward, hitting the ground hard, while Gio's friend pulls out the origami book and tries something. "I need some fresh air. I'll go see him." The guy asks if she wants him to prepare. She summons 36 paper planes and some torpedoes, all heading toward the monster. While more shrimp advance toward the city, suddenly a massive fireball hits the creature. Sun Yumi's just standing there confused, but obviously, it was her, the hottest one there. Everyone shouting as a phoenix appears, fire raging everywhere. You and the guy with the blade is having fun slashing away like it's nothing. But of course, when a random stranger shows up, it's just to get vaporized. Looks like he lost his arm in the chaos. Rocks are flying everywhere, smashing into everyone. What the hell? It's like the Beast Titan just showed up. One stomp from that monster, and everyone's joy is gone. The shield guy is in shock and way and is frozen, not even sure what to do. A car, she says, "What, I'm not the boss of the company?" He says she is. The system warns that the creature is hostile toward all humans. Then even more shrimp start crawling out from beneath it. A so-called king raises more rocks, and yeah, this is Beast Titan level for real. and rains them down on the army. The poor guy tries to block what's basically the dinosaur extinction meteor with his little shield. Obviously, it doesn't work. He gets smashed into the wall right behind everyone. He's completely wrecked, and the others start thinking they don't stand a chance. But Wyan tells them to stay calm. If it's not them who's going to stop this thing, she says she'll block the attacks with her flame and tries to create a fire barrier. But the aquatic beast, however, she responds that he is in an esteemed position. Titan throws another volley of rocks straight, hitting the last of her mana. Another extinction level strike is coming down right on her, and she realizes she won't be able to put up a barrier in time. But don't worry, Terra Drone just arrived to hold the line. And this time, Gia shows up in style, riding on its back. He asks if she's okay, and before she can even answer, he tosses a potion into her hands. She's not sure what it is. So, he explains it's an elixir and tells her to drink it, and head to the hospital for a top Terra Drone Gia takes in the situation. And he believes that with these allies, he actually has a chance to win. Travel in the Master of the Eternal Guild back in the Forest of Abundance. Jeff feels a bit chilly. At the very least, he had to hold out until reinforcements arrive. Terra Drone charges and head on, and we get a quick flashback to 10 minutes earlier. When Jiho was grabbing the potions back at the hotel, the plan was to get to the beach as fast as possible and support everyone, but on the way, a huge gust of wind hit. And that's when the big guy showed up. It's insane how massive these creatures are in real life. Back in the fight, the Shrimp King starts charging. Another energy attack, but Terror Drone smacks him hard. Everyone, standing there with their mouths wide open, in total disbelief. While the poor guy who got blown up earlier is busy chugging down his potion. The system then warns that the shrimp is enraged. Problem is you can't really have a shrimp boss. Says it's the first time she's seen someone with a worker class. The guy was born to be a slave in this world, but he brought a lighter, remembering that after the barrier fell, and keep everything balanced, those two things don't coexist. Pterodon charges again, straight at the meteor combo, which could wipe everyone out. Cheers off to the side, casting like he's Ronaldinho, making that crazy curve shot. The monster, though, keeps combining his stone attacks. Pterodon braces himself once more and uses a vacuum wave attack. The strike hits the shrimp dead on. There's a massive explosion, and for a second, it looks like the creature got completely blown apart. Wayne can't believe it actually worked in one hit, but immediately tells everyone to take cover, because now even more rocks are raining down. Sure, one of the shrimp's arms, and a huge chunk of it are gone, but it's still standing there. He didn't see anything much different. Of course, he still hasn't fully explored. Jiha, from a distance, shouts for everyone to focus on the smaller creatures, while he takes care of the boss, and Hyun agrees. Meanwhile, Jiha is acting like a pocket healer, just tossing heals at everyone's backs. He knows there are still around 14 shrimp left, not counting the boss, so they're going to need a proper strategy. At least, the smaller ones are more confused, now that the boss took heavy damage, and with them distracted it's way easier for the hunters to charge in and tear through them, especially with Huan heating things up and spinning out a massive fire tornado. The Origami Queen is darting back and forth, and Jiha is honestly impressed. His friends are stronger than he thought. But things are going a little too smoothly. An alert suddenly announces that a kraken has appeared. There's an area that seems extremely dangerous. He can feel it in. The giant-eyed monster rises from the water, and if the shrimp was big, this tentacle is about 15 times its size. Gia knows there's no way they can beat something like that. But then, if that thing is huge, look what shows up behind it, about 50 times bigger. Gia immediately recognizes it as the World Eater. Still, he figures it won't be that simple to just swallow the kraken. Those tentacles have suction cups, and will cling to the ground at that moment. Pterodrone begins charging up an aura attack, while the kraken is busy absorbing energy from the shrimp it just devoured. It's basically a whole feeding chain, going on like a bizarre train of monsters. For now, he's not keen on putting himself in danger, so he decides to return. The shrimp's being eaten by the kraken's getting swallowed by the World Eater, and Pterodrone is blasting the World Eater at the same time. The kraken never stood a chance. Its huge body disappears straight into the World Eater's mouth, gone in one gulp. Everyone on the beach starts cheering. Jaya from a top Terror Drone praises him, saying he did a great job. Incident resolved, everyone is sent to the hospital. Now Jiha is still there, not just the one who carried the fight, but the one cleaning up afterward too. Even Wayne comments that he's already done more than enough and shouldn't be the one tidying things up, but she's way too curious. She wants to know what that giant beetle he was riding. At that moment, the little beetles appear again, carrying something. Really is, she brushes it off, saying it's nothing. He just happened to find it along the way, but she clearly isn't buying it anymore. To change the subject, he asks about Sei and Hui, and she says that after drinking the potion and getting to the hospital, he was already basically healed. She's amazed at how good the potion was. Where did you even get one that strong? And once again, he just shrugs it off, saying he brewed a random potion and got lucky. But he knows for sure everyone's going to want another one like that later. Queen leans in a little, saying the biggest problem now is that Jiva's vacation is completely ruined. She then suggests that if nothing else, they should at least go for a swim to make the most of it. Confused, he says, it's you guys again. What are you carrying? A chasing flower? But Jiva glances at the time. It's 4:21 inches. The morning girl. Go to sleep. Wait, Gia's getting a little bold. He says it really is a shame though, that bikini looks way too good. She really should go for a swim, and wow, she's actually playing along. She asked if he really thought it looked good on her, but the scene suddenly shifts to something mysterious. Someone staring into a mirror, silently observing everything. And then the system chimes in saying it's the king of the gods. Inside the car, his friend tells Jiha to go to sleep, saying you stayed up until 5. Close your eyes and sleep, but Jiha just says nah, I'm good, let's head back home. His friend shrugs, alright. Giva asks, is this for me? The little Beals happily nod, yes. Then, let's go. Next thing we know, they're in the tunnel and then back at the shop. G has brought all the pets back. Thank God those pets, right? Sure, he adopted a drone, but he also dragged all those other creatures over there, and what did they do? Just slept in the room. Suddenly, his phone rings. It's Sonia. She says she's found something else. She can't translate and asks for his help. Jita translates it and reveals that it's runic, words of destruction, something that causes critical damage to enemies. She's super excited, saying this must be another insane strengthening scroll. But Jita just says it's nothing special. She insists he try it out. He notices that one of them is a bit larger than the others, and he promises he'll save one for her later. Then he grabs his book and writes about the runes she just shared. The pages glow and transform into a scroll of physical damage enhancement. Being the most humble man in Korea, Jiha immediately thinks that if he could give this to everyone, all hunters would become stronger. But then, he worries if the hunters get stronger, won't the monsters get stronger too? Yeah, it makes sense if they take on riskier dungeons. Tougher monsters are bound to appear anyway, and that's inevitable. I think he and I came to the same conclusion. What matters is helping hunters grow stronger. He turns and looks at his creatures, all of them sleeping upside down, and is always at the front. He says, you're different, are you the leader? Curled up in the cutest, weirdest ways that reminds him that it's time to finally get some rest himself. He closes the book a few days later. Jihad is in the forest. He glances toward the mountain and is surprised to see something moving. It's Hyjin and her group. It's been a while since we last saw her. They're talking about some seal at the bottom of the ravine when Jia overhears them and gets startled. He remembers hearing that the creature in that region is legendary level and once destroyed part of China. The hunters seem a bit nervous, while Jiho watches from a distance, noticing that the bridge leading to the other side is completely broken. Thinking about this, he decides to secure the path first. They don't really respond. Our boy asks, did you come from that scary place? And orders Terra drone to fix it from afar. The group hears hammering sounds, strange noises, and when they arrive at the bridge, they're confused. The place that had been destroyed just a while ago is now perfectly repaired and raid across. Everyone is happy about it. And with that, they make their way into the dungeon, where they explain that Toddy is one of the 4 evil creatures of Chinese mythology. One of the hunters mentions that the mission is to find the creature's lair, but no one seems to know exactly what they're supposed to be looking for. Chica realizes they're just walking in circles. There's no way they'll find the creature like that. Suddenly, a strange aura appears in the middle of the room. A floating mirror shows up. Everyone only has combat classes. He's the first to have something. At that moment, a mission appears, the Terra drone, and Jiha believes it's the key to finding the seal since the hunters don't seem to notice the mirror. He decides to move a rock to guide them. Sun Hike immediately feels something strange and turns around, confused. Then, out of nowhere, a portal appears with a giant finger coming out of it. Everyone is obviously freaked out. Sunya quickly infuses ether into his sword and slashes at the huge finger, but no one else has any idea what he's even attacking. Apparently Sunyak was the only one who saw it. And Ji's finger is now all red from getting smacked. At least the distraction he caused helped the others find the so-called mirror of sealing. But Sun Gayok is feeling a bit uneasy. Not sure if they can actually win this fight. Well, how about just not going in and not challenging this dungeon? Ever think about that? Requests your help to rescue their queen. Do you accept the mission to rescue the queen? Just then, a strange voice declares that humans are weak. Something slams into the ground, saying they're fools for trying to awaken this beast. A shadow falls over the hunters and 2 brothers appear, the guardians of the Shiganding temple. Everyone panics, trying to figure out who these guardians are, while Sun Yue tells them to calm down. The guardian warns that they stepped into the temple without permission and must be eliminated, but Sun Yue just says he'll create an opening and tells everyone to cover him while he attacks. Poor guardian is still talking but completely ignored. The big guy finally has enough and launches a barrage of fire, and good lord, these monsters have such terrifying bodies. Sung Yuk dodges, leaps over the flame, and strikes a whip-like slash right across the neck, dropping them both to the ground. So these seeds from the Miss Hunter flower are a common request. Damn, just like that, in an instant, the system notifies Jaiha that the guardian took critical damage and is unable to move, meaning the quest is now complete. Jiha is impressed just like he thought. Lord Sundiok really is powerful, but the little creatures in the background look a bit jealous, muttering that they could have handled it too. When Jir turns around, everyone's gone. He realizes it's no time to just rest. It's time to start working harder to help these hunters. The most effective way to do that is by writing more scrolls, but he needs some green herb, ink that only exists in the wild elf village. The problem is, he doesn't want to go there alone and risk being attacked again. The scene shifts back to that village from the beginning. GHA muses, since you protected the forest, There's that saintly girl, I'd almost forgotten about her. She's praying. The full focus is always when her grandmother calls her by name, Selena. She lights up asking if it's Lord Ark's messenger and says yes. It's been a long time since they last saw each other and apparently he already has the ink. What happened? Is it running out? Probably because he makes a few scrolls and says, "That should be enough." He speaks to her again, saying he has a favor to ask. He wants her to visit the wild elf village. Easy enough, just send someone else to work. What a little capitalist. She had explains that he needs green herbing, and she seems a bit puzzled, asking if that's really it all. He says, yes, but tells her to be prepared because the elves will be suspicious of her. I'll see what I can do. I also fear that place, but I'll see what I can do. That's why he suggests she offer them something in exchange, like good food. Since they live deep in the forest, they usually don't have salt, so she can trade that something easy to get for the herbs. He says, it's easy when you give such clear instruction, and thanks him. Right then, the sack of salt materializes in front of her, and she answers confidently that he can count on her to get it done. She sets off with a denzel, which will make the negotiations much smoother. Joe remembers how the elves drooled when they saw his salt last time, so he's grinning now. He won't have to worry about green herbing for a long while back in the forest though. The little beetles are all cute, eager. However, for this you will have to prepare a few things. Joe wonders what's going on. All the terror drones are lying on the ground. We then see that recently, dungeons have been popping up non-stop. But the strange thing is that the supposedly rare treasures inside have been extremely scarce. This time, the guys were walking out with just a potion, a nugget and a bone scrap. It's hardly worth going into a dungeon anymore. And of course that means they haven't been able to gather enough ether to level up. The hunters start losing interest in leveling up. Humanity gets weaker, and that turns into a vicious cycle that could eventually wipe humanity out. Shiha, being the responsible guy he is, takes this seriously and says they need to come up with a way to keep hunters. So they plan to do it tomorrow. The next day, he has made a healing potion. Motivated, he asks if the terror drones are ready and tells them they're starting a new plan. The little guys are already hard at work, completely organized, chopping wood, lighting fires, putting things together, building boxes. Turns out, Jiha is making treasure chests to place inside dungeons for people to find. This guy is next level actual god tier behavior. Who's Sung Jin-woo compared to this man? Sung Jin-woo farms dungeons. Jiha creates the dungeon look himself. He's just sitting there, smug farming aura, while the creatures haul piles of treasure on their backs. Giva starts wondering if these creatures have always worked. Poison resistance potions, and a lot of food rations. Everyone is prepared with everyone buffed up, he says. This hard, since the beginning of the world, but they seem to enjoy it. So he praises them for all their effort even, so he feels like it's still not quite enough to truly motivate the hunters, and he's not even telling us the best prize to put inside a chest, the legendary card that expands the size of the lowlands, something that technically doesn't even belong to this server. Right then, Gia seems to have a new idea. While the little creatures are just looking confused sometime later in a dungeon, a huntress comments that the weather is really nice today. She tells Deacon to get ready, because this hunt is going to be a good one. He glances over, with his shield strapped to his back, looking a bit hesitant. Let's go. Rescue the queen. As he approaches, he sees it, the thing exuding the purple, but says he'll give it his best today. At that moment, she notices something strange and gets confused. She comes across a notice board about Jiha's card update project. Jiha's plan is to place boards in front of dungeons to inform hunters. Looking at it, they start wondering if it means they should bring a shield, or if maybe they'll find a shield inside. Inside the dungeon, the girl complains that Deokam could have done better. He apologizes, but the others say they're just messing with him. Another monster dies while someone else teases Deokam again. Poor guy, he's basically getting bullied out here. Then a mole monster goes berserk because Dio comes shaken up, and the girl has to step in and save him. Aura is the nest of the demonic ants. It's at least 3 meters high. He gets scolded once again after they defeat all the mole monsters. She finally praises him. Total psychological warfare on the poor knight. He's going to lose it at this rate. After clearing all the monsters, they finally reach Jiha's treasure room. The hunters are confused. Usually there's just one chest, but this time there are 5, including one massive one. A notification pops up saying only 2 essences are needed to open each chest, and they cheer. Obviously inside are special items Jia prepared just for them. One of them finds a sun apple and recognizes it as the same item sold at Jia's potion shop. The shield they find in another chest is handed to Deacon. He's a little embarrassed, saying he hasn't been doing that well. That's not useful for combat. She asks, you don't have any skills or talent. No more delays. The battle is about to begin. The fight is intense and hasn't been much help, but the others reassure him that this will help him do his job better in the end. They also find a strange scroll and a scented candle while Deacon celebrates his new shield. Everyone else is eager to take these last items and get them appraised. Jiha is celebrating with his helpers, telling them they did an amazing job. He's sure these hunters will be happy with this dungeon and will want to keep running more. At this point, Gio puts on his cat mask to receive the customer. This guy really is the god of this world. He's everything. The one who makes the dungeon, the one who places the rewards, the one who kills the boss, the one who appraises the items, the one who sells the potion. Wow, the protagonist is impressed. The Terra drone are winning more easily than last time. What isn't he? He's not the guy with a harem of waifus. That's for sure. After the appraisal, the tanker receives the Iron Maiden ability, which boosts his defense by 200% per level. Everyone's blown away. This was one of those awakenings. One of those super rare abilities that Jiha can now help others unlock. Man, this skill is busted. It reflects 200% of the damage back of the enemy. Okay, sure. It only works on physical attacks, but still that's way too OP. Somebody better nerf this. The tank is crying tears of joy, saying he can finally deal with the monsters that attack him. Meanwhile, that bipolar friend of his, the one who's always turning her back on him like Thor, but the poison is still hurting them. The system then says he has the right to use a power, is clapping and cheering for him. Jiha then explains that the scroll said he had to kill a certain giant boar to awaken the skill. The guy's overwhelmed, saying he's going to give it a try, and asks for more details about the other items. Ah, now it clicks. He found the scroll about awakening his ability, and guess what? Besides killing the boar, you also need a mysterious candle and Lord Arc shield. The guy is thrilled, hands over his gold right away. Totally worth it. Now he just has to sleep with the candle next to him. Inside the dream, he's surprised. It feels like he's inside some kind of virtual reality. He sees a lone knight fighting off a horde of undead and wonders why the guy isn't retreating. Shouldn't he be protecting his allies? But at the same time, wants to help them. He can bring the flying demonic ants to the ground with one slap. He's amazed. This knight is an unstoppable tank, charging forward without hesitation. Then, he wakes up to a notification saying he's obtained the trait. Holy Max, loyalty level 1. He's sitting there completely stunned, unable to believe the window appeared in real life. But now he's sure he's gained a new power. The problem is he feels like his holy mate ability doesn't quite suit him, since he's a tanker, but in the end, he knows. The only way to truly figure out if it fits him is to test it in the dungeon. And at this point, it's too late to turn back. Then the scene cuts to the news, where they report on these extremely rare abilities, awakening in some hunters. Apparently, the first person to awaken one of the strongest abilities ever seen. But it will cost the 3 essences. Our boy is confused, is right there in South Korea because of this, the association. And everyone else is eager to see the outcome. Everyone wants to witness the full potential of these newly awakened powers. The tank is standing there looking hesitant as always. While the monster charges forward, ready to gore him, he raises his shield, blocks the strike and gets pushed back. Now the boar is the one sweating. The system announces that the final ability has awakened Iron Maiden. The boar is suddenly surrounded by golden light and boom. It's like the whole place explodes, everyone's wide-eyed, covering their faces. And when the smoke clears, there's nothing left in front of him. The only thing that appears is an angel picking something up off the ground. One slap, and I can only use it once. What am I supposed to do with that? And giving him a look, the tank wonders if that's the king of the gods. He also starts to understand why he has such a large body, and why he always hesitated to attack monsters. It was all part of the god's plan. At least, that's what he thinks since he received a legendary ability that only defends. He literally has to get hit in order to strike back. I think that's what it means too. I'm practically psychoanalyzing this guy. Now, his friends are all standing there, with their jaws on the floor, saying this new skill looks incredible. While the tank thinks he's basically in a state where he can farm aura. Just by praying, smiling, he says. He's finally found something better than any ability, the path he's supposed to follow. Then he sees at the top of the nest, a winged ant appears. He raises his shield and reflects, thinking this is the way. Obviously, now the forums are buzzing. Everyone wants to awaken their own special ability. Meanwhile, Jadas are carving a statue, grumbling about how hard the work is. Not long after the shield guy unlocked his skill, Jada found a book in the garden. A book written by Lord Arc about dungeon structures. With that, Gia built some new contraption to test out a few abilities. The book seemed like it could give buffs and information to hunters who cleared certain dungeons. Ah, I get it. It's basically like a little system. You leave it in the dungeon, and whoever passes through receives that information. I keep saying this, guy is the world. The name of this story might as well be Jiho's world. It's a messenger. The system warns him that if this ant gets, while he's excited to test it out. Cut to a group of hunters, talking about their targets for the day. One of them is complaining about the monsters, while the girl says, it's easy to dodge those snakes. Sunyuk is surprised and Jaehyun asks, what's wrong? They found a statue that is clearly, unmistakably, the spitting image of Selena. He's left wondering what on earth that statue is doing inside a dungeon. Right after that, we see them fighting the snake, slashing in every direction. Fighting near the statue seemed easier, as if it were giving them buffs and even healing them. Later that night, one of them lights a mysterious candle. Suddenly, he wakes up inside a dream, where everything feels strange. Oh, and there's Eddie talking away like always, puts a little smile on his face. Away. It will bring back the main army. He looks at his hand and wonders, not even noticing his friends around him. But then, when he looks to the side, he sees something he doesn't recognize, a mysterious knight in golden armor. He smiles, thinking he'll gain a new ability if he defeats this guy. But suddenly, there's an attack coming straight for his eye. He draws his sword and sparks fly everywhere as the voice speaks a Sun Yue, who's now fully armed and ready. He's knocked backward. Totally confused about what this guy is doing, he tries to ask something but the knight doesn't answer. Instead, he grips his sword and activates his aura. Then a voice echoes saying that humans are too weak nowadays. Sung Yuk demands to know what this being means, and it warns them to prepare for what's coming. so I can stop her message with a slap. Let's see, he activates the ability. Suddenly, a silhouette of a monster appears, and Sumif asks if that isn't Toddy. The knight only says that something terrible is approaching, and that humanity will be wiped out. Sung Yuk finds it ridiculous, but then, the knight introduces himself as the Sword of Master. Ark on top of that, he also reveals he is Commander Gangmer, leader of the army that fought under Ark, and just like that he activates some terrifying ability, summoning a massive barrage of swords all around him. Sun Yue readies an attack, saying, "This damn knight is talking as if he," but yes, he does know him. The knight reveals he has been watching Sun Yue for a long time. He says, Sun Yue is one of the humans with the greatest potential. He's somewhat embarrassed, replies that he doesn't. We then see a shop for hunters in Sector 7. And just as the little ant is flying, she sees the massive hand coming. So, he better get ready for what's coming. Sun Yue activates full body etherification. The voice says he's acting because the god has appeared. Sun Yue wants to know who this god is, but the voice just says it cannot answer. Oh, wonderful. Then, Sun Yue remembers Selena and asks if she's involved. The knight just tells him to shut up and fight already. That's the only way he's going to awaken. Sun Yue realizes this bastard isn't going to answer anything. And then boom, the knight vanishes in a blur and strikes him mid-sword swing. They go at it, blow for blow, and on his clash, the knight throws his hand back and unleashes a wave of sword beams, but Sun Yuk gathers aura, closes his eyes, and slashes out a massive strike in return. The knight, however, man, it was a slap. Indeed, I thought it was some power. Appears behind him in a fraction of a second, saying he's not half bad. He swings again with his storm blade, and Sonya barely manages to block. He's pushed back, but the Nike gives him no time to breathe. He unleashes a spiral-like attack, firing it straight at him. There's an explosion, and we cut back to Jiha, who's brewing a potion in a cauldron, saying, "This one is going to turn out great." He seals the flask and celebrates, while the little creature in front of him claps his tiny hands to congratulate him. Giga says it wasn't anything special, but the little guy is shocked. This potion restores 200 stamina in 10 seconds. Even Giga himself is celebrating. He didn't think it would turn out this good. Meanwhile, the guy with glasses is just thinking, damn, but it was the protagonist himself. The next chapter starts with Wyan. This kid's a beast. How does this guy know the perfect timing for every ingredient without even using a timer? And every single time is the exact perfect amount to fill one flask. Honestly, that looks like the easiest part of all. Then he says goodbye, telling Jiha he's heading out. By sucker later that night. Jiha is feeling proud of his potions. The next day back in the forest, he finds it strange that his creatures aren't around and wonders what happened. The bellflower starts ringing, and he turns his head, wondering if something is going on. Right then, an explosion goes off somewhere else in the forest. The ground shakes as if an earthquake had started right where Toddy was sealed. Visiting our boy's shop in front, she thinks. A voice speaks up, saying the seal is in danger, and the terror drums have been activated. There they are doing their little ritual, looking all serious. But Jiva notices that they're struggling to hold the seal in place. There's no way they can handle this alone, and suddenly, a massive paw slams into the ground. A disaster-class lion-like creature appears immediately. The terror drones take off into the air. I love how they always fly with that little turd drop look on their faces. Like I'm trying my hardest. Gina starts looking around for BM and Growler. Where's the whole squad? And he can't just stand there. He needs to help somehow, so he starts brewing as many potions as he can. Awakening items, anything that might help while Pterodon is out there. This is the place that sells the solar apple from the outside. It looks like any other shop. Gathering data and facing the creatures, support the others. Then, the scene shifts to the city, where two guys are freaking out because a giant portal has appeared, distorting everything around it. The guy gets an alert. His expression changes immediately. His friend asks, "What's wrong?" And he says, "A massive problem has just arrived. The only thing deadlier than that portal is the cigarette that falls to the ground." Right then, soon the news spreads, announcing that an annihilation class dungeon has appeared in Sector 7. They have 47 hours to resolve it. And some yak is already there, saying it feels like someone's been praying for bad things to happen in this place. That's how many warnings they've gotten. But who knows what secrets are hidden here, especially since she was informed that he calls for the group and says, at least they're ready for it. And sure enough, everyone's glowing gold. Jaya made sure to bless every single one of them. On top of that, Sun Yip receives another high-quality potion from Jiha. One that boosts vitality, and stats totally busted. He tucks the flask away, saying they'll have to thank Jiha later. But for now, it's time to head, and Jiha watches everything. Surprised at how strong these guys look for now, he decides to just watch the battle. The Terror Drone army is standing by ready for action. Jiha figures at least the Black Lion won't be a problem for the hunters anymore. But Toddy, the legendary creature, that's a whole different story. Managed to hunt that creature after visiting this place. So, I'll enter and find out if. He clutches his fist, silently wishing the hunters the best. Inside, Sonia warns everyone to stay alert, danger is coming. While the redhead works, the girl asks if those statues around them are the ones they mentioned earlier. Suddenly, a voice orders everyone to prepare their powers. The group chugs the potion, stunned by the effects, saying things like, "This potion just doubled my stats, and my flames are way hotter now. This job's going to be easy." Sun Yue grips his sword, gets ready, and then and bam. Up on the mountain, I thought it would just be one monster, but there are 3 lions standing there. Sun Yue warns everyone they're about to attack. but she notices it's closed, but the sign says it's open. Right. Then, the first one launches forward, swinging a massive paw, but Sun Yue holds the line. He immediately shouts for everyone to charge in and all 3 hunters rush into the fight. Man, honestly, for a second, there I almost wanted to be the monster. Whoa, flying sword, dance, storm slashes, cutting everywhere. Sword surfing through the air, a phoenix blazing hot. That redhead is burning, even hotter sending firestorms and meteors exploding all over the place while the tank activates some glowing purple skill to hold everything back. The beast is completely losing it. These hunters are monsters themselves who's buffing these guys like this. The creatures must be furious if they showed up to wipe out humanity. She wonders if he went to the bathroom. She asks the laughing guy nearby, don't they open today? Someone out there is turning these hunters into overpowered demigods. Sunny activates that same ability from the Dream Knight, and with that, the poor big lion is nothing more than trash on the ground, didn't even get a chance to fight back. But then the ground shakes again and another type of creature appears. A bloodline. Everyone freezes panicking, wondering if they can handle something stronger than what they just killed. Of course, they can, they're completely buffed to the max. The lion doesn't waste a second. Already charging up a claw attack, Sun Yu's tense too, shouting for everyone to drink their potions and get ready. Hi, Jin yells no Sung. Yuck, girl, what do you want him to do? The guy responds, I'm not sure, they haven't opened since yesterday, actually. Turn his back and die. The guy is building up aura. Honestly, you could write a whole story about this guy aside from the fact that he's tanking. Just because Gio's buffs are carrying him, he's literally the poster child of the system at work. The first strike comes, Sun Yu blocks with his sword to tank the blow, while the tank is shoving potions, saying they'll have to trust him to hold on for now. Sun Yu's trading blows, like crazy, clashing non-stop, thinking he's the only one who can hold this monster back. Meanwhile, poor Hygiene is once again terrified. He'll vanish or die somehow. Man, I wish I had someone that worried about me. Then, she turned and orders everyone to search for information about the bloodline. Our protagonist Yu Ji-hot is receiving customers. They say they came to get some potions, but the young man who runs this place seems to have something going on. While they recover, this is modern dungeon crawling. Can't kill the monster. Pull out a tablet and hit Google or ChatGPT. ChatGPT, how do we kill the bloodline in Gate 7's dungeon? Insomnia just keeps holding the line, waiting for the prompt to load. Finally, the tank recovers and lets out a roar to draw aggro. The lion turns its focus from Sung Yuk and Sung Yuk leap forward. Wait, did he just get crushed? Nope, he tanked it. Meanwhile, the archer beautiful shot lines up and fires a green bazooka-like blast. The lion is scorched, and it looks like it's dead, but just before it goes down, another beautiful strike. This group is too good for a second. I just wish I could be Sung Yuk. She asked the guy, why isn't he opening frequently? The guy. But no, the lion's still alive. Blood sprays everywhere. Oh no, everyone's shocked. Jaws hanging open, but the blood was from Growler showing up, going full giant mode and smashing the lion. Another day where everyone depends on you, Jiha. No one gets through without the boy. Everyone stands there, stunned, trying to understand what just happened, while Growler looms in front of them, towering. The girls are activating their powers, but hold up ladies, relax. You don't even have a chance. Growler just opens his mouth and unleashes a paradox. Instantly, everyone freezes completely, paralyzed. Then he smiles and says he's not their enemy. Hyjin asks what he is, and Sunyuk tells her to calm down. Responds that young people today aren't like they used to be. No professionalism. They ask if he knows this creature, and he says yes, he's the one who gave Sunyuk that sword. Everyone's obviously confused, wondering why he never said anything before. Sunyuk explains that Growler isn't a monster, he's a nature god that Sunyuk made a contract with. The girls are shocked, wondering what exactly he was doing during the time he was gone. Sunyuk turns to Growler and asks what brings him here. What brings me here, you idiot? I came to help because you can't handle this yourself. Dan going straight for humiliation. Yes he is. Roller warns them that the enemy is on a completely different level, and that they're already worn out. That's why he's here to give Sunyuk some of his ether. He wants Sunyuk to use this power to stop Dharma from joining Tadi's forces. She thinks, wait, does this change? Recent, it seems that this Uchiha is hiding something. Sunyuk has no idea what this big wolf actually wants. But if he's giving out free energy, hand it over, he draws it all in, and right away, he feels it. This creature's mana isn't just strong, it's denser, way more concentrated and powerful. Growler just says, alright, you fools figure the rest out yourselves, and disappears. The group is left a bit shaken, wondering just how strong this Dharma must be. While Yu tells them to get ready, there's more coming, no time to sit around talking. His sword is glowing like a lighthouse when two more blood creatures appear. One of them says he'll handle the insects so their master can claim the skies. And suddenly, Boom Toddy shows up and he's devouring his own minion. You know, it's bad news when the boss starts eating his own crew. Back with our boy, he's impressed with the slap he gave. The creature declares itself the true master of the skies, stomps the ground, and says it'll handle this personally, but then, it notices the presence of the three musketeers, and realizes this isn't going to be easy. Facing the three nature gods, it mocks them, saying their timing was flawless. Beam comments that it's kind of hard not to notice that roar of his. And Growler says he's still hungry. The creature warns them not to get in the way, or all three of them will be devoured. Beam just says he'd like to see him try. The monster grins, saying he could gain decades of time if he defeats them now. but Arthur asks if he really thinks he can win against all three. Immediately, Growler and Biome rush forward, and it's clear this is going to be a brutal fight. The other ants are sweating. Meanwhile, the beetles are now motivated. Tony prepares himself, but realizes they're trying to stall. Our foot fast, as lightning charges straight in from above, and slams a massive horn strike into him. The impact explodes, leaving a crater in his chest, and then he gets bitten in the back, being torn apart alive. This is full-on final boss territory. The monster calls them mutts and roars, blasting everyone backward. At that moment a crack splits open in the sky. The barrier shatters and our foot looks worried, realizing dimensional passage has been opened. Biome yells that they're all being sucked in, and then they're gone. Far away in a part of 6-1 province, Tony is thrown backward enraged. He fills his mouth with aura and fires a massive green beam, but BM and Arcfoot swoop down from above. They charge forward as the ants flee, crying. A little later, the beetles are celebrating at his feet, saying this time he's the one who's going to die, slamming him again. The creature is coughing up blood, stunned that this is even happening. Roller charges in next, saying that today this monster dies. Our foot comes down again, crushing him into the ground. A blue aura surrounds Toddy as he says it wasn't supposed to end like this. Somewhere distant, he calls for his father. A purple portal opens and pulls everyone in, leaving the battlefield silent once more. Elsewhere, Jiha is panicking that they've all vanished. He searches everywhere in the miniature world, coming through every corner of the forest, but finds no trace of the fight or where they went then. A giant paw smashes into the ground with brutal force and the bell rings once again. However, he asks, "Aren't you going to rescue your queen?" when he looks some little. Gia runs toward the city, wondering if something happened to the heroes. A two-headed Cerberus-like creature appears, Great Dharma, and unleashes a barrage of fire. Gia is frozen in shock. The thing he feared most has finally arrived, and now there's not much he can do. His creatures are gone. It's up to Sunyov to handle this. Gia just prays that he's careful. The attack gets closer as someone downs a potion and Tank Gang steps forward to block the hit. He apologizes for not doing much before, but says that now they can count on it. At the same time, Sunny leaps forward, sliding under the attack, and slashing straight into the monster mid-strike, aiming to land a clean hit. The monster tanks the blow and says impressive attack. Beetles are already bringing her on a stretcher. The queen warrior is all battered. I didn't expect to see a technique like that, so there really is someone in this world connected to that foolish knight. Sun Yue wonders if this bastard is talking about Legion. Looks like the monster's already been given a name. Sun Yue snaps back that it's none of his business, but Dharma starts charging up a massive barrage, saying the arrogant human will be annihilated. Along with everything else, he unleashes an annihilation blast, while Sun Yue tosses his sword into the air, channeling light, and sending another slash straight toward him. Dharma just laughs, mocking him, saying there's no way something like that would stop him. Then one of Dharma's massive paws slams into the ground, shattering everything around, and another paw swings from the side, and oh man. She tries to get up to talk to Jiha. He tells her not to strain herself. It looks like it hit dead on Sung. Yuk is sent flying completely wrecked. Jiha is worried sick, and Sung Yuk is coughing up blood. Then, we see a flashback. Some here, thinking that at least now, he can finally use a few moves he's learned. He never thought the kid would reach this level. Some here is begging to learn the third form, but the knight refuses, saying the third form requires far more ether. Sun Yue asks, what if he just forces the second form? He doesn't care. He's ready to risk it, but the voice warns it's madness. It could consume his body completely back to the present. Sun Yue is overflowing with Growler's mana, and even Dharma looks startled. He immediately recognizes the energy of the wolf god appearing above Jiha. The girl points at him right away and says, wait, aren't you that guy with a worker class? You've done enough, you can rest the system, then says the queen of the Terradrone. The creature moors in disbelief, saying, it's impossible that Sun Yue shouldn't have that mana, but by then the strike is already on its way. Sonic charges forward, Roller's energy flowing to the tip of his blade, remembering the knight's words that if the chance ever came, he might be able to pull this off even if only once. With a smile, he prepares to unleash the blade, Storm, second form. The monster crashes to the ground, his massive sword falls with him, and a crater opens beneath him as he drops his knees utterly defeated. The great Dharma has been slain. The Terradrones, as adorable as ever, start firing off little fireworks in celebration. Gia cheers, saying there's still work to do, wants to form a sworn alliance with you. If you accept, you will be sponsored by the Terradrones. He immediately orders everyone to help rebuild the shattered barrier that had been sealing the creature. When it's done, he sighs. Hard work, but necessary. Calls himself a shameless capitalist for it. But then he hears some familiar noises and sees a mist approaching from the forest. His eyes light up when he sees the three powerhouses returning. He's all smiles as they rush in and start licking him, and the day ends, with the creatures resting peacefully around him as always. He stretches, saying life is just too good, hoping the peace never ends. Ah, there it is, he said, the one thing you're never supposed to say in a story like this. But now, he's thoughtful, he wants to help even more, and receive various items. It also says that Jiha will have to fulfill their requests. His creatures are starting to struggle. He gives Beam a potion to help him recover, remembering how back when he first tried this, they just run away from him, but after bribing them with food, finally started listening. While BM is smacking Growler playfully, Gia feels relieved at least everyone is safe. He just hopes they all recover. Soon far away, everyone is celebrating Dharma's defeat. but every reporter caught Sungyuk on camera fighting with his aura blazing. Wolf power on full display because of that. A secret conference is held in South Korea. A man in a suit explained that the demigods were transported from the Henna to China. No one knows exactly why. They suspect some kind of energy collision, but obviously, there are no clear answers yet. Our boy says there's nothing to think about. Of course, I'll accept. Another question they have is why the dungeon appeared in South Korea at all. The president asks if all the marks were from the battle, and the suited man confirms those mountain shaking explosions were all part of this. The gray-haired official explains that several Chinese planes were shot down before they could even observe the fight, and he's sure that whatever was there wasn't destroyed because not a single man or stone was left behind. The president, seeing that there were more questions than answers, decides to close the case and orders everyone to clear the room. She then asks someone named Ashley what the United States' position is on this fight. The blonde, all business like, says their assessment is the same. After all, they can help each other. The system then says you and the terror drone. They also have no clue about the dungeon. They have no idea why that giant wolf appeared, or why the multi-headed creature showed up. Everyone is on edge as she adds that she has one more piece of information to share. Apparently, all the single-numbered knights have seen that wolf. I don't fully get it either, but soon we will. They now know that the wolf is a type of nature god who has been protecting them. The president then wants to know what exactly happened in that battle against the disaster-class monsters. Ashley explains that any disaster-class monster can't be defeated without military assistance, but the proud Koreans say their hunters managed to do it anyway. Well, obviously, are now allies. You can now sponsor them more directly. The little general from before then evolves. Someone's out there handing out buffs left and right. The man with gray hair even admits it. They only succeeded because they had help from the owner of that shop, the one who provided countless scrolls and insanely effective potions. One person immediately says that whoever this kid is, they need to protect him. With all the attention he's drawing, evil will surely target him sooner or later. The president slams his hand on the table and says he's made an important decision. The gray-haired man is sure. Now they're going to want to protect the shop owner. He turns and says they now need to prepare for the monster's return. Ashley, meanwhile, is lost in thought. She finds this Jia person very interesting and wants to know who he really is. Into a terror drum warrior. Our boy, impressed, says, "Wow, now he really looks like a general." Back in the forest, Jia is staring a massive man of boulder in his hand. Likely either that fell from Toddy. He asked Biom if he knows anything about it, but Biom just lets out a meow and points at a tree. Chica takes the hint, carries the stone over and sets it on the ground. A branch immediately reaches out, grabs it, and lifts it into the air. A gust of wind blows through the forest as the tree absorbs all the energy and begins to glow. Giga is amazed. The tree is growing like crazy. Then, he hears the sound of hooves behind him. When he turns around, he sees what looks like a sheep, or maybe a goat with a head almost identical to his own. Jack asks what it's doing there. The creature doesn't answer. It just opens a portal and steps through. Gita follows right away. He calls the squad and they bring a bunch of stuff to him. They emerge into a room full of books. The little goat walks straight to one, knocks it to the ground, opens it, and starts eating the pages naturally. Like any little god, it needed a name. Jiha names it Goaty Goat plus Tai. Clever as always. After naming it, Jiha follows as Goaty leads him on a tour through the library. That's when he discovers that the book explaining dungeons and monuments he could create actually came from this place. Suddenly, the terror drones come bouncing in, and they're stealing books too. The little thieves. Jia yells at them, "Hey, you little troublemakers, what are you doing?" But he notices something. They look different now. Their shells are a dark green. They seem a bit bigger. Jiha, embarrassed, sees it again. He says he doesn't need all this, and they're glowing faintly. As they grab books, he realizes these must be the World Tree's terror drone, and they're all writing something inside the books. Then the little goat hands Jaya a book to read. He opens it and finds the life story of someone named Margarita Listelli, who was born 42 years after the world's creation, with incredibly detailed information about her life. Jiha realizes these creatures have been recording everything that happens in the world. Then, 2 more books appear. Good grief. You really have to love reading to get stronger in this story. It's book after book after book. But Jiha says there's something specific he wants to check. He grabs a book and looks through it. Later, we see him by the tree again. And yes, it has definitely grown. Not only that, I'd be happy with just 10 essences and a little ether. He wonders what those seeds they gave him are. The entire garden seems to have expanded along with it. Suddenly, a sound Jiha had never heard before echoed through the forest, grabbing his attention. A waterfall had appeared nearby and he's grinning from ear to ear. Meanwhile, the terror drones are busy building what looks like a beehive. They pull a lever on the hive and golden honey begins to flow out. But in this case, it isn't honey, it's ether. Jiha is practically drooling. Watching it, he notes that the bees aren't attacking the terror drones at all, and then the system pops up, revealing that this is Emperor's honey. Increases vitality and is the favorite food of insect-type creatures. The item glows on the page. He awkwardly says yes. She then asks, "Is it true you don't have any skills?" Wild grape seed and tree fruit seed. While our boy and Jiha is stunned to see that it increases life, he figures that the terror drones must be collecting this to make themselves stronger. He asks them for just a little bit, so he can test it, and then carefully stores it in a jar. This would be the perfect item to put in treasure chest, way better than selling it in the shop and making people even more suspicious. Back in the forest, Jiha is smiling, excited to scatter more worms around and place more treasure chests for hunters to farm. After improving the soil, he also made the lake more diverse with new life. Meanwhile, the news is buzzing about portals appearing everywhere. Hunters all over the world are discovering that for some mysterious reason, Korea's dungeons give better rewards. Jiha also notices something strange. Says he'll just plant them and wait to see what grows. He finds it strange that the tree grows a fruit. There always seems to be a shortage of salt in this forest. At first, he thought it was just an elf thing, but it really does seem like there's a shortage here. Even Eddie mentions that the strange village they visited also didn't have enough, so Gita asks mentally in that voice of God way if there are any salt stones somewhere they could absorb. The blonde explains that they don't have salt because they were driven out of their land and forced to submit to another kingdom's demands. Since salt is a valuable resource in wartime, it's always one of the first things to be seized. Jihad immediately decides to help solve this problem for them. Back in the forest, he opens his book to search for a solution to the salt shortage. The problem is, it doesn't list the location. How's that possible? He thinks, well, whatever the forest will take care of it. After a while, he finally finds something hidden in the confusing dialect. He calls over the stylish Terradrone, the one with glasses, and sends him on the search mission. Halfway along the path, the creature passes through a herd of animals and Jaya is a bit surprised. He thought all of these animals had run off during the war. He figures it would be good to round them up somehow. Too bad he doesn't have a herding dog. Right away, he summons Growler, who stands proudly at his side, while Jihad just sits back eating popcorn, startled by how smoothly Growler handles things. Together, the two of them round up the herd, and before long the little scout return, having found a location with a good crop supply. The creatures say the plan now is to build a new cabin the next day in some other dungeon. The guys are talking. It will take a long time to harvest all of it until Gia opens his suitcase and tosses out jars of ether. Then he informs Selena that the insects will deliver countless sacks of wheat to her village. He asks if she knows how to use the equipment for processing wheat, and not just wheat, but also for processing salt and managing livestock. She seems a bit overwhelmed and doesn't answer right away, only asking why she's being given so much all of a sudden. Jiha explains that he'll benefit from this in the long run, so she doesn't need to worry soon. After, we see the villagers make offerings at the altar for him, which turn into potions right in front of them. Are you sure the Ant Queen is here, homie? He responds, of course she is. Now, that's a prayer that pays off. Jaya fills the book with praises, while the villagers celebrate happily. Meanwhile, far away, a man prays in his apartment, asking for salvation for his brothers and sisters. He looks at the book, thinking that maybe he doesn't know how to communicate with Lord Ark. He realizes he needs someone who can teach him because he can't figure it out alone. The problem is the religious order of Gehenna was destroyed during the war, so there's no one left with that knowledge. He has no idea where to direct his faith anymore, until a mysterious voice tells him to follow the desires of his heart. Well, that's simple enough. The moment he hears it, he stands up, straps on his armor, and heads straight out. He decides to keep hunting. We'll make a lot of money if we steal her nest. But another guy says, hey, wait a minute, until he eventually finds the answers he's looking for. Meanwhile, Diacom is deep in the forest holding the line, slaying monsters left and right. That huntress with the little blue tattoo on her face comments that everything's been way too easy lately, all thanks to him. Then one of them glances up and sees a terror drum flying overhead, wondering if it just passed through the dungeon's invisible barrier without a problem. Someone else suggests that since they have enough time, maybe they should follow it and see what happens. Deacon seems startled. Right in front of them is a stone archway that shouldn't even exist there. The group looks around and sees strange houses, signs of some kind of civilization, and there are people casually talking nearby. The Terra drones though. What's that? The quest is already completed. Homie says, what are you talking about, you fool? Look completely worn out, working themselves to exhaustion on a farm. The shield bearer can't understand what's going on, since when do Terra drones know how to run a farm? He decides to get closer to investigate, but before he can approach, someone shouts at him to stop. A squad of guards appears, saying there are intruders in the area. One of them orders the others to alert the prince and the oracle and to hide all the terror drones, but the terror drones are just standing there, in full view, not moving, looking just as confused as everyone else. The hunters are puzzled, too, wondering if the townsfolk are actually afraid of them. Deacon comments that they look like refugees hiding here, so it makes sense they be wary. At that moment, a figure approaches. Selena, we just got here. When they look, the nest is empty, looking radiant with a warm smile. Immediately, the guys notice, wait a second, this girl looks exactly like the one from the statues. That Eddie appears glowing as well, looking like he just walked out of a romance novel. The hunters are all struck by his beauty. Come on guys, focus. Look at Selena. At that moment, someone realizes this might be where Sunyuk spent some time and asks if they know him. Eddie confirms, saying Han lived there for a few years before leaving. Daeyukom had already heard something about this because Han left some notes behind. After returning from this place, Daeyukom then quietly says the names of Dinskull and Oracle Selena. Both of them are startled that he knows who they are. The guy in the back says, did someone from another region clear it out? He must have some connection to Sung. Yup, too. And he nods, saying they are hunters from another world. Then suddenly, He kneels and asks them to take good care of his group. Then, he personally kneels and asks the saint to bless him with knowledge of Lord Ark. She asks, "What is it you want to learn, fool?" And he answers, "Everything." "Saint, tell us everything." He explains that on Earth, there aren't many materials to study about the Lord and they have no way to learn about him. Selena says that it seems he's a follower who needs to be initiated. She gives him a necklace, telling him she hopes he'll trust and love the god Ark. He's overjoyed and thanks her from the bottom of his heart. The knight says you don't know that once a dungeon is cleared. After that, the hunters spend some time talking with the villagers about the village, about Han, and eventually, they leave. The paladin waves goodbye, smiling, eager to speak with Ham later and tell him all about this sometime. Later, Jiha is back at his shop. The paladin walks in, placing the book and necklace down. He explains that he received them from the oracle and that she accepted his faith. Jihad is happy for him, knowing how badly he wanted this, and reveals that the item is a holy artifact, a step toward becoming an apostle. The man looks a little lost, asking what exactly an apostle is. Our protagonist jokes, "They're like Jehovah's Witnesses. You go door to door, preaching to everyone." The man laughs, thanks Jiha for helping him, and leaves. Then, we're back in the forest. Acquire everything and level up, but Jiha isn't like that. The guy next to her reprimands her, saying, "Don't say that, stop. It doesn't open again like this." The guy thinks, "Damn, how did this happen to us?" Jihad notices that the poor little king of the creatures looks completely exhausted, concerned. He asks what happened, and then the Terra drone, cheeks puffed out, spit something out, a Terra seed. The system explains that this is a seed that absorbs ether to make the soil more fertile. She finds it strange that this thing came out of the queen's mouth, but decides to just let it slide. Then the little creature starts tossing things onto the ground, drawing weird patterns. She notices that it looks like a lotus flower, a beehive, and some kind of box like a jelly jar or something. No idea how he figured that out. The guy must be reading the creature's mind. The guy at the front says to the other man, "I don't know what happened at this point, but he knows that this combination will speed up growth." And sure enough, it's ready, a jar full of golden jelly. One of the insect creatures shows up with a little pot. Jiha adds a few crystals, pours the golden jelly over it, and a tiny sprout pops up right away. Jiha is immediately excited. This would make spreading growth through the forest way easier. Meanwhile, back in the dungeon, the hunters seem to have found a very small treasure chest this time. What you thought you get? 5 huge chests full of loot, every single run, greedy much. But the price was 10 essences, which felt expensive. So the blonde decides to pay anyway, just to see what's inside. But it looks like there was an attack. I didn't see any answer at all when the guy said, when she opens it, it's just a seed. She's annoyed, saying they must be joking. Her friend points out that the system says it seems to be something that accelerates growth, so it might actually be worth something. Sun Young looks nervous about planting it, but the leader tells her to relax. There's no way it would be a trap if it's a reward. Soon TV reports start airing, saying a reporter has been buying up these seeds. Apparently, because they speed up the growth of all plants. In the area where they're planted back with our hero, things are getting pretty hot. He's feeding spicy food to the redhead and she leans in, taking a bite. She says the texture is amazing, but then asks what he thinks about these seeds that have been appearing. Gia smiles and says they seem like a good thing. The knight replied, "That's impossible. Man, look around, there has to be some trace of them." While secretly thinking that it was his whole plan all along, he put those seeds in the dungeon, so hunters could find them, create new items, and grow new plants. Then Wayne admits that her guild has been getting offers to move and get citizenship in Japan. Chia asks what life is like over there, and she says it's actually much harder than here. It's full of monsters and earthquakes. Then, she gently touches his face, teasing, and says, of course, she's not going to Japan. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to visit him. Joel almost loses it. This girl just keeps confessing to him. He smiles, and she turns bright red, strangely. Gia doesn't do anything. He just laughs, and the laugh is so warm that now she's the one flustered. Then one of them said, "Young, take a look at the ground." Right. Then, Gia's creatures start getting hungry, a bird's outside. So he puts food out and all the little gluttons rush in. Wyan asks if something's wrong, but he tells her it's fine and that she can stay later in the forest. He remembers hearing a strange noise before that demigod appeared. He realizes the sound was coming from the bird sitting up in the world tree. Beaumont bolts forward, ready to attack. The poor bird is startled, and Beaumont is yelling that he swore he'd kill this thing if it ever came back, but it seems Biom can't climb that high. He hurts his paw and falls back down. Jiva laughs. Bayam is way worse at climbing than he expected, and since Jiva always has to name things, Yama asks the ground, "Wow, look at that handprint." They wondered who could have done this. He names this bird Ready. At that moment, little red feathers fall, and the bird lands on his shoulder, smiling, seeing that they're now friends. Beam gives up the chase and sulks a bit off to the side. Gita then notices that this bird can distinguish between different seeds and store them. Somehow even stranger, it seems like the bird can open a kind of portal that he can go through, and inside is a huge pile of seeds that the bird has been saving. This finally gives Jiha enough seeds to store and use a few days later back home. Jiha is online looking up information about seed storage warehouses. He finds out that these facilities were designed as a contingency plan in case an apocalypse ever hit Earth. One of the guys questioned, "Isn't this the shape of a palm? A way for humanity to rebuild?" He also learns about something called the Svalbard global seed vault and discovers that this place is about to shut down. Gita thinks it would be a great idea to store the seeds he's collected in Reddy's portal, like his own private vault. The only problem, Stalberg is way up north, and not exactly easy to reach. It would cost a fortune, and take ages to get there from Korea. Meanwhile, his little creatures are huddled together, seemingly discussing something and staring at a map. Suddenly, Freddy tugs on Gia's hair. Gia startled, asking what the heck this bird is doing. Wait, did it just talk? Reddy smiles and says, yes. Gia asks where they're supposed to go. Reddy just tells him to come outside when Gia steps out. Is this the work of a giant? Another guy said, man, but at this size? Reddy transforms into a massive phoenix and tells him to hop on. Jiva still wants to know where they're going, and of course, Reddy tells him they're headed to Stalbard. Jiva pictures the place and says, it's insane. Does Reddy even know where that is? The phoenix just spreads his wings and says, obviously. Now get on. Gio climbs onto his back. Not like he has much choice anyway, and at least the bird looks confident. As soon as Gio grabs onto the feathers, Reddy blasts off at full speed. They soar through the sky, and Gio realizes the phoenix seems to be shielding him, with a warm aura keeping him comfortable. Before long, he's already seen the icy mountains in the distance. He quickly downs a potion to help withstand the cold. It must be a creature of at least destruction level. One of them started running, shouting, before they land. When Reddy touches down, Gia thanks him, and to make it even better, the Terra drones are already arriving as well. Gia immediately sets about preparing containers to collect every single seed they can find. But then, he feels something watching him. When he glances to the side, he sees werewolves, their bodies radiating dark aura. Shigat is relieved that the terror drones came with him at least. Now he can handle this. Orders the larger ones to fight outside since they can't fit inside the vault, while the others follow him inside to start gathering. The first horned werewolf charges in. The fight begins. Gita slips inside with a few terror drums, but there are even more wolves inside. He stays completely calm, not even reacting. Let's get out of here, one of them told the group, until a terror drone suddenly smashes one in the face. Gia thanks it, realizing him even noticed the wolf there. They continue clearing room after room until they finally find the main storage area, full of seeds. The good news is that they're still in perfect condition. The bad news is that there are way too many to move by hand. No choice. Time to get to work. Reddy opens his portal, and they begin loading everything through. Turns out, it's way easier than Jiha expected. Just 2 steps into the portal and everything stored outside. Jiha wonders if there might be something else hidden in the snow, but he knows he can't stay much longer if someone spots him with a giant phoenix. There's no way to explain that away when he steps back out. He looks at the protagonist and says, sorry, she's a bit lost. Do you think we have any chance against a creature that single-handedly? There's nothing left of the werewolves, but a pile of bodies. He praises the Pterodromes for their work back home. Jiha has his creatures deliver seeds to villages all around. He also sends some to Hyang-soo, who gets excited right away, starting research and spreading the word about them. In the dungeons, news of the special seeds quickly spreads worldwide and becomes a hot topic of interest. A few days later, back in Jiho's shop. So now they're petting BM and complaining that the Hunter's trading interface is awful. HunterNet, that's the name of the system they use to make deals. Apparently they even tried setting up a physical place for hunters to trade, but it completely failed. Geo says, marketplace is way too outdated of a name. Wiped out the entire ant nest. If we all retreat, they need something more modern, if they want to attract more players. But then, out of nowhere, Sun Young suddenly stands up and says she has to leave. She always goodbye as she bolts out of there like a bullet. But Gia, because of course, he has to solve every problem in the world, is now wondering how he's going to fix this one. He remembers one of the books he grabbed from the library that time, a book written by Elder Ark. They got detailed information about how the hunter world worked, about attributes, dungeons, the ancient language, and more. And just a few days ago, Gita gained a new trait called system structure. See, I told you this guy is the system. Now, we'll die without even knowing what happened. Let's get back to the association. Now, it's official, so his plan is to create an auction house, using the book's power to make it possible. At first, he planned to just sell some potions and scrolls, but obviously for the idea to really work, he'd need valuable artifacts that would grab everyone's attention. Out in the garden, he's explaining to the Terra drones how he's going to make this work. The little guys grab sticks, and Jihan understands what they mean. They're telling him he can't just keep hoarding everything in a chest anymore. He'll have to put good items directly into the auction. Jihad agrees, but now he's wondering where he's going to get good enough items. That's when one of them starts tapping. We then see some guys in an office examining the protagonist, Palm Mark, a little sword on an anvil, looking ridiculously cute as he hammers away. And another is standing there in shiny armor. She gets the idea. Maybe they forge new gear themselves, so Get offers them the Emperor's honey to see if it helps them work harder. And sure enough, every time he visits the forest now, there's a fresh batch of legendary gear waiting. He expected the items to be decent at best, but the rarity level is insane on the downside. These poor Terra drones are working overtime seriously. It's like child labor. At this point, they look exhausted, while Gia just stands there, holding up a giant sword, completely amazed at their craftsmanship. Then the gang shows up obviously. They all want to throw down, and our boy notices something weird. The important group successor Kyung-suk said this was at the ant nest. Behind the tough guys, seriously, another one. Animals just won't stop showing up in this cursed forest. He gets spooked, because this time, it's a huge bear, but the thing looks all cute. Doing little rolls over there, of course, he hesitates for a second, wondering how the heck this thing just popped up out of nowhere. But the next second, he's thinking the damn thing is actually really cute. Dude, when it stood up, it looked just like one of those giant teddy bears from the claw machines at the mall, you know, big enough to carry home. And what does he do in this place, besides planting and reading? Giving names to animals since it's a bear. He calls it Barry, damn man. Right, if anything else happens let me know, the guy was just thinking. But the bear didn't like that one bit. Bam punches him right in the face. Like you think you can just mess around with me. Bam was napping peacefully when he felt something getting close and the bear charged at him too. But this was gonna be easy. BM just stands up and lands one right on its face. Looks like the name's gonna stay Barry after all, and the bear is already standing up in a fighting pose. Then he charges straight at our foot, but gets tossed and sent flying. Our boy realizes this little bear is a real scrapper tough and good at fighting. But when he's in our boy's arms, he's all soft and cuddly, a little troublemaker. So he takes the bear for a walk through the forest, and after a while, they get to the garden. Our boy tells Barry he can eat whatever he wants as long as he doesn't wreck anything. This palm isn't from an ordinary monster, and it's too big to be an evolution of some other. But the bear smells something he seems to like and looks up. Our boy already knows this bastard wants the emperor's honey again. Like always, Chiha, being the nice guy he is, doesn't mind. He just grabs it, hands it over, and is all happy. Then Barry points to the side and a portal pops open. Man, the creatures showing up are getting more and more up as he steps through. He ends up in a room packed with equipment. Our boy realizes you could start a war with what's in there, and the most insane part is that, obviously, everything in this place is ridiculously rare. Anything from here that went up for auction would catch everyone's attention. The greedy capitalist is the first to open his mouth. Species, it's some creature we don't know about. Asking the bear, hey idiot, can I steal this stuff? I'm taking that sword that looks like it belongs to a final boss. Our boy knows it. Costs essence just to look at the books in Godie's library. So this probably isn't free either. Barry then reveals it costs 10 essences to borrow an item. Wait, you're gonna auction off something you just borrowed. You're ripping the bear off. At least the sword's already in his hand, and he knows this is the perfect bait to make people start paying attention to the hunter program he's trying to launch. Right away, the first fool falls into the trap. The moment he sees that sword, he's hooked. The protagonist knows he can't pass up the chance to sell. But something above destruction rank have appeared. Looking out the window, he thought, something like this, countless eyes are locked on it. And the auction begins. Meanwhile, over at Sun Yuk's place, he's living the easy life surrounded by women, casually watching that very same item go up for auction. The price, 10,000 essences, would scare anyone, but he knows that long term it's fair. After all, it means he get an ether blade, regardless of what skills he has. Hyjin thinks it makes sense too, but says they should take it to the cat master first to have it appraised. And who could that be? Right, the only person in this world who ever does anything. Hey Jim, goes and spills the secret, tells Sun Yip, I just hope the terrible thing doesn't happen again. We then see our protagonist in Area 5 of the city. That our boy wants the cat from the auction. Damn, you really can't trust anyone to keep a secret in this world. Meanwhile, deep inside a dungeon, a huge ogre is charging forward, only to get ripped apart. The one squinting, the attack is Sung Yuk, now holding our boy's sword, while the guy next to him is stunned at how powerful it is. This was that sword, the Demon Slayer. He says it's even better than he imagined, especially since it goes so well with his acceleration skill. The guy of the classes comments that acceleration wasn't the ability listed of the auction. So, Sun Yep explains that yeah, our boy tweaked the sword a bit. The guy finds it weird that the cat isn't. The protagonist says it's okay and that she didn't say anything. He was waiting there until a girl came running and shouting, Jaya, hey, doing appraisals anymore? And Sun Yep just says he was lucky enough to run into him back on the other side. Our boy is sleeping peacefully, lying on top of the big bear with BM on his back. The next morning, he plants something new and wipes the feel sweat from all that hard work back in the forest. He walks through the clearing and notices something different. The place feels a little too quiet. There are fewer Terra drones than usual, probably because the little guys are out delivering the auction goods. Giga thought he was a nice guy, but look at the poor Terra drones' faces. They build a forge, they deliver, basically working overtime. Our boy thinks they really deserve a good reward. Right, what's he gonna give them? She looked like a sister version. Could this be the case? Minimum wage. That's when the Terra drone knight shows up. And of course, our boy puts him to work too. He says he wants to take her to Istram, but the Terra drone looks nervous, laying its arms, saying it's impossible. Our boy explains he's not asking for a permanent delivery, he just wants more bees, so the folks there can have honey too. The Terra drone stares at him like he's suspicious, but Geo reassures him, promising to bring him back soon. Bold as ever, he just reaches right in. These bees really aren't scared of anything. Meanwhile, over at Selena's bookshop, she's sipping tea when the protagonist calls for her. She asks if he's the gardener Ark, and he says yes, it's been a while since they last met. He greets a Dinskell, too. Oops, she fell to the ground like a klutz him up, saying it's all okay, the book is safe, he says. and they both want to know what he's here. For this time, he then reveals his offer. He's going to give them the beehive, let them raise it, harvest all the honey, and then deliver it to Jiha as a reward. Any amount of honey they harvested would be paid back to them in sugar. Adinsko looks shocked, since sugar is way rarer than honey. Selena agrees since the price of sugar is insane, but right then, the little bag appears and Insko grabs a spoonful, puts it in his mouth and says, "It's confirmed. Yep, this is definitely sugar." Selena's already all giddy, practically shaking from the glucose rush. It's gone straight to her brain. And of course, she agrees to the deal. Meanwhile, over in the United States of America, "That's not what I'm worried about, girl." Someone saying, "Negotiations with foreign countries are getting tough. The Koreans have an unfair advantage." The guy in front, probably Sung, yuck, yeah, looks way too much like him not to be, agrees, and says, "They need something big for this." Next phase turns out they were called to a meeting. Sunyuk says, they practically begged him to show up like the world was gonna end if he didn't. His friend tells him he really has to attend, but says what really matters for a hunter is hunting. One thing's for sure, they're gonna bring up Jiha. But what only he knows is that Jiha also has the most powerful appraisal skill, so convincing him is going to be hard. His friend points out that winning him over will be tough. No matter what they offer, the kid doesn't seem interested in fame or money. This crazy-headed girl is Sunyo, the only origami hunter in Korea. She's Sun. He just says, there's only one way to find out. Cut to the meeting room with Ashley, who greets them both and announces she'll be leading the session. Sunyuk says he wishes she was on their side, but she replies that as a US official, obviously, she has other objectives. He says he understands and sits down, looking a bit hesitant. His only goal here is to make sure Korean hunters aren't discriminated against. Ashley starts the meeting and says she'll lay out the talking points. The white-haired guy knows they need to be careful with what they say. Then, the woman slams the table and tells them to reveal the first question. The guy in the corner with the red tie asks for proof that this person called Jiha really exists and whether the so-called cat master. "It's been a while since I left the house. I forgot how to walk." Clearly, she's a book addict who can reveal any item is actually real. Someone else asked about the auction house and all the terror drones that have been appearing. Everyone agrees it's unfair for all of this to be happening just in Korea. Imagine if they found out it's not just happening in Korea, but all connected to the same person. Feels like the main character of the story, right? Coincident. The gray-haired guy immediately says, "Yeah, it's true. You fools, what are you gonna do about it?" He taps the table and adds, "I got no reason to lie." They demand to know why this information was being hidden. He fires back that it's not like the United States is out there sharing every bit of truth either, after all. And that's how she and the protagonist became best friends. He hands her the package, saying they know full well the US is hiding the ether reactor. One of the guys gets pissed and shouts, "Hey, you bastard, that's a commercial matter. Totally different from hiding information from hunters." But the guy just says China had a secret Cyclops dungeon too and only revealed it after they already cleared it. He's fuming, saying this is how intelligence works. Nobody shares information for free. He slams the table and reminds them everyone knows what a hunter's life is like. Since everyone's got their own secrets, he expects that not to be a problem. Now, the whole room is sweating bullets, sitting there like their underwear just got soaked. When Sung Yuk speaks up, saying he's not here for an interrogation and won't be answering that kind of question right away, they ask, "Have you had breakfast?" "Jimmy asked me to give this to you." What Korea thinks about receiving a proposal to set a hunter quota. Scene cuts to some time later with his partner, complimenting him for completely breaking their morale. Looks like the US government is going to start sending hunters to Korea once a month, which is actually a good thing for everyone. The American guys are farming more, while the Koreans have to work less because it's getting hard to keep the dungeons under control. Plus, everyone expected Jiho wouldn't accept any offer from the Americans anyway, so there's no reason to worry. One of the guys wonders if there's something they could get for this kid. Sunyuk says maybe food for the little creatures. She thanks him and gives him a little book. Our boy asks why. Would be what he wants most. The guy though suggests giving him a space where he could store his stuff and charge hunters a fee. Charging hunters a fee that's got capitalist written all over it. Back in the village of Estrenha, the redhead shows up decked out in full armor. Whoa, girl, looking strong. She looks around and notices something weird. These folks have a ton of food, meat and everything. All the stuff they didn't have back in the big city. These farmers are living it up. She goes up to talk to Edenskull and explains she lost contact with the Baron and wants to know if they heard anything. Edenskull says no. They disappeared after they took the soldiers away last time. She says she went to a bookstore and the seller was sad, saying everyone who took this book always returned it. The redhead, pretty as ever, says, "Oh, so that's how it is. But why? Why do you all have so many cows here? If the barons ran off, how are you suddenly living this well and in?" School explains that back when those guys were here, the cows were hostile, but now they're chill. Way in size, realizing these people aren't the lying type. So she doesn't even know why she's doubting them, and school doesn't want to tell her that those two barons were actually kicked out of this place. For some reason, he whistles when Hawaiian looks up. There are our boys, workers, 7-0. Those guys don't stop for a second, sweating buckets out in the fields. Quinn is impressed, but says, wrong, he really doesn't have any special skills because of this, he doesn't hunt. So, she bought it and brought it to him. Our protagonist says, a book that everyone returned. She thought he didn't believe in Lord Ark's existence. Edensko bows his head and apologizes for lying about it. The truth is, he and his village made a contract with Lord Ark, and all he asks is that they stop asking questions about it and don't try anything. Wayan wants to know if they're turning against him, but Edenskil says no, now that I think about it. Is this really? Wayan must be right, can't be two identical redheads running around. Although now that I notice, she's got a sword at her hip, maybe it's not Wayan after all. Edenskil then says the village from now on is going to follow its own independent path. The idea is that no one here will be influenced by outside forces. Selena confesses that Lord Ark protects them, and they can't deny their faith. Is kind of scary, isn't it? When he looks at it, the knight stays quiet, for a moment, looking like she's deep in thought. Then, she notices Selena's clothes, says she must be Oracle, and accuses them of betraying everything. Plus she calls it stupid. To believe in a god that doesn't exist, she doubts those little beetle guys, working 24/7s, without even getting a lunchbox, are really Lord Ark servants. Selena insists that even without evidence, she can prove Ark exists. Wait, how is that supposed to work? The redhead laughs and says she wants to see it. If Selena can really prove it, she'll believe in this so-called god. Meanwhile, one of the terror drones is tapping our boy's back. Calling for him, he sees all the commotion in town, sees it has Mana and Aura there, and the system gives a notification, and wonders who these strangers are. Then, he recognizes it, the dream of Jamoke City. He realizes they're trying to prove Ark's existence, and decides he's gonna have to make it rain. The madman grabs a watering can and says it's settled. He dumps a rainstorm so strong that looks more like giant waves, crashing down on the poor soul. The knight is standing there, terrified, as the water comes down, while it didn't school is already calling for structures. Time passes, the lights fade, and later, the beautiful redhead wakes up in Selena's house. She asks what happened and Selena explains. She got knocked out by a drop of water. That's when the redhead remembers that it really did happen, what she can't figure out. You have acquired the infinite spell book. To write a spell in this book you need the feather of the thunderbird and ink. Is how something like that just appeared out of nowhere. Meanwhile, the protagonist, after dumping out the watering can, is shocked. He thought it would just make it rain, not knock everybody out cold. The redhead still has her hand over her face, saying she can't believe what just happened. Selena, on the other hand, says now she has to convert. She made a promise. Even so, the woman still doubts it, saying maybe it wasn't this so-called Lord Ark at all. Selena tells her there's only one way to know for sure, and invites her to come along so she can see the answer with her own eyes. They arrive at the prayer area, and Selena kneels, saying to Ark that she's brought a new believer, bringing more women into this cult apparently. Our boy asks, are you sure the guy didn't want this book? The redhead is standing there, wondering if this god is even real, when suddenly, a giant hand appears. Holy hell, is our boy just going to be a giant hand now? Out of nowhere, Selena tells her to climb onto the hand, and I'm completely confused, but then we skip a few days ahead. Over to Gamak's military base, someone slaps a paper down, and says he wasn't expecting a report like this from her. This is Brandon, the captain of the Gamma Knights. He says, the whole story sounds ridiculous. The redhead starts to explain, but he cuts her off, calls her by name, Mary, and says, Ark's existence doesn't matter, what matters is their survival. The worst thing she could do right now is tell the truth. This all means to stay a secret. She says, yes, there's nothing written in it, and he only used it as decoration. But later that night, she's kneeling with the cross and the book, asking God for forgiveness. Unfortunately, she have to act as a non-believer, despite what she'd seen. Meanwhile, back in the United States, someone is staring our boy's picture, saying they need the psychic services. This guy is the director of the U.S. Hunter Association. Sometime later, someone walks into the room and says that all the rumors about this guy seem to be true. From the hunter shop to the potion shop to the guy who makes the revealing item, everything is pointing back to Jiha, and of course, here come these weirdos, saying they want this kid, even making a collage of his photos, like they're obsessed. One of the staff warns him not to try anything stupid. She tried to write something, but it didn't work. The protagonist thinks a book with nothing, since it could lead to conflict with the Korean Association. But the boss asks, what's better, to be enemies with Korea, with Jiha on their side, or the other way around? The man tries to argue, but the boss goes on about the value of this kid's awakening and the items from that auction. Even without those, they still have the kid's potion scroll, which is insane. Anyone could set up a hunter shop, but the items he has are completely different. Meanwhile, our boy's giant whale is calmly swimming through the sea when it finds a strange, isolated island. Inside there seem to be these giant zombie mosquito things that came out of nowhere right away. The whale thinks this place can't just be left alone. Its plan is to preserve life as much as possible. Written in it must have something to do with this notification just now. Then it opens its massive mouth, ready to swallow everything there. Looks like the entire island is gone now. Our boy, on the other hand, is back to writing in his book. As usual, with the little creatures around him, suddenly a bell rings. He shuts the book. While Beam tugs at him too, he follows to see what Beam wants. And soon they reach a beach with a cliff overlooking the ocean. Far off, the giant whale seems to be bringing islands with it. Our boy wonders what the creature is doing and why a window popped up in front of him. It says, the world devourer is moving the islands to a safe place. The kid realizes this beast can move practically an entire continent, and she probably didn't get the notification since she's giving it to him like this. And along with a massive wave, it causes a bunch of treasure wash ashore. The whale is practically celebrating, splashing water everywhere, while our boy just smiles, thinking not only did he get treasure, but now he's got even more islands to take care of. Then the whale waves goodbye, telling him to visit when he has more time, and the big softy dives back into the water. Then, the scene cuts to an office. The guy slams the table, demanding to know, what's this business about finding a new religion? He's talking to Mary, asking what she thinks about it. Then we jump back a few hours earlier in the same region, when she was in the middle of training, drenched in sweat the night. Commander Bartok shows up and greets her. She asks if he needs something. She says, sorry if you don't want it. He says, no, I like it, I'll keep it. And right away, he puts a hand on her shoulder and tells her to come to his office. This dude sighing like crazy in the background, saying he wants to talk about Lord Ark. Get out of here, creep in the office. He starts talking about this new religion. Mary plays dumb, saying, religion? I don't know anything about that. Never heard of this Lord Ark, don't even know him. But the guy reveals he already looked through her locker and found a crest of Lord Ark in there. Girl, you're not helping yourself. 16 IQ, pretty, and dumb just the way some guys like. And poor Mary's sweating in the cold, now realizing she's in trouble. She looks scared. This guy must be strong. He just stays in the background, collecting resources. With that, the girl says she understands. I'll use it wisely. Back at the shop, he tries to write with a pencil. Cause, I thought she'd just get pissed, draw her sword and be done with it. But the commander says he hasn't told anyone yet, but now she owes him a little favor. Oh great, here comes the creep moment. She's sure this bastard is going to use her like a puppet, but he just tells her to leave, says he'll call for her when he needs something. At least, it sounds like he'll just be missions better than anything else. A little while later, she's out in the forest alone, lamenting how screwed she is now. She's being watched, can't openly love Lord Ark anymore, and now she owes that weirdo a favor. Then, she notices the lights in her house are on. She opens the door, remembering she hadn't left anything on as soon as she walks in, pissed off, but it doesn't work. He knows he'll need that Thunderbird feather. She demands to know who broke into her house, only to find Bartok, who comments that she's coming home pretty late. Mary is confused and just said she was training, but then he pulls out a book and says, now the proof is clear, she's a follower of Ark's cult. She really has been fooled by the lies about this god, or Mary is still trying to deny it. But the guy says fine, he'll just read a few pages out loud. It talks about some shameful first words about an intimate relationship between Lord Ark and the incarnation of Silvered. Mary gets flustered, wanting to know what the hell this creep is talking about. She tries to grab the book, but two knights hold her back. She knows things are just getting worse. The guy says he can't believe someone with such a good position in the Empire. The system gives information. Thunderbird, a colossal and extremely rare creature, is trying to betray them. She must have forgotten the oath she swore to the Emperor. Apparently she was raised by Borander, which he now calls a big mistake. Mary is getting angry, whispering Bartok's name. And I still don't get why this guy is always out of breath. I know you're chubby, but seriously, can't you just stand still? And yep, it's exactly what I thought. Full on creep mode, he tells her to visit him every night, so he can fix her way of thinking. What the hell is happening here? Suddenly, the scene switches to Brander, who says, you won't let her marry that fat bastard. Bartok. Mary looks shocked, about to say something. With a wingspan of 25 meters, our boy thinks I'll have to get that, not to mention it's rare. But he just tells her to shut up, pack her things and leave. He'll handle everything. He cops her face and admits he didn't expect they'd have problems this early. He also says her personality isn't the best. Mary thinks maybe it'd be easier to just accept it, but he says no way. He warns her that she wouldn't be treated like a wife, but like a toy, humiliated, forced to live with that washed up guy, and as long as he's alive, that won't happen. Then, he grabs a bag and a knife, tells her to run away and go to the place where she saw the miracle. Meanwhile, Bartok's waiting, thinking she'll show up at night. And apparently something really is about to happen. Now she's there in this little dress. How is he going to locate such a thing? He thinks, weren't you supposed to be running away? Everyone's praising the commander, saying she looks amazing. Those bastards are already watching her head into the house, saying Bartok is going to have a great time. 20 minutes later, they go check how big the hole is in the wall. That is, the bell rings. They want to know who the hell's causing trouble. But she's already mounted her horse and bolted. Bartok shouts, my redhead. Catch that damn girl, and she's riding off yelling, get lost, fatty. There's no way I'm marrying you, you bastard. But a guy like him can't lose the only redhead he'll ever see in his life. He's charging ahead with his entire I'll be another person who uses this as decoration. However, when he touches the book, he receives the body. Until suddenly a lightning bolt strikes right between them, splitting everyone apart, and of course, it's our foot. You better watch out, or you're gonna get gored, and that thing kills. Then, we cut to the garden where our boy is with the terror drones working hard as always. Geo comes over to check what they're writing, and is shocked, wondering if the message is even true. That's when they reveal that Bartok has been chasing after the redhead. Jiha immediately decides to act, saying that if this is true, they've got a serious problem. He doesn't want anything bad happening to her. He starts searching everywhere on the map until he finally spots her riding on horseback. Running for her life, right away, he calls on the fastest of them all. Good penmanship trait. And an ancient magic skill. He stares at his own hand thinking. Arthur, who opens a massive portal, charges through, fires up those horns and unleashes a thunderstrike. The fat creep just stands there, wondering why even the gods are stopping him from catching the redhead. Worse yet, the lightning strike left a giant crater. So yeah, he's got no chance now. Our foot goes over to her, and she realizes this creature came just to save her. She thanks the horse, apologizing and saying she wouldn't have made it this far without him. Our foot takes off flying, leaving everyone behind. Half a second later, they're already right above the place where she first met Ark's people. She starts wondering what out of nowhere again, but he didn't feel any different. If all of this was part of the god's plan, the knights immediately recognize her and order someone to call the prince right then. She faints on the ground, and Dinkles rushes in to help on our boy's system interface. A notification pops up saying that Margareta Lastel has sworn loyalty. Now, he knows the redhead is safe from here on out. He praises Arfa for his hard work, gives him a carrot as a treat, and the big guy just chills. One thing I like about this story, there's never a transition. Suddenly, our boy is in a fresh outfit, walking through the city, looking for something. Okay, turns out, he's looking for the Hunter Academy. Whoa, I didn't even know this city had one. And guess what hunters do at the academy? But getting this skill now isn't a coincidence. He grabs a piece of paper, exactly lessons and tests what a miserable life. But of course, that's also where hunters are trained from the lowest rank to the strongest. The students are all there doing their practice diligently, while Jihad is just observing. The training is way more basic than he expected. He watches a theory class and sees that at least they're learning the fundamentals in a well-structured way, but the problem is, this battle prep training feels way too simple. Come on, girl. Point that sword forward. There you go. Our boy isn't convinced. This is enough. When the apocalypse finally hits, sooner or later, they'll hit a wall. They won't be able to break through, but seeing how motivated the students are, that was nearby, and manages to write about the bird, he even levels up his penmanship skill. He's sure he needs to bring some real change to this place. I'm telling you, this kid is slowly becoming the master of the entire world. That's when a hunter with a mohawk steps in, asking Perso what he thinks of the base. Did you like the guys? Honest training, these are the tough one. Our boy thanks them for letting him see all this, but suddenly we're back in the garden. Or maybe not, looks like our boy already left again. I didn't even notice. Then we get a look at the lives of the creatures. Arfa is busy eating. Biom is pestering Reddy, while Growler and Barry are going at it in a full-on sparring match after a long session. They're all resting. Well, not just the three of them, more like 25 now. And the guy says she shouldn't have asked some tanks pass by on the street. However, even with that, you can't write in the book, but he wrote there 25 meters, bird. While they eat, drink, and play around, guess who's the only one still hard at work? That's right, the terror drones again. I'm starting to think I'm a terror drone myself. We're all terror drones. Guys, the dream is to be like BM. Just eat, sleep, and play, but in reality, capitalism has us out here in the city, working, hammering metal, sweating bullets, making weapons, so Jaya can make money. The terror drones get praise for building something amazing again, and they all celebrate together. Finally, they started producing rank 3 weapons, just like a real-life worker. You go to your job, get something to eat, and that's it. Drink some water and you're back to work. Our protagonist is now studying how to create his very own giant bird. Very difficult to capture. The big feature of the skill is that his miniature world, man, he's officially becoming a god now, huh? One thing he notices in the scriptures is that this world he create would be different from the one he sees. So it's a world only the soul can enter. Basically like a virtual reality, and guess what, could this be good for the hunters at the Academy of Practice? And he's not sure if it's actually going to work. As he absent-mindedly pets BM, he then makes a little clay doll, and everyone's staring, wondering if this thing is really going to work. Our boy shows off the amazing creations he's made. 2 humans and a monster. The creatures don't look too impressed, and he apologizes if they turned out bad. Either way, he explains that if a human soul could enter, that doll would basically come to life. He's wondering who he should send in there first. Handwriting got a lot prettier at least, but then he feels something happening nearby. And obviously, guess what go on? Terror, drums, work your poor things once again. They're the unlucky ones, dragged into doing what they don't want to do. Actually, even worse, he makes them take control of the dolls while their real bodies go limp. But at the same time, it's fascinating how perfectly he seemed to control the puppet. What matters most now is figuring out whether they can gain experience and actually grow stronger fighting as puppets. Our boy steps through a portal and commands them to charge. The 3 terror drones now just souls rush into the miniature world. Damn, he really made his own little world to make the creatures fight in it. He runs outside, and a gate opens in front of the shop. Difficulty. He basically created a Pokemon battle arena for Hunter, it looks like. The terror drones can't use their natural abilities, but even so, this is way better than what you just saw back at the Hunter Association. The only downside is that building something like this for those people would cost a lot. After a while, the terror drones manage to win, but they're completely exhausted. Our boy praises them for their first simulation and asks if the experience was painful. The winning terror drones just flex their arm, proudly saying it was easy. They're pumped now. The system then announces that the adventure mission has been completed and the miniature world will be reset. With that, his ability to create new worlds levels up, and he gains a brand new skill. 0. Target Thunderbird, Feather. Time, limit 1 hour, he thinks wait. At that moment, one of the Terra drones shows that his arm has transformed into a day sort of blade and gives it a swing. Jiva realizes this has incredible potential. This way hunters in the real world could train their abilities in a safe place, while more experienced ones could fight against creatures they'd never normally get a chance to face and prepare for the day. They meet something they can't handle. He's certain this is the best way to use this power, and with that his sanctuary development ability also levels up. The next day, he's there with the world tree now, at level 4, with 15 extra status points. More resistance plus possession and observation unlocked. Possession allowed him to enter with his consciousness into trees, animals. What it goes straight to the bird's nest. Could this be an effect of the good penmanship skill? Plants, rocks, basically everything. He pretty much became whatever he possessed right away. He wonders if this would also work. Inside the miniature world he created, he tests the new ability, and now it feels like he can create whatever he wants with just a finger. The downside, there's no free lunch in this world every time he created something. It cost him essence. He opens a book to check the rates and tries to come up with a plan. If it were up to him, he'd do everything for free, but that's not how things work. He grabs his pen and says that now that everything's planned, it's time to get started. Meanwhile, over at the Korean Academy, you know, the one humiliating the entire world, the United States was already pissed before. The aura seems dangerous, but it's rank 0, so it shouldn't be a problem. Imagine now, the teacher explains that next month, everyone will have a hands-on experience in the hunter world. Oh, and they're introducing a new teacher, Hyjin. Damn, what beauty, there's no way it isn't her, that waifu from the beginning. The one who kept chasing after Sung. Yuck, looks like she's going to be a new instructor now, huh? All the students are hyped up as the queen arrives. She introduces herself, talking about all the things she's accomplished, when suddenly, a man bursts in saying they got bad news. A gate had spawned inside the academy. Hyjin immediately tells everyone to back off, to take care of the kids. She's going to handle this. She comments that from the outside, it looked like a normal portal. She's about to go in. Right, well, let's go. He enters, and immediately, but Jianbake says he'll check it first. The moment he touches it, what happens? He faints face first into the ground. Obviously, now he's in the place our boy created, holding his head, trying to understand what just happened to him. He's not in the same body, not holding the same weapon. What's going on? Then the system greets him, welcoming him to the tutorial dungeon, explaining that only basic skills work there, and that his real body is safe outside. He grabs the sword and sees that it actually looks like a great starter weapon, not to mention this place would be perfect for anyone at the academy to train, and he immediately starts wondering if someone set this up on purpose, but it would have to be someone really powerful. Sees a waterfall, thinking it really did let him in. Cheetah asks, is this the habitat of the tree? To make something so complex. The poor little moles he was supposed to fight are already looking terrified, wanting to understand how this works. He doesn't hesitate. He rushes in and starts cutting everything down. He notices that only basic abilities work, but that's fine. It's more than enough to train the academy students. Then, the system tells him he failed to receive the powerful attack reward because he had already mastered it. He's confused. This was a strange dungeon, easy, but still handing out skill reward. It really is the perfect setup for beginner hunters. A system asks if he wants to proceed to stage 2, but the guy stays humble and says no. If it were me, I'd go all the way to stage 99. Grab every reward possible, no hesitation. It doesn't seem like it can accommodate a giant bird. But then the bird appears. Then he wakes up in the hospital, and the nurse says he just suddenly collapsed. The fool face planted and scared all the cadets. When he touched that blue door, he gets up, thanking her, and she tells him to rest. But he says he's fine because he needs to tell everyone what he saw inside. Meanwhile, outside, everyone is curious to know what happens inside that place. The white-haired guy says they have no idea. Something is about to shake the entire world. The scene cuts to an interview where someone says, it's incredible, a place where you can gain experience without putting yourself at risk. And greed has already begun spreading in every corner. One man says fine. It's just a tutorial, but the academy shouldn't keep it all to themselves. And everyone knew it must be at least a rank 3 dungeon that appeared, the guy says. It flaps its wings above him and he goes flying. Jihad exclaims, how am I supposed to hunt that? And that's exactly what Jiho is afraid of. Looks like he's going to have to create a dungeon that everyone can access sometime later. Jia tells Yan he's going to grab something for them to drink when she notices something outside. A new gigant appeared, and she immediately starts calling everyone, saying they need backup. She asked for beds and mattresses to be brought, warning that everyone who touches it is going to faint. The whole group is transported, and suddenly find themselves in a desolate place. It's funny, everyone's appearance changes. Their heads and faces look completely different, like they just changed skins in a video game. On top of that, inside the gate, she feels like she has 3 times more ether, and her fire magic is much stronger. What she finds strange is that it's as big as a house. However, some feathers start falling. From what she heard about these kinds of dungeons, you were only supposed to get beginner level stuff. Then a message pops up saying she has to pay 50 essences to participate in this training dungeon. The others explain that they only had to pay 15 or 20, and she's practically crying, realizing the price is higher for her because she's the leader, with no other choice. And now that everyone is paid, if she clicks yes to start the trial, Right away, what appears is one of those blood wolves from before. She knows this is a disaster rank creature which should be impossible to face in a simple beginner training session. Normally, the right move now would be to run. But this time, things are different. She motivates the team, telling them to charge in. The bird flies away, seemingly saying use your junk well. Without fear, the girl immediately forms a massive fireball, practically a spirit bomb, and the explosion seems to wipe out the entire area. News about the new portal spreads quickly in the hunter community. Huang tells everyone that now they can fight disaster rank monsters or at least practice against them. Seeing this, Jiha is happy because the portal is actually being used. Plus lots of hunters are leaving positive reviews about it. At that moment, he remembers he had asked Idensko and Selena for help about what monsters existed in their world. Thanks to that, he was able to prepare creatures. That made a lot more sense for hunters to fight. The one who suffered, of course, was the poor Terra drone, who had to tank everything. He also notices that Mary is starting to adapt. He wonders, wait, it's leaving. He picks up a feather, already acquiring the Thunderbird feather. Well, to the city. With the dungeon doing so well and the portal active, Geo wonders if maybe it's time to create other portals to help the academy student. He pets VM, the little cutie, saying that he could also add new weapons for them to practice with, help them get stronger. Back at the academy, a bunch of students gather in front of the place. One of the girls is trembling, but her friend tells her to calm down, reminding her that no one dies inside. Simon says they need to push themselves and break the new record. Some of them still seem unsure of, saying it's impossible, but the orange-haired girl says they've got skilled people on the team, so they can do it. After a lot of convincing, he thinks, how could this be so easy? With the feathers now in hand, he just needs the ink. The group enters the dungeon right away. They charge at the killer thorn monster, which starts firing spikes in every direction as they dodge and get closer. The guy with glasses counterattacks, unleashing a triple piercing strike, while this here in the back prepares a shot and lands an arrow. Dan, her shot is like a cannon, it completely shatters the monster's shell. But the arrow was so strong it ricocheted and hit one of their teammates. At least he doesn't feel pain, though honestly, I think he should. Sure, it could traumatize someone to feel their head crushed during training, but still, how are they supposed to get used to the pain of real fights otherwise? At that moment, the guy understands that this is exactly why they're here. He smiles, already having an idea. He calls the Terra drones to bring some green. If this were the real world, that arrow would cost them dearly. But here, it only cost her the lesson she just learned. They finish the fight. The monster's head rolling on the ground. But right away, stage 3 starts and an orc appears. Man, remember that monster from way back at the beginning. A huge beast immediately lands a punch on one of them, sending him flying. The girl instantly casts 3 fireballs in a row, but they don't land a single hit. She starts focusing more mana, determined to prove who's stronger. But then the system asks if that's really what she wants to do. The girl is confused, wondering what this little system is even asking. And apparently, it was our boy who wrote that prompt in the first place. Herb extract. He thanks his little friends and thinks, which he probably shouldn't have. He's trying to drop some hints to help them out. It then says it hopes she'll contribute more to the group. The key to defeating that creature was somehow stopping its regeneration. She interprets this as meaning she should use fire to prevent it from healing. And of course, fire is the perfect element for that, since it causes damage over time. The mage warns everyone she's about to conjure a wall of fire, and asks them to block the troll from escaping. She calls forth her power, and a pillar of fire erupts inside the monster, which starts writhing in agony, until it finally burns away completely. She wonders if it's finally over, and the system congratulates them for clearing. Stage 3, the group celebrates that now the preparations are complete, because they're about to earn essence, plus they just broke the new record. They go to tell the teacher, but I still can't believe it. Is this really Hyjin? There's no way she got that hairstyle now, with those bangs, and still has the same name. Maybe I'm just losing it. She's impressed they broke the record and asks if they tried anything new. The fire mage just explains they followed the hints that appeared and used them to stop the troll's healing, but now that they've beaten that creature, they want to go explore off campus. She says fine, but she has to go with them. One of the students suggests they visit the hunter shop over in Region 7 with her. When they arrive, the place is packed. The kid is shocked, realizing, ready to solve the mystery of the infinite spell book, standing there ready to write, he thinks. The level of the people here is way above the academies. Suddenly, one of them spots the group of the famous deacon, who people say is an apostle of Lord Ark. One of the students asks what's an apostle. Another replies, like Jehovah's Witnesses, dude. Plus, they figure there's nothing to lose by being on Lord Ark's side, so if they run into anyone connected to him, they should talk to them. The teacher then tells them to stay put and look around. While she goes to get permission for them to enter, that's when they see a massive tree, saying, it looks way different compared to the pictures. They're all excited, arguing and buzzing with energy when Huyan shows up to greet them, saying she heard they were the ones who broke the academy dungeon record. I wonder what kind of magic is in this book. Well, I'll find out for myself. The fire mage gets emotional, fangirling over Hyan, the legend herself. Meanwhile, our boy greets everyone casually, saying he's just the shop owner. They invite the students inside the shop, and the kids are blown away by the potion, scrolls, and everything else. Jiho, watching the group so excited, remembers how much they struggled in the dungeon and realizes his plan is working. Then someone calls them over, offering them a bucket full of stuff, saying they got lucky because he has gifts for the group. In the background, the two strong women talk about how these new dungeons are perfect to prepare the next generation. Everyone's holding their potions amazed, while the teacher comments that it's good to see them so happy. Damn, I wish I could participate in one of those. She replies, with our skills, forget it. He touches the feather to the book, and a lot of magical stuff starts. Back in the forest, our boy is picking apples, thinking about how good their visit was. The apples taste amazing, but suddenly all the little creatures come jumping on him. He pets our foot and hands out apples for everyone to eat. Then, the terror drone shows up. The poor guy is just picking up what's left on the ground, and worse, he's not even picking them up to eat. He's collecting the apple seeds to plant them somewhere else. But thanks to them and the seeds they're planting everywhere, more and more plants are growing in the forest. Little saplings keep sprouting, and the whole garden keeps expanding. And the most interesting thing is that in this world, nothing ages, even after the harvest is done. Obviously, that must be thanks to the world tree happening. He begins floating and the magic spreads. At that moment, he hears Selena's voice telling him all honey has been collected. She's holding a huge bucket, trembling from excitement. Well, our boy wants to know how she managed to gather it so fast. He explains that he planted flowers near the hive to attract more bees, and everything worked out perfectly as promised. He hands her the bag of sugar. Selena is surprised, and once again, her faith in Ark is renewed. GM notices that lately, she doesn't even hesitate to accept anything anymore. Suddenly, one of the hardworking little guys calls for him. He remembers that those tireless workers also need to be paid, so he gives them their little pot of minimum wage, and they all celebrate. Throughout the forest, when he gets up, he recognizes it immediately. But then, he notices something strange. One of the beetles is offering him a bit of honey. Not wanting to turn down the little guy's kindness, he accepts. But then another terror drone calls him over, and he's wondering what these guys are up to. This time, one of them starts drawing on the ground. And at least this time, it's clear he's a real artist. You can clearly see it's a terror drone scattering seeds. Geo wants to know where they're planning to spread them. The little guy draws planet Earth, and Geo realizes this time it wouldn't be in Ghana. They want to spread it across the entire world. The little beetles proudly nodded their heads, looking adorable, as if to say that's exactly what they mean. The protagonist knows that the world tree is helping plant. He thinks these are runic words, something he had seen in a book a long time ago. Grow healthy, and really, he has no reason to reject the plan. Since food is plentiful here, as always, he's going to leave all the work in the Terra drone's hands. A few days pass and forums start buzzing, with people talking about terror drones showing up everywhere. These creatures are basically becoming global celebrities, appearing in every corner of the world. The protagonist thinks they might be scaring some people, but in the end, it's worth it. Then, he sees a thread on the forum where people are complaining about the system pop UPS. But instead of getting angry, Geo wonders how he could improve the system. He checks his own system window and notices the massive list of attributes. The legend of an ancient tree that taught a tribe 4 types of magic. He decides to move Vitality to the main status tab and reorganize the layout. While thinking all this through, he absent-mindedly pets BM. He realizes that what's really missing is some kind of level system. Leveling up would definitely motivate hunters. The problem is, he doesn't know what kind of benefit to give them for leveling up. He can't just hand out free stat points to everyone. The system suggests that, if he can't give everyone a buff, he could give everyone the buff instead. But Jihan knows that would make him hated for the rest of his life. In the end, he decides to launch the level system first and think about the details later. He also considers adding level requirements for buying or trading certain items and weapon creation, harmony change, and destruction. However, it was extremely difficult too. That way, the system would encourage people to level up to unlock better gear. He's sure it's a good plan to prepare for the future. Meanwhile, some hunters get a quiz, asking if they want to accept these changes or not. Everyone's curious, and the gray-haired guy realizes it's just a different way of naming the points they already had. Looks like dual classing might even be coming, and the gray-haired guy is just as confused as I am, saying this is going to throw the whole world into chaos. Just then, he gets a call telling him to run to the hunter shop on 7th Street. Right away, apparently, something strange is happening near the giant tree. The entire region is being covered by a forest. The next day, it looks like a lot of people are showing up there. Control these magical powers, until they discovered the runic words on an expedition. While our boy as always is just working in the shop like nothing happened. 2 people are chatting about the new classes and the new system. One of them also complains that lately, the system feels a bit unfair, since certain classes level up much faster because they're offensive one. His friend agrees, saying that mages and archers spend all the money they earn just on mana potions and arrows. At that moment, Jiha steps in and interrupts their conversation, handing them a bag full of potions and thanking them for always being loyal customers. The guy thanks him practically in tears, while Jiha just says it's nothing special. But as soon as they leave, Jiha realizes he actually, upon researching, he understands. So the ancient tree of the world taught that tribe doesn't know much about the hunter's real problems since he doesn't go out and hunts himself. Maybe before implementing anything else in the system, he should investigate further. Suddenly he hears a familiar voice calling him. He looks outside and sees it's Soon Young and asks what's going on right away. She pulls something from the ground, tosses it at him and asks if he sees this. What she's holding isn't something that originated on Earth. He asks if it came from the henna, and she says she's absolutely sure looking at some of the plants. They can see that the underside is golden and glowing. Now, she wants to know what's happening. Who scattered these seeds and what's the goal behind it? Chica just stands there, staring at the tree, not fully understanding it all either, but he's sure this is only the beginning. The 4 main magical powers, the comprehension was very difficult, and something big is coming in the end. All he wants is to do everything he can to bring happiness to everyone. He walks through the grass, confident that the future is bright. He sits at the base of the great tree with the little creatures and opens his system window, thinking about testing his abilities. Up until now, he hasn't really used the possession skill. He gained the one that lets him enter the consciousness of any animal, rock, plant, or even tree. At the same time, he knows just observing things from above, like some giant god, isn't enough. At some point, he needs to investigate things himself, like any normal hunter would. Suddenly he hears someone calling him. So they were divided into runic words. However, he recognizes the voice. It's Margareta, Mary, the redhead he saved from the fat creep, and asks what's wrong. She reveals about her adoptive father, the officer at the military post, and says she needs his help. She says she owes so much to Lord Ark for saving her from that dark time, but she still has to do her part. Gia asks if it was that man who helped her become a knight, and she admits it was, saying that without exaggeration he's responsible for half her life. She also says that even though Bartok might be lying low after the lightning strike, there's nothing stopping him from planning retaliation later, and she's terrified of what he might try to do to Borander. Not nearly enough. Our protagonist, observing, just thinks about how difficult. He had never heard of these runic words in his life. He wonders. She knows she's scared that her actions might affect her father's life. The problem is that Bartok comes from a rich and powerful family, and his influence in the army is massive. Even so, Mary prays to Ark, saying all she wants is to rescue the captain from that monster. Seeing her sincerity, Jaiha is convinced. He can see it in her eyes and says, fine, he'll check out what's happening in the Gamak region. She thanks him, pleading with him to please help them. Gia thinks this man must really be someone important to her. Sometime later, he finds John Mack, a fortress hidden in the mountains inside that rich, fat Bartok is yelling his flesh and blood soldiers, humiliating them, saying if maybe there's some way to use them with this book. Staring at the tree, he sees that rune. They're not doing their jobs properly on the project. Gihop immediately realizes this must be Bartok. The guy is incredibly fat, while everyone else in the place is clearly starving. He's sure those poor workers are suffering under this guy, and decides he's already seen enough to know exactly what kind of person Bartok is. B Mejas Jiho worried because he noticed how angry he'd gotten. He apologizes and calms down, thinking that for now, he needs to figure out a way to contact Brander. Then, suddenly, he seems to get an idea. There's a little hamster scurrying nearby, and Gino remembers he has the possession ability. The system asks if he really wants to go through with the possession, and he confirms inside a room, someone is sighing. Appear on the pages. When you use this book, he questions. Exhausted at their work desk, complaining that their group should be out hunting and gathering food, but instead, they're stuck waiting for that coward. Another man grumbles that this guy doesn't understand the power of Lord Ark. Just as our boy climbs up on the table, he walks across it, right in front of the man, who notices and freezes. Chica says, Brander, can you see me, you fool? Of course, Borander jumps back, startled, shouting, what the hell? Stuart Little just showed up out of nowhere. Gio replies, relax Borander, I'm a friend of Margareta Listel. Borander is confused. What is he supposed to say to a hamster? But since Jiha mentioned Mary, he asks if she made it to a strand, why they were engraved on the tree and not in the book. He remembers that this is the tree, and if Jiha is one of Ark's oracles, Jiha admits it might be hard to believe, but yes, it's true. He then explains that Mary sent him here to get Borander out of this place. Warlander asks how that would even be possible, and Jiha simply says they have their own methods. Warlander knows it's hard to believe any of this, but it's just as hard to demand proof. Even so, he's already relieved, just knowing Mary is alive now. He can die in peace. Gia hesitates, not sure why the man's suddenly talking about dying. But Borander says it's easier to just show him the situation than try to explain it out in the city. Gia sits on Morander's shoulder, observing everything from above. He wondered when he first arrived here, but he's sure it's impossible. Like a god overlooking the city, everything looks neat, almost cute, like everything is functioning perfectly. But from up close, you can see that the people are worn out, their clothes filthy, suffering as they haul heavy stones. Then he hears a strange noise, some banging, some gnawing, and spots, kids chewing on scraps, even bits of wood. Borander explains that the children eat the night leftovers. What that escalated fast, straight to starvation and desperation. Gia can't understand how food could be this scarce. But of course, the rich are hoarding everything. Bartok is greedy and does whatever it takes to get what he wants, and nothing else matters to him. That this small tree is the world tree, he thinks to himself. Borander tells Jaiha to look at something. It's a massive palace, one of the results of Bartok's greed. Two guards stand in front, talking about eating meat, and one even says he's getting tired of it. Meanwhile, the poor are begging for crumbs. but the soldiers just walk past them completely indifferent. Borender says this is what the city has become. Geo realizes it's far worse than he imagined. The social divide and cruelty are staggering. The city is heading toward ruin, and he doesn't want to let that happen. He asks Borender if he has any idea how to get the people to rise up against Bartok. Borender explains that no one here is stupid. They know that if they start spreading rumors against Bartok, they'll be killed. Geo wonders if maybe, I don't know when these runes will disappear, so it's better to write them down. Their mindset would change if they witness the power of a god. Meanwhile, Arthur is off, peacefully munching grass. Borender leaves for a meeting, and Giva sits on a box deep in thought. His first plan is to understand the rumors and everything happening in the city, but suddenly, someone grabs him. The mustache man says he always knew Borender was strange, but now talking to rats, that's insanity. He needs to show this to everyone so they know Borender has completely lost it. He tries to do the obvious thing, break the possession, but nope. He fell right into the trap. His level was way too low, so he couldn't just forcefully break free, and the guy seems to think, but will something happen just by putting these symbols in the book? The hamster's eyes look way too human. He wonders if the little creature actually knows how to talk. That just makes things worse. Now, Borender looks like he's talking to a possessed human rat. He says he has to show this to Bartok, so he'll understand what kind of person he's got under his command. The guy takes off running, carrying Jiha along. Meanwhile, back in the forest, the bell is ringing. Yeah, you better give Jiha back. There's an entire gang getting ready to move. Barry is already asking if maybe they should go look for Jiha, since he's missing, and the alarm is sounding. BM agrees. The garden wouldn't survive without its master. A bit later back in Estra, Cheetah feels something strange even though it's the first time he's seen these runes. Someone comes up to Mary and says she's received a message. The letter says they can barely believe everything she told them was true. The person had been visited by the agent, but unfortunately they lost him because he didn't show up at the meeting point. Seems like it has something to do with the Sun Knights, who are always watching her, and Bartok is probably planning something to create another uproar. You get what any of that means? No? Yeah. Me neither, but it looks like she was trying to arrange something with someone, maybe to exchange information. Either way, she grabs her sword and says she's going to put an end to this once and for all. Outside, Arthur is already waiting for her and off they go. She's surprised he showed up at the perfect time. He kind of understands their meaning and what is engraved on the tree says, and thanks him again for helping her. Meanwhile, in Bartok's office, the man is wondering if the rat really was talking to Brander. The guy confirms it, saying he's sure of what he saw. That strange little creature must be some kind of devil's familiar, and Brander is a suspicious person. Bartok thanks him for the information and says he'll be rewarded later. Jiha, on the other hand, is sweating bullets. Being kidnapped definitely wasn't part of the plan. Who would have thought this curse possession ability would have a cooldown and not let him force an exit? Just then, someone burst into the office, saying there's an emergency. He tells Bartok to look outside because something weird is happening. Something like that must be the people leave, and he says arigato. He wonders destruction, the fire will set everything ablaze. The kid is a bit crazy. Bartok tells him to quit bothering him but decides to glance out the window anyway. And outside, there's a gigantic arc fit standing on top of a pillar. Bartok wants to know where the hell this thing came from. The men are all panicking, saying they need to flee immediately. And Bartok remembers this is the same creature that saved Mary. He's sure staying here is suicide. He bolts running for his life. That was easy. Meanwhile, Jehovah is emotional. Realizing his creature came to rescue him, he's trying to get everyone's attention, but no one notices him. Arthur then moves toward the sun, dropping Mary off nearby, and she thanks him again, now that both of them are there. As he reads this and writes it in the book, the system then says, Scroll of Change Destruction. Each can take care of their own problems. Arfoot activates his lightning, and fires a blast right near Jiha. Jiha falls screaming for help, but lands right on Arfoot's head, stroking him and thanking him for the rescue. The problem is he still wants to settle things with Bartok. But when he looks down, what's this? It's Mary. He finds it strange that the main knight hasn't already cut everyone down. Well, that's about to be fixed. Now, she's going to do it. He realizes Arfoot brought her here for an obvious reason. It seems the girl really is about to wipe out all the corruption in that city. But in the middle of her battle, increases the destructive power of a magical rune. He's overjoyed. Wow. Just when she thinks she's about to finish her mission, a knight sneaks up behind her, until someone rushes in and slams him with a shield. It's Barrender asking how she's doing. She apologizes for all the trouble she caused, but he says it's fine. He pats her gently and says it's good to see she's still holding on. Now that they're both there, it's time to settle her business once and for all. Meanwhile, on another street, Bartok is running for his life, shoving and cursing at everyone in his way. He yells that anyone who tries to stop him will be punished for their crime until someone calls out his name. He's sure it's Mary's voice, but he's not about to stick around to find out, and keeps running toward the gate. Right at the gate though. So if I write the runes, they turn into scrolls to use. Well, if that's the case, just tear it outright. There's a rope set up, and he trips like a complete fool. Mary jumps in from behind, activates her black sheep strike and lashes him across the back. Then, she points her weapon at his neck and declares that, in the name of the Black Lion, he's going to be punished for his crime. Bartok is stunned. He tells him his end is here. But the fat bastard is still asking himself all the effort he put into control in the city. was really all for nothing. Nobody is going to just accept this. He pulls out a dagger and charges at Mary that only gets him cut down. In an instant, the fool spits blood. Realizing everything he built is now gone from the corner, Geo watches. He cuts it, and it turns into a scroll. Thinking maybe killing him wasn't completely necessary, but it is one way to resolve it. He remembers Sung-yuk saying that sometimes it's better not to leave loose ends, or they'll come back to bite you later. He knows that's how warriors think. And even though he's not used to it, maybe this really was the right move. Either way, it was Mary's decision, and he chooses to respect it. Right then, the 3-hour timer on the possession runs out, and Jiha is back in the forest. The hamster is left, they're totally confused, pointing at the map. Jiha starts thinking about his next steps. He needs to rebuild that city, and help the refugees survive, and in return, those people could produce things for him. Like honey, for example. But of course, the terror drone's already sent. He says he's going to write about 99 more of these, and he realizes the page he tore out has regenerated. They're about to be put to work again, and they won't even see a drop of that honey. One of the biggest challenges, though, is that, if he tries to mix the city folks with the game on people, there's going to be a major clash in mindset. Not to mention, the citizens won't like having to interact with those who were technically their enemies until just recently. Even using his presence as Lord Ark, it'll still be hard to pull that off. But then the scene shifts to Selena, who says he seems to be underestimating the faith of the followers. He asks if she really thinks it's okay to let the Gimma people stay nearby. She says, yes, she guarantees it'll all work out because this was his will. Besides, he's the one who saved this village, so they never deny anything he asked for. That's why it's called an infinite spell book. Staring at the book, he knows. She admits there will be some problems since the newcomers aren't familiar with their faith or way of life, but there's nothing stopping everything from eventually working out. The protagonist thanks her and promises that whatever problems come their way, he'll help her resolve them. The next day, some workers are busy building, saying they need to finish these houses and roads the prince requested. They're amazed that even Edensko himself is working hard, putting everything he's got into it. One man says he's finished clearing the area he was assigned, and the Din school thanks him, saying the work will be finished soon. A little later, he walks around and admits he's impressed. They really managed to clear a large enough space for the refugees to settle. He can write as much as he wants. All he needs is ink, which isn't even that hard to get. Of course, as always, the ones who work the hardest from the poor Terra drums. Then we did a quick flashback to when Jiha was shocked to find out that 2,000 people were coming to settle nearby. He said the problem wasn't even food. It was figuring out how to house so many people. Jiha reassured them they didn't need to worry. He would send a group to help build paths, homes, and everything they needed. Now seeing the results, Edenskull is amazed. These terror drones weren't just good fighters, they were perfect for construction. Finally, this little place was about to start expanding, and Jihan knew we have to work even harder to keep up. With all this progress, he tosses the shovel in the air like Lloyd Frontera, celebrating, telling everyone to go full force, but someone out in the forest. The only problem is he doesn't know exactly how the skull works, is watching all the commotion. An elf asks what all the fuss is about, and Human explains what's going on about the Terror Dome workers. Croydel, the purple-skinned elf, finds it strange. Why would they be building so much all of a sudden? His companion says that if she had a guess, it looks like they're preparing to receive some kind of immigrants or a large group coming from another region. Considering the recent activity around Gamel, that seems like the most likely explanation. Cordelia finds it unlikely the two nations are very different. She disagrees, saying anything is possible. When it's a matter of life or death, he jumps down from the tree, saying, this isn't the time to worry about others. They need to hurry back to Esterum. Increase the destruction and power of a magical rune is all it says. And find the world tree, and just then they spot a little rodent watching them, who waves a Kreuter. I had completely forgotten about those guys. Ah, right, these are the same elves our boy met back when he was in prison. Man, that feels like forever ago. Later that night in Strahn's Great Hall, the prince asks if everyone has arrived. Selena confirms, and even the little elves are there, looking awkward, and still uneasy about the talking hamster. Then the door opens and Edensko smiles, saying he's finally here. It's by him walking in, with his aura active, leaving everyone in shock. Some people don't recognize him, and think he's just a regular leopard, but Jiha speaking through him. He awakened with such simple talents that all he can really do. How much resource must be in a place like that? However, obviously he's never going there. Since he doesn't have any magic, he can't test it. They'll need a mage to make it work. Says that this is the agent of God. The elf is looking more and more confused. First, the talking hamster, and now Jiha is speaking through a leopard's body. Jiha explains that he's just possessing its consciousness, that his true form is human. He clears his throat and announces that the official meeting of Jiha's representatives will now begin. That day they discussed how they would help the refugees and rebuild the entire city. They also talked about how to prevent the two populations from fighting each other. The ideal future was one where not only these two cities came together, but even the elves and everyone else became part of one large united group. Jiha claps his hands, saying that's the perfect future. Oh, look, who's already in the shop. Come here, you sly one. I'm going to use you for the scroll, and asks what the next topic is. Later, Selena touches a leaf and says, that's enough for today. Everything has been decided. The leaders thank everyone and agree it was a good plan. While Edensko asks what Cordell thought of the meeting, Cordell simply replies that he's only here because he's interested in the world tree. Nothing else. Even so, the prince comments that everyone being together in that room proves Jihanna has a real chance to be united again. He thanks Jaya, who gets all shy and says it's nothing special. Then, Jiha says he has a special gift for everyone. Selena is curious, and he says it's something from the Master's garden. She's shocked because theoretically, that would mean it came from the garden of Lord Ark, and her eyes widen. She asked our boy, "Are you a hunter, Jia?" He replies that he is. When Jiva shows them a branch from the world tree, suddenly there are construction noises outside in the village. Someone's already put up a do not enter sign. In an instant, they fenced off the area and planted the branch. Jihad is stunned by how quickly they acted and thinks it's a bit much. But Selena says that when it comes to a branch of the world tree, there's no such thing as too much. Meanwhile, the elves, who are the most interested in this, are wondering if it's really true. A few hours later, that little branch had already grown to a massive tree. Now the elves are sure, and some even start crying from emotion. Only the world tree could grow that way. Selena tears up too. She runs up to him. Finally, new meat. Jiha is startled as she shouts in his face, while everyone thanks Jiha for letting them witness something so miraculous. From above, Jiha's little pets are looking at the tree and thinking, oh, so now everyone's got one too. One of the problems, though, is that it seems all the world trees are connected to each other. They aren't sure if they'll have to cleanse each one separately, or if cleansing one will cleanse them all at once. 2 hours later in Zone 8. One of the creatures finally arrives at the mission site. What they find is a whole garden full of monsters, and the little bear warns that they'll have to clear all out before the summoning by, and already impatient, says to just wipe everything out right now, and lets out a roar. You're hard to find, aren't you? Do you know how many times I've come to this shop just to find you? The rocks crack, and the monsters are already bleeding just from the roar alone. Then they charge in, and of course, it's a completely one-sided beatdown. The poor things don't stand a chance. Lightning paw swipes send them flying, while Jiha is back at home, wondering where everyone has gone. Apparently, it's being broadcast to him, somehow, because Jiha now seems to know exactly where they are. Sungyuk also notices something and is sure it's Growler. He immediately gets ready, saying he's heading out for a bit, while Jin gets annoyed, already speeding through traffic. The radio reports that the monsters had appeared 2 hours ago, but it seems some mysterious beasts have cleared them out. Our protagonist thinks this one is tough. He apologizes, saying it's due to personal circumstances, and are now dealing with the final boss. Growler lands a perfect hit on the boss, and the reporter wonders out loud if these creatures are actually on humanity's side. Sung Yup finally arrives and immediately asks for a status update, because what he really wants is to talk to Growler. He already knows who that is. The gray-haired guy says the fight is already over and that he can talk to him if he wants. But just then, the ground begins to shake and a crack opens in the sky. A rift appears. Everyone shields themselves, and when they open their eyes, they find themselves standing in Strand. Sung Yuk is confused, trying to understand how the entire village was summoned like this. How could something like that even be possible? But he's sure from the time he spent there that I've had to close frequently. Looking him in the eye, she thinks just as Chu Hyan said. This has to be strange, and if it really is, does that mean he'll get to see his friends again? Then a mysterious voice says, the meeting will be even better than that. Back in the village, Ed is training, already on strike. No, 9087, when someone shouts for him, Sunyuk shows up, looking completely love-struck. Honestly, those two are about to kiss any day now, which is perfect. Leave Selena and Hyjin for Jiha. Not that he's going to make a move. Eddie is totally confused, asking Kid, what the hell are you doing here? Sunyuk says, Eddie's got it all wrong. He points toward the mountain and tells him to take a look. When Eddie looks, the mountain he sees is right here, not far away. Sunny up and says it's good he understands now. He doesn't seem special at all. Our boy wonders, why is she staring at me so coldly? Welcome to planet Earth. But somewhere else, a strange rose starts to move. A voice says that the worlds are connected through that route. And the woman smiles, saying that now, yes, it's finally time to like this video. That helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers. Activate the cheeky little bell and I'm out. But she thinks of herself, whatever my purpose here isn't him, but the items he sells. She apologizes and says she understands his circumstances. It's been 5 years since he awakened. He received this worker class. But anyway, sorry for the late introduction, but she is the leader of the Eternal Flame Guild Huyan. And she heard he sells special items in his shop. He agrees, and she starts to say something. But he interrupts, you're talking about the solar apple, aren't you? Or are you looking for the winter strawberry? She says, that's right, but he continues. Those items are the most famous here in the shop these days. Wait a moment. Since you've come here several times without success, I'll give you some things. She thinks, is he really that easy to get things from? She's very confused. But our boy says, hey, customer, we're out of stock. She asks, what do you mean? Our boy remembers that he got so focused on playing with the terror drones and writing runes in the book that he forgot to make potions. But it has nothing. No skill, no special characteristic. So he tells her, if you come back tomorrow I'll prepare them for you. Sorry again, she thinks to herself. Yeah, I can't even say anything. Clearly, he's sad. Is he kind, or stupid, or both? She turns to leave, saying, well, nothing to do. Then, since you have nothing to sell, sadly, she was away thinking to herself, I'll come back tomorrow. I just wanted to go to the dungeon. But then our boy says, wait a moment, you said you're the leader of the Eternal Flame Guild. right? Are you a fire mage? Yes. Why? Giga hands her the scroll and says, ah, great, then test this out. I'm sure it'll make an explosive meteor bomb. She looks at it and asks, what's this, a scroll? The protagonist responds, yes, it's a fire scroll. I made yesterday for testing. That's why when he goes to the dungeons, he stays in the background. I'm giving it to you, so I don't feel bad for letting you leave empty-handed, she says. Since it's from you, I won't refuse. She activates it, and the shop explodes with a fiery message. The flames will set everything ablaze. She says she likes that phrase. And we'll see him tomorrow. He replies, ah, okay, my customer. See you soon. But he notices something. The staff on her back is glowing, much more than when she entered. We then see her in the spider dungeon. They've just defeated the sentinel spider and are marching forward. Our redhead is throwing fireballs, however, she finds it strange. Her fire powers are much stronger. With one hit the creatures fall dead. Not to mention the rune on her staff won't stop glowing. As soon as everyone kills everything, he goes in and picks up the leftover, but she gets a bit distracted and almost gets hit by a purple venom. She manages to dodge. The guy next to her asks, are you okay, leader? She says she's fine. She just finds it strange that there are many more spiders than expected. The guy apologizes again, saying that in forest dungeons there are many variables, but if she wants they can go back and reorganize. She says no, forget it. We'll continue forward no matter what, but the cautious mate says, it's better we go back. You don't need to push yourself so hard. But the warrior is on fire today. She says, don't worry, I feel like I can be anything. She starts creating, summoning circles. Watch out, here comes the fire on all the spiders. Everything begins to burn. The guys are impressed, saying what's going on? Leader, does it pay well? No, but it's enough just for him to pay the bills. When did you level up so much? You killed everyone by yourself. She's questioning herself. Wait, something strange. I've never had this much power. Could it be that scroll from that sly guy back at the protagonist's shop? He's finished the production. Phew, this should be enough, right? He prepared a bunch of solar potions and some cold resistance potion. Now, just waiting for Wyan, who said she would come in the morning. He looks back. Ah, welcome, Wyan. I made the potions you asked for. But in his thoughts he notices she's accompanied. Kyo says, Hunter Ujiha, can we buy the potions later and have a little chat? Suddenly, she throws down a suitcase full of money. Whoa, what's this, Wayan? She responds, what do you think it is? For the month. And keep this place open, and do what he likes most, which is reading books. Money? Are you the type who doesn't care about money? Now I understand why you sell these potions at such a low price. He says, that's not the case. Everyone likes money. But he feels awkward about her giving so much money. She explained, it's because of the scroll he gave her yesterday. It has an extremely strong effect. It's definitely something above S grade. She says, the scroll is so powerful, it's almost theft for her to take it without paying, and besides, if she didn't give something in return, she wouldn't feel right. He says he understands. But in his thoughts, he's impressed as he expected. The infinite spell book is really amazing. She says, if he doesn't want cash, he can just give his bank account details. But our protagonist is very kind and courteous. He says he's very grateful, but doesn't have the right to accept the money. Whenever the shop is empty, he picks one up and reads, but that day he got sleepy. She asks, what do you mean? He says, as I told you, the scroll was an apology for making you wait. I'm not honorable enough to take all this money. He thinks whatever, I just wanted to give her the scroll as a test. She says, Jiha, don't you know, in an instant, a good person can become a fool. What do you think happens if a chicken gives golden eggs to everyone for free? What will happen to those people? Our boy responds, everyone will get rich. Quan replies, of course, not once this spreads to the public. The chicken will become everyone's target. That's why your ability is amazing, but extremely dangerous. Right now, you understand? The protagonist replies, I understand. Wayan says, good, if you understand, I want to make you an offer. He thought maybe it was because the book was too difficult to understand, and boom, he fell on the table. Jihan, you want to join the Eternal Flame Guild out of the blue? Yes. She says, I know my introduction was a bit negative when I first came here. But it was only because I was worried about you. Our guild is extremely ethical and never harms people. And the reason I brought the money was to prove that we can reward you for your abilities. Giga says, but the Eternal Flame is already a very well-known guild. You didn't need to do all this to prove yourself. She says she wanted to show that such a famous guild really likes him. Besides, we have many mages in our guild. We also have many alchemists. Chu Yuan, the chief alchemist, speaks up in a distorted voice. I love Eternal Flame. Huian continues mentioning their numerous production facilities. You would have the opportunity to conduct extensive research. But the book shown, and he went inside. Our boy wakes up with a leaf falling on his. Your salary and benefits would be as high as you desire. You'd even have the authority of a chief or higher. Jihan, visibly torn, listens. As she continues, join our guild. Jihan. Jia interrupts, I appreciate all your kindness. Wayne, initially celebrating, then realizes something. Wait, you only accept kindness. You don't want to join, but why? Our terms are so generous. He explains, as I said, it's a bit too much for me. I'm sure there are people more qualified than me to join the guild. Faye insists, please, you're more than capable. The guy behind her says, Alright, leader, let's calm down, she responds. No, he's belittling himself. Too much, he can't be like this, Jihan explained. Originally, I was a hunter with the lowest rank without any attributes. Is run a quiet bookstore. And for him that's enough, he loves reading. Face. And gets up all startled. What is this place? Wait, it's definitely not a dream, is it an illusion? The reason I can make these special items isn't due to my abilities. It's because of luck and my friends like the Beatles, and my friend who gave me the book. Everything that happened to me was because of fortune and my friends. My abilities might disappear one day, that's why I don't have the confidence to accept this offer. I don't know how long I can keep doing this. Besides, I'm very attached to this place to leave just like that. She was confused, but the guy behind her speaks leader. It seems changing his mind won't be easy. Let's respect his wishes. She remains puzzled. Jiha says, of course, thanks to your advice, I will be more careful. I will start charging a little more for the potions. She quickly responds, don't tell anyone it was me who made you charge more. She sighs, well, I don't like this. Can I open my status window? He opens it. Nothing special. It feels like being rejected in a relationship, but I have no choice. If you ever need help or get into any danger, just call me. Jia reassures her, it's okay. If any danger approaches, this guy here will alert me. He points to a small bell plant, which makes a sound when danger is near the story, then transitions to the postgate world, illustrating how difficult it is to live in nature. Seas, beaches, forests, and mountains are overrun by monsters. But the Forest of Dream is a place Jiha can enjoy. This is truly calming. The sea is the best place for a headache, he says, marveling at the environment. I thought my dream would only have forests, but there's even a sea here. This place feels like paradise on earth. The plan was to spend more time in the shop than the forest, but this morning has exhausted him. Clearly, I'm not the best shopkeeper, but this forest looks a bit strange. I don't hear any animal. Whatever, I'll take some time to recover, eat a lot and read a lot of books. I'm tired of all this, he reflects, spending some alone time in the forest, reading until he falls asleep. Little does he know, unexpected visitors are on their way 2 hours earlier. Gio was reading, happily, thinking it was peaceful. Hearing the sound of the sea is extremely rare nowadays, because the coasts are overrun by monsters. Being in a cave like this feels like a blessing. He thought it would be nice to bring his friends here when he heard something next to him. A cat's meow. He went to check without fear. The danger plant didn't make any noise, so it must be safe. He noticed a beetle flying in that direction. Judah thought, why is it going there? Sounds, and I can't see anything because of this dense fog. When he arrived, he found Actos, a creature too big to be a cat, but not large enough to be a tiger. Clearly, he was injured. Gio wondered if he should offer help. A terror drone came up and tapped his shoulder. He turned to see, and the terror drones brought some fish. These beetles work at lightning speed, he thought, happy with their help. He petted the creature, feeling content. In the present, Actos had eaten the fish and taken a potion. Finally stopping trembling, Gio was curious, wondering, I didn't expect animals in this forest. Where did you come from? He asked the cat, who meowed in response. He apologized for waking it, and continued petting it. He thought about a name since Actus didn't fit. Since it resembled a tiger, he decided to call it Bom, which means tiger in Korean. All I can see are those little sprouts. There looks like a fruit. He approaches, confused. Shega said, if you don't have a place to go, come with me. He wondered, can I take it to the shop? When Wayne arrived at the shop, she was startled. What's that? He said. This is BM. Wayne exclaimed. No, it's a tiger. Our boy is confused. I didn't imagine she would be scared. Hyjin brings the coffee, and our boy says you're giving this to me for free, but at that moment, she had already stepped back because the kitten was approaching. Our protagonist apologizes. He's going to live here with me from now on. I didn't think you would be afraid. However, he notices that BM is standing still, smiling. He wants you to pet him. Hyjin approaches awkwardly and pets him. Thinking he's soft and fluffy, it seems like he's only a tiger in name, she says, saying I've never seen anything like this. Ether herb makes the consumption of ether. Hyjin continues, I heard you gave away some scrolls for free. Everyone on the internet is talking about it, he replies. Alright, it was for the leader of the Eternal Flame. Gil Jin thinks he gave away scrolls worth more than 100 million for free. Does he have no ambition, or is he just stubborn? It's clear he has been living like this for a long time, not calculating things too much without greed. He tries to make others feel comfortable. Is that why I always want to come back to the shop? BM is there biting at Jiha's clothes. At that moment, the danger plant suddenly starts shaking. He thinks, what suddenly could it be? A city-wide alert comes. Level 4 catastrophe, warning all residents in the vicinity must evacuate immediately. Heijin turns to him, saying they need to evacuate urgently. For any skill, 0 for 10 seconds. Is this description real? Outside, tanks have arrived, ordering everyone to evacuate. Our boy is there with his white cap in the crowd. A level 4 catastrophe is very dangerous. Jia knows they will need many strong hunters. He just hopes they can handle it. Sometime later, they arrive at the bunker. The ground is already shaking. Everyone there is crying. Chika thinks to himself, is it too early to feel safe? He pets BM, who is also scared. I hope it's nothing, he thinks. Above, the catastrophe is ongoing. This happens when hunters enter a dungeon and fail. When a mission fails in a lower level dungeon, it's not very difficult, but it's a completely different story when a level 4 or higher dungeon fails. The government has a plan to evacuate all civilians within a 20 kilometers area. Snipers are positioned everywhere. If this were true, it would be a very good item. Ether in this world is basically mana. Calling all hunters to be ready, man. This is the first functioning government I've seen. Jia thinks in front of everyone. Hajime announces they're coming. The first things to appear are giant skeletons. The army is here. Missiles, propetos, explosion. Look at that, the military is actually doing something. Zio analyzing. Recognizes it must have been a dungeon with weak monsters, but with the amount of combat power they have, it shouldn't be too difficult. He tells the army to shoot only those coming out of the gate, while they focus on the ones escaping. Unless there's another variable, will win. Then, a giant hand appears. He recognizes it immediately, a monstrous level creature. He changes the plan. Instantly focus everyone on that giant beast. Missile, bomb, bullets. It's the energy people use to cast skills, so an item that allows you to basically. The torpedo hits its mouth and explodes. It's still intact. The creature glares at everyone. Dangerous enemies must be killed. It charges forward. Himseo yells for everyone to dodge. Friend, you better dodge. You're about to get crushed. A massive bait. The creature passes over them, heading towards the shelter. But Hyjin jumps in the way. Who allowed you to go to the shelter? Using her sword to melt, will it work? She wonders. Wayne is also there. She has the scroll. She blasts it with a laser, but the creature doesn't even turn around. It keeps moving straight. It punches her in the gut. Man, you're in trouble. Wayne, the crazy mage, shouts, don't chase it if you don't defend. Have infinite energy for 10 seconds would be incredible. He keeps looking and thinking. Who will save the people? The creature faces Jiha and says, I found you, our enemy. Jiha thinks, wait, the barrier was broken so easily. This means they're not winning outside. But his legs are paralyzed. He tries to move, but he can't. When he finally does, the creature is about to grab him, but Biam tugs him back and unleashes an ice barrage. Standing in front of Jiha, staring down the creature trembles. What are you scared? In its mind, the creature hears Biam saying, you are an inferior beast. Leave now. Seeing from behind Hyjin and Hyan realize it has stopped. We need to take this chance. Fires. A massive shot of fire enveloping her sword in flames, slicing through the beast. The creature is now charred. She falls to the ground, exhausted. Quan asks, is it over? Hyjin replies, no, I feel a massive amount of ether inside. And enjoys living a peaceful life. What Jiha doesn't expect though. If only he could get the liquid from these herbs. Too bad, I didn't bring any bottles with me. The kitten now all cute in Gio's arms. Sometime later, ambulances are taking away the injured. Hyjin feels the concentration of ether has disappeared. Looking at Bayam, she thinks, did that come from him? Our boy is now at home after taking a bath, thinking about the crazy day petting beyond. He thinks he seems so terrifying at that moment, but now he's so calm. The protagonist keeps thinking about the creature and decides to write about it. Just have it recorded. Monsters. Creature, 15 meters tall, ugly as hell and very strong. There's a website that records all monsters, but no one knows how Keto manages to register new ones. However, strangely, when our boy wrote in the book, it also got added to the wiki. Young Seok is confused. What? How are these entries being updated? Right in front of him, there's a leaf on a branch that kind of catches his attention. But our boy is just calmly recording everything. The scene then shifts to a hunter's meeting. They are discussing the monster, and especially the fact that they think it wasn't one of their hunters who killed it. Nobody knows why the creature got stuck after breaking the wall. Couldn't it have been one of the humans inside? They wonder, but that doesn't make sense. How could a human have so much power? Hyun-suk says. Did you see that the wiki was updated for the first time in a long while? Something is coming among us, or something powerful enough to scare even that creature. Hyjin speculates either the person who scared it was inside or it's a hunter with an ability we don't know about yet. Hoyan explains that several people present reported hearing a cat scream when the creature froze. He decides to take a closer look. Apparently, it was in a lake. Hyun-sik dismisses it. It doesn't matter, that's not important. Hoyan responds, maybe, but inside was the potion shop owner with his snow leopard, and since the creature froze, the three of them head to our protagonist's shop. He greets them. Hi, how are you? They barged in without a word. All three of them, slamming the table. Where's the cat? We want to see it. Biam will get scared with you acting so desperate. Jia says. Bayam, who is nearby, jumps on the table and stretches. The three of them look at him, all confused. William picks him up and asks, hey, is this the cat that caused that ether wave? He looks like a normal cat. Jia warns her it's better not to hold him like that, but she doesn't care and grabs him, saying she doesn't. He got some water and poured it on top. With that, out of nowhere, the skill appeared. Feel any ether coming from him. Impossible for him to have so much ether to cause such an explosion without it being detectable. Beam bites her arm. Jiha says, I warned you, you need to be careful with him. Hyjin adds, I heard you were in the shelter when the explosion happened. Many people said they heard a cat sound before the creature froze. Our protagonist responds, crazy, isn't it? Kim Suke adjusts his glasses. I think they're just false rumors. Poor Hyun-suk looking at Hu Yan and thinking, I wanted to recruit this guy for our guild, but it's not the right time. Little does he know, she's already been rejected as they leave. Hu Yan says, aren't you going to ask to join the guild? I wanted to see you get rejected. You're a friend of plants. Level 1, Blessing of the Unknown. Meanwhile, Hyjin gives him a little smile, trying to seduce our boy. She says, "I'll be back." He replies, "Anytime," but our boy isn't interested in that. Sometime later, he's relaxing in the forest, reading a book about the continent of Gehenna, a place where various species live together with the Great Tree. The Great Tree created creatures considered the gods of nature to protect Gehenna. One of the descriptions mentioned a creature that looked like a cat with white fur and black spots. Staring at Biome, Jeff thinks, wait, is he a god of nature? But this cat is so small he doesn't seem like a god. However, considering how he stopped that creature, it might make sense. It's not a coincidence, as they said, there was an ether explosion. Gina continues thinking it was probably BM who did that. The Hat is confused. It's the first skill he has received in 5 years as a hunter. Does this prove he's a god of nature? Maybe then the tree in my dream really is everything. Starts to make sense. It's as if the tree is giving him a task. Everything began when he received the worker class, helping the terror drones to saving beyond. All seem to be part of a bigger plan. At that moment, the book next to him glows. And the most unusual thing is that in the class, it's written worker of XXX. What does this mean? Suddenly, it's like a flashbang from CS, blinding him. In the next chapter, we see a girl in an isolated room, watching TV. A news report is talking about bombing somewhere. Back to the protagonist. He's staring at the tree, saying, "It was, you wasn't it, who brought me to this forest of dreams. I have no idea why you gave me such an important task, but there must be a reason." And all he did was water the plant, which suddenly started growing roots into the ground. "So I'll do my best to help you." At that moment, a purple tornado appears beside him and something begins to form. Here's a voice saying, "Curse everything that breathes. Bring death to all living beings." A skeleton appears, no, not just one, a whole horde of skeletons emerges in his forest. He recognizes the creature as an ancient lich. A creature of terror level. Oh my god, look the size, this is a disaster. He thinks it's almost cute, being so small. The lich commands kneel before the master. The system then notifies him, the ancient lich is corrupting the nearby land, and will soon reach yours. Although, an immediate counterattack is difficult. You want to try to reduce its influence. Our boy obviously agrees. Below, the lich is calling everyone. What's bizarre now is imagining if this cat, he thought it was going to become gigantic, but it disappeared in front of him, is the size of a normal one if the lich, which should be much bigger, it is tiny. How big is this cat? Really? The lich is marching with his minions. Our boy just wants to give a slap, but that's not an option. He remembers that liches don't die unless you destroy their life source, and the system gives him that exact mission. Plus, he will also need to purify the nearby lands that the lich has corrupted. Far away, he sees a little castle and recognizes it. He's seen it somewhere before. Or it's the banner of the kingdom of Estran. Could these skeletons the lich is controlling be the people from there? He decides not to dwell on it. The important thing now is to reclaim this place, and since he can't intervene directly, he will have to use the army he calls the terror drums. With that, he woke up back in the shop out of nowhere and thought it had all been a dream. The problem is that the only one who can fly is his warrior. Everyone else is stuck because there's a big rock in the way. Our boy has two options. He can either spend an essence to remove the rock or let the terror drums handle it. Since he's in a hurry, he spends the essence. Tell them to go one-on-one, Jiha says. The duel begins, and our boy watches the battle. Now that they're strengthened, they really look like a troop. The lich tries to send more soldiers, but it's not working. He raises his staff to cast a spell. A spell was an area effect, but just as he's about to strike the staff on the ground to activate it, the terror drone warrior arrives and stops him. Our boy sighs in relief. The blessing came at the perfect time. The strange thing is it was so realistic. Then, he realizes his hand is covered in mud. He snaps the staff from the lich's hand and throw him to the ground. He's getting pulverized. There's only gravel left of him, but the lich is confident, no matter, it's just an undead body. However, Gia realizes that he had already sent someone to find the lich's life source, but the terror drone who found it isn't strong enough to destroy it. Because of this, Ye has to spend 5 essences to evolve him into a warrior. To take advantage of the lich being in pieces, he spends it. The creature begins to evolve, gaining armor and all. I thought he had evolved the one in the chest, but he evolved the big one, making it even stronger. The lich, reconstructing itself, screams desperately to stop, but there's no time. The terror drone is that he's actually the single person chosen to become. So the dream was real. He wonders, could it be that, when I'm sleepwalking, headbutts, the chest is disintegrating the lich. Our boy, all happy, celebrates. We won. The troop brings several little chests. It's funny because the chests are small in their hands, but probably gigantic in real life. Gia feels a bit embarrassed and thanks them. The little creatures are also embarrassed. The strongest terror drone brings a chest, which, when placed before him, returns to its real size. Our boy greedily opens it. Inside, there's the sword of the estranged rain, unique. Rarity +5 to mentality and charisma of the conqueror. Really, I'm just a worker. I don't have any attack stats. He thinks he would like to return it to the rifle owner. But looking at the destroyed castle, he imagines the owner is long dead. So he stores it in his glitchy backpack, pulls out his little spade and begins. I slept here in the shop and went out collecting MUD. No way. Fixing the soil of the region, he's dumping cursed dirt into a bucket to purify it when one of the terror drones suggests he write a scroll using the ink. Jihan replies, "There's no rune, my friend." Just then, a rune appears on the tree. What a coincidence. Well, if that's the case, let's write it. Purification. Rune restores land to its original state. BM jumps on him and he plays with him while the terror drone uses the scroll and brings it to him. Scroll of Harmony cleanses any corrupted land, but suddenly, all the terror drones disappear. The scene shifts to a completely different place, where someone says, "This is our land, death to all who destroy our peace." The people there cover their ears, wondering where this sound is coming from. Or did I somehow actually get transported to that forest when I fell asleep? Suddenly, a star shines in the sky, and the Lich appears with his army, announcing, "This land has now been given to us." However, another portal opens next to the Lich and out comes a gigantic figure. The Lich glares, "Curse race of the tree." The terror drone smashes most of them. The Lich tries to retaliate with magic, but now that he's evolved, he's much more resilient. The Lich stands no chance and is easily pulverized. The scene returns to Jaiha's shop when some young rushes in, grabs the remote and turns on the TV shouting, "Watch." The news shows a report on the battle against the Lich. The land that was purple and cursed is suddenly purified. Officials say this means the Lich has been eliminated. Geo wonders what's happening on TV. He sees the terror drone flying in the sky. Considering this is now the world of hunters, it wouldn't be impossible. Everyone is confused about how such a disaster disappeared so suddenly. Jiha back at the shop wonders why was the terror drone there. Hyun sick at the company recognizes it wasn't a destruction level disaster. His colleague confirms yes, they were mythical monsters. Everyone is confused, not knowing what's happening. Jia returns to the world of the tree and speaks urgently to the terror drone. "Hey, we need to have a chat." The creatures are all embarrassed. Hika says, "You didn't do anything wrong, so don't worry. But I want to know, were you the ones who used the scroll, and did you appear on Jury Island?" The creatures don't respond and run off, bringing a bunch of rewards. Jia asks, "Hey, are you trying to silence me with this?" He decides to test it again. He dozes off once more and, "I just want to know if you appeared on Jury Island." The creatures all embarrassed say nothing. Giga pets them, "I'm not scolding you, I just want to be sure it was you, but anyway. Good job." They leave 10 ethers and 10 essences. Jiha has always thinks it's too much. Just that giant stone from the ancient Lich is worth millions of dollars. "Do you want to play with this?" Jiha hands it over. "Alright then." The creature starts munching the whole stone. Jiha understands immediately. He's using it as an energy source beyond all. Happy. Well, what can you do? Creatures of the gods are incomprehensible now that Jiha has 15 essences. It's time to boost his stats a bit. He advances to 9 in strength and 8 in endurance. Will our boy become a fighter? He wonders, "Am I stronger?" Not sure, however, the reason for getting wakes up in the forest again. However, he notices the place looks bigger. Stronger is to make planting easier. He doesn't want to become obsessed with power. He's already content here back at the shop. Deer receives an invitation to participate in a dungeon, but it's different. Most things have already been cleared out. They call hunters to pick up whatever's left. Around the fountain, everyone going to collect items has gathered. Strangely, there are a lot of people. A man named Mr. Wong approaches the protagonist, saying he's never seen such a large group for item collection. The dungeon must be huge. Who knows, we might find something really good. He pulls Jaiho along, who says, "I think all the good stuff has already been taken, right?" The man replies, "Of course not. Sometimes hunters are lazy and leave good things behind." And all the fog is gone. He starts to think this might be a personal dungeon. At that moment, look who comes all graceful, the beautiful armored lady. She has eyes for someone else, though when she sees our boy, she comes right up to him. "Are you here to collect items?" He says. Yes, he received a call that they needed help. Around them, everyone is wondering, who is that guy? Why did she talk to him? Meanwhile, Hajin is worried because it could be dangerous. Gracefully, she offers to protect him. She says if he stays by her side, it will be much safer and easier. Jaiha is a bit confused as many guys start crowding around her. "Hi, Jin, come with me, come here, come there." But she says she doesn't want any of that and looks at Jaiha. "Shall we go?" He replies, "Alright then." The two head inside. She explains that such large dungeon, that only he can enter when he sleeps, and he had never heard of this kind of power. Usually have very rare plants. Jiha says he's glad he can recognize good plants. Most people don't know what to pick at that moment. Something trembles inside his backpack, and when he opens it beams. They're sleeping. "Hi." Jin sees him all cute, tries to pet him. Gets bite on the hand. Ji-hyun explains he doesn't like being petted when he's being carried. She's a bit upset, but they continue walking. She then notices that the creature is growing a lot day by day. He must be eating very well, right Jiha? Yes, that's right. Not going to mention, he ate $1 billion worth of stones. Walking through the forest, she asks if you saw the news about the mystical creature in the monster called Pterodrone, and also about the demonic ant. Then, he sees a solar apple, a fruit that when mixed with a healing potion increases. Nest with a giant hand, print the size of a house. Jia remembers slapping it. That can't be it, right? But starts to wonder, is it really like that? Is the world inside the forest a miniature of the outside world? At that moment, Biome gets into an attack stance and Hyjin tells him to step back. In front of them, many trees and plants with big mouths start appearing. Giga asks if Jin is okay, but she says this is where the person she's looking for disappeared. It's the same scene, and then we learn the person who disappeared Was Korea's rank 1, that means these creatures are at least rank 5. She drinks one of Jiha's potions and says, Jiha, run out of the dungeon as soon as they attack. I'll try to hold them here. Jiha knows it's impossible, and healing by 20% and reduces cooldown by 8%. Jihan's potions are the most used items in dungeons. For her to hold them all off, it's a bunch of extremely high-level monsters. But he notices that Beam is starting to exude an aura as he charging ahead alone. Strangely, the monsters are running away from him. Beam grabs a hand, bites it and tears off a piece. The plants are all running for their lives. Hyjin is utterly confused. Not understanding what happened, BM returns calmly with something in his mouth. Chika says, "What's that? Do you want me to plant it?" BM nods. Meanwhile, Hyjin is thinking about the great trap that killed the rank 1 flea. I've never seen anything like this, but Jiha says they have another problem at the moment. In one direction of the forest, everything is purple. Hyjin tells Jiha that he should go back. And you, she said, she finally found a trace of him, she can't go back now. A god in this world, a being so powerful. However, the ones available at most heal 10% of health and have a long cooldown. Giga draws his position and says, then we'll go together. Even if it's dangerous, she'll protect them, right? She says yes, but she's lying, right? In the end, it will be Beam who protects them. Walking through the forest, she points to a cave and asks, do you see that? All the light is coming from that place. Jiha agrees, and they decide to enter. At the entrance, there are traces of blood and large handprints. Someone tried to escape, but didn't fare well at that moment. Hey, Jin recognizes the armor and sword of the rank 1 guy, but it's all shattered and bloodied. She hugs it already in tears, thinking he's passed away. Jia tries to comfort her, saying if he had really been killed here, his skeleton. The taste is also terrible. Looking at the apples, he's astonished. Would be here, probably. He dropped it and went somewhere else. Do you really think so? Yes. Just then, Beam brings a large green apple in his mouth. Actually, it's a symbiotic egg. He says he's heard about it but isn't sure what it does. When they get out, I'll take a look, but BM gives him a little nip on the arm, wanting affection. Giga says that these are excellent signs and that if the person is probably alive. She agrees that must be the case. Let's go back. They're quite optimistic. But if I found destroyed and bloodied armor, I'd assume the worst. Hyjin is smiling, saying he brings her a lot of luck making. Jiha, a bit embarrassed. This situation is peculiar, isn't it? She tells him to call if he ever needs help and he agrees. There aren't just 1 or 2, there are a bunch of solar apples. BM tries to swipe at her, but she just hugs him and pets him. Back at the shop, Jihad is looking up the symbiotic egg. He searches through books but finds nothing, so he decides to go to the world of the forest to see if he can discover anything. When he arrives, the drones approach and indicate they want help. Jia hands them the egg. The creatures take it to their queen, who pets it gently. After a while, they're all climbing the tree, moving around. Suddenly, a giant moth appears. Jia recognizes it as a symbiote. It flaps its wings, scattering dust everywhere, and a message appears. A group of symbionts that were dormant have awakened. With that, the restoration of the world tree begins. He has an idea. What if he makes a potion using the solar apple and that herb that gives? Jihad is thrilled and touches the tree. As he does, the world tree bestows his blessing on it. The dormant destiny has awakened. His class changes to worker of the world tree. Chiho looks around, impressed. The place has grown much larger, and a lake seems to have appeared out of nowhere. The fruits, like the solar apple, have leveled up. He thinks with this, he can make a lot more potions and earn more money, but then he stops himself. No, I'm here to help the world tree. He starts to think that perhaps restoring the tree is the purpose of all this. Could this be the goal of everything? He sees BM staring at him and asks if he's hungry, pulls out his fishing rod. Let's catch some fish for dinner. He fishes out a red trout. Infinite energy. For 10 seconds, he thinks taking. But when he holds the fish, it has an effect. If eaten, activates level 1. Extrasensory perception for 30 minutes increases your reflexes by 20%. He realizes that all these items now have more detailed descriptions. This will make selling potions much easier. He decides to run back to the shop. Unaware, there's a crowd outside. BM is even handing out numbered tickets for entry into the shop. A guy asks what's going on. Everyone came to buy potions from this shop. Didn't you hear? The potions made by that guy are much better than others. People from other states are coming here just to buy from him, and they're still cheap. His shop is packed, and he thinks 1 or 2 things from here is okay, right? But where will he store them at that moment? That maybe this is the best way to help as many people as possible. That's why he's limited it to 3 potions per person. To give everyone a chance to buy one, his book, loving friend, enters the shop and shows him on her phone that the Hunter website is all about him. Here feels a bit embarrassed. She picks up a potion and says, wow, it's the first time I've seen something so well detailed. Nobody knows exactly what a potion does. He got bluffs that he just kept asking everyone until he figured it out. She says if the effects written are true, it's much better than all others. Could she take 1 extra as a friend? Jiva says no, but as a friend, he'll give her the scroll of creation wish. Any small wish can come true. 2 uses. Ji had just hopes nothing strange. A bag falls on his head. Out of nowhere, a dimensional bag. Happens because he hasn't seen anyone use it yet. Later, this friend went to a dungeon with her colleagues in the midst of everything. She was hit by a creature on her back. When she fell, her group killed the creature. and she got up strangely, the scroll activated by itself, giving a buff to receive 70% more items for 30 minutes, but at that moment the ground cracked. Everyone panicked, thinking they would die, but instead, they fell straight into the treasure room of that place. There, she found exactly the book she had been searching for. After gathering everything, they were leaving the place. When a bunch of creatures appeared to attack them, they tried to flee, but there was no escape. He doesn't suspect anything, just accepts it since now he can carry things. She put the book over her head and prayed not to die suddenly. They were in a kind of desert and everything around them had disappeared. Meanwhile, back with Jiha, the creatures that were chasing them appeared on his land. When he returned to the shop, the people who had been teleported were angrily waiting at his door. Jiha let them in to explain the situation, and she showed him the book she had found. Inside the book was a map of the continent of Gehenna. After that, everyone left. Our boy was left thinking, now, I have a lot of things to do right. I have to take care of the shop, read this book, manage everything. But there, he was petting the kitten. I was feeling sleepy. He sat in the chair, still thinking, not to mention I have to make a bunch of potions. Clearly, it seems someone is watching him. After that, he decides to return to the shop before going to the garden, so he thought it would be better to first take a look at the map. Since it's a map used by the Empire's knights, its quality is quite different. Even the terrains, the names of places, the creatures, everything is written with great detail. The ancient lakes that appeared came from the south, and the monster from the forest that he and Hyjin encountered came from Mount Apeko. If the map were complete, he would be able to know where all the dungeons are at this moment. A clever idea struck him. He was going to ask the pterodactyls if they knew anything. Woke up all lazy with a kitten, but was curious, where are the pterodons? The little flower that alerts about creatures was trembling, indicating a powerful creature had appeared. Our protagonist was curious, did it appear here? The next day, we see another shop, one of the more expensive ones for hunters. Then we see the terror known surrounding a giant cyclops. Giant, well, because to our boy, everything is tiny. The cyclops is a disaster rank creature. First seen in China, almost nothing is known about it besides its size and appearance. The only thing he remembers is that dozens of hunters were sent just to hunt this monster. However, in Korea, a cyclops had never been seen before. The beast was shaking all over, struggling to hit the tiny pterodon. Our protagonist asked BM, aren't you going to help them, you bastard? Look at that big guy over there. BM replied that no, they apparently didn't need help. Our protagonist found it strange. Not even a mission window appeared. Does this mean the pterodons can handle it? The little creatures were all shielded and brave, that even legendary creatures from his books would end up as his pets. Everyone goes there to buy potions, but they're out of stock. Our protagonist decided to write down some characteristics, just to ensure things were noted. The pterodons charged forward, and the cyclops tried to smash them, but they dodged, aiming straight for its eye. He concentrated some energy there. Watch out for the laser, our boy warned. The pterodons took a bit of a hit. The laser went through the entire forest, leaving it devastated. Our boy realized the power difference between them and the cyclops was significant, but the little guys gathered around a captain. Our protagonist was curious. What's their plan? They brought a mega jigger, big crystal, and cut it all up. Our boy wondered, what are they going to do? They made all the little shields with other stone. Cyclops didn't care, concentrated on its eye again and unleashed another laser, until someone looks behind and says, hey, that woman, Hyjin, the sword witch. Our boys saw that the pterodons wouldn't do anything but stay calmly there. He smiled as the laser hit the shield, reflected, and struck the cyclops' arm, which fell devastated. It was left stumped. Like he took the opportunity to write in his book, when facing a cyclops, the best strategy is to use an ether shield to reflect its laser. He wondered if people would have enough ether to do that. The cyclops, all shattered, was crying, running away, but it was over. Pterodon boom, hit its calf, hit its foot, and it fell like a fool. Our protagonist was impressed. The little guys indeed managed on their own. Proudly, they came to talk to our boy. He gave them the usual, petting, you guys are awesome. Since they worked so hard, he decided to give them a reward. The shop owner comes over all flustered and says, Hyjin, I didn't know you were coming, but she quickly responds. Handing over a bunch of ether, he gave everything to the happy pterodon and received a little letter. Essence plus 10 essence, plus 10 essence, plus 10. Received 325 essences. He wondered, why did I get so much? At her guild, Hoyen saw that some information had been updated on the wiki. When she clicked, it said strategy to defeat his cyclops. You need 10 essences to see this information. She said, what kind of system is this? I've never seen this before, but it doesn't matter, write 10 essences. She can get that easily. In just a few dungeons, she sees the information there about the mace, the eye attack, and the laser. She scrolls down to see the most important part. And it's another 10 essences. Man, this is cruel capitalism. One, she thinks. I came because you haven't been answering me. The potion I asked for yesterday, where is it? They. Poor girl ends up banging her head. Damn, no more essence. Who's the bastard that did this? If I catch you, I'll burn you. Our boy feels a bad sensation. Someone wants to do harm to me. Then, we see Hyun sick, getting out of a car and asking the guy, is there something I need to know about? The guy says, no. Then why are there so many hunters here? Damn it. Oh, it's because of this thing from yesterday. Look. He says, wait, a strategy to defeat a cyclops. Yes, it costs 10 essences to see, and then another 10 essences to see the final strategy. But every hunter knows that 10 essences can help with their status. Who's going to spend 20 just to see information about defeating a creature? That's why they all gather here. I don't know who the author is. Guy, embarrassed, replies, I'm sorry, but your potion is still being prepared. But his writing is incredible, yeah, especially since the Cyclops dungeon never appeared here at the meeting. The guy says it's impossible to access the wiki from any other country, so it's definitely not a foreign thing. Hyun-suk asks, is there no way to track who's receiving these essences? The guy replies, unfortunately, no, they automatically go straight to the system that helps the hunters, and strangely, just as it said in the writing, whoever reads that strategy receives a buff. Hyun-seok, not understanding a thing, says I already have a headache, instructs everyone in the operation group to monitor the hunters who accepted this mission and see what happened. Their safety is the priority, and see a group form to go hunting. There are 2 hunters looking foolish and Hyun looking all beautiful. Could you wait a bit? She says she can't. She has a major dungeon in 30 minutes. And wonderful in the other group. There are 2 more foolish ones in Hyun also looking beautiful. The scene changes to the Cyclops firing the big laser. The night defense reflects it. Hyun hits the thighs and calves, and then a meteor hits the chest. It's all chaos. At the shop, our boy is watching everything. An announcement is made. The Cyclops dungeon was easily defeated without any catastrophe. Our protagonist is impressed, saying Hyun and Hyun are incredible. The reporter says that this strategy will be shared with all other countries at no cost. Now, G is 100% sure everything he writes in the Book of Infinite Magic is sent straight to the Hunter's wiki. If he keeps sharing everything he's doing with the Terra drone, he'll never run out of ether. At that moment, the little plant is screaming. With that, she pulls out her phone to see if there's any shop nearby. Oh no, another monster, let's go beat him. I'm telling you, this guy has medicine in the drawer. When the creatures announce themselves, he falls asleep upon arriving. He's in the middle of the sea. And on the other side, he sees a terror drone coming. The system alerts. The World Eater is injured and needs your help. Our boy is shocked. World Eater, what is that? Where the terror drone points down, he's underground. What is this hole here? When he realizes it, water splashes on his face. Beam shakes off the water and dries his leg. Don't tell me I'm standing on the World Eater. Yes, it's the giant whale. Imagine you were so big and he is gigantic. How big is this? It doesn't even make sense. Does it fit on the planet? You're the World Eater, you rascal. Meanwhile, our boy is playing Heisenberg in production. He makes purified water Undine. He senses that it's weakened. Now he understands why he was gaining so much essence. It was always for this. Here you go, you rascal, and throws everything inside it. Eat. However, the beast gives him a little stare, getting angry. Our boy wants to know what's happening, starts shouting. There's a flash in the middle of the sea. The beast turns all white, and both fall to the ground, exhausted. A system message appears. Thanks to your help, the World Eater has returned to its original form. When he looks, it became tiny. Our boy likes it. He loves a cute creature, and he gives it a hug. The World Eater is swimming happily, and our boy thinks it was worth using the essences for this right beyond tears and the other herb. He says it's going to be insane. Obviously not. Beyond wants everything for himself, greedy. Suddenly, our boy notices something. Oh, what's happening? He jumps and splashes water on the fools. When he looks, actually, the World Eater brought a feast. A bunch of fish, oysters, snails, and crabs. Our protagonist is amazed. Wow, you're giving me all this? The creature nods. He thanks it, and Biom starts eating the World Eater, then leaves. On the news, of course, they're already talking danger, urgent news. An absurdly gigantic creature appeared in the southern part of Korea. Who could it be? Looking for the creature. Oh no, it's not the World Eater. It's a gigantic octopus. I thought it was our dear World Eater. It already jumped on a house. Everyone's running away in fear. The problem is that the hunters haven't arrived yet. Now, he just needs to add the solar concentration into the rotating tube. Suddenly, someone points out, Captain, what's that? When they look, they see what's behind the poor octopus. The guys are terrified. Wait, a destruction level creature. The octopus wants to run back to the sea, but it gets sucked in and pulled into the belly of the World Eater. Gone. The whale is there in the sea, and the guys are just watching. Hyun-suk asks the guy, wait, so this giant whale is a demigod that made a contract with someone who awakened for the first time? The guy says yes, it matches the description of a demigod. Hyun-suk says they need to watch a bit more, but they mentioned that all the creatures that were near Korea were pushed to Japan. No one understands what's happening. It's chaos. In the library, he and Sunyem are just reading. She brought him a bunch of old books from the Kingdom of Estran.